So here's the deal. If you guys have any questions, I'm gonna be a resource to you and answer whatever you got. I have a few things I prepared, not like really prepared, but just like thought of ahead of time. Yeah. Hold on. Okay. So you guys are all comics?
Yeah.
Is that the deal? With like varying years of experience. Some of you guys I recognize. Some I don't. That's okay. All right. So here's why I want to do this. Because when I started comedy, nobody told us shit. And it was really annoying. Stuff like how do you get a manager? What are you supposed to do? This is not like law school or medical school where there's just a certain specific path. In law school, you take 2-3 years, whatever it is. After 2 years, you go get an internship or residency somewhere, whatever it's called, and you get a job, and you go from there. You take the bar, and you just know the path. But in this, it's a lot different. And there's really no path. Everyone's going to be different, have their own different way. There's no like specific way. Like Reggie Watts has become humongous, completely outside the system. You know, he just plays music and does the things he wants to do. And that's not wrong or right. It's something you should model yourself after that or not model yourself after that. There's just no right way, and there's a lot of floating. This sort of kind of sucks. You don't have to turn your phones off, it's okay. Whatever you want. So, okay, I'll cover a few of these things, and then if you guys have questions or want me to clarify any of that, just, I don't know, raise your hand maybe? I don't know, or just say something. I've never really done one of these before, so we'll just figure it out. What should I start with? All right, well, first of all, this one. No, I'm not going to start with that. Sorry. All right. How do you get a manager?
My question was kind of with that, which is,
what was it?
When do you need a manager if you already have an agent?
Yeah. Well, okay, so everybody wants a manager, right? That's the deal. Everybody says, like, you gotta get a manager. You really don't need one. An agent will help you. Okay, a manager is somebody, this is what they do. An agent just gets you auditions. A commercial agent, or a theatrical agent, or a writing agent just gets you writing auditions, you know, makes you write packets, and a personal appearance agent just gets you on the road. They just call people and get you tries for work, you know? A manager sort of deals with you overall and works like with, like, I don't know, maybe you have an idea for some surf show. And so a manager will like get that together and says, okay, let's get that, what do you need? I need a pitch, I need a one-page document. They'll kind of help you like form your ideas you're already gonna do. But just the idea of just having a manager is not gonna do anything for you. You don't want, there's a lot of shitty ones. There's like a lot of shitty ones. It's just like any job. There's good people at their job and there's bad people at their job. And managers, just because you became a manager, any of you guys can become a manager in like 3 years. You just work for a manager, and then after a few years you are one. But it doesn't make you better at it than anybody else, you know? There's a few that are fucking sick, that are great at it. And those guys are really successful, and they have all the most successful people, like clients. But like, just the idea of needing one just to have one, it's not necessary. You still just gotta do what you want to do.
Does your manager book like all your road work, or do you do that?
That's my personal appearance agent. Yeah, or myself.
Okay.
Most of this work you're going to get yourself anyway. They used to tell me that, and I didn't understand it, where like you got to do everything on your own. This is what that means. That means like you got to put that surf show together. Your manager's not, let's just say, your manager's never going to get that done for you. They're never going to write anything for you. They're going to say, like, what have you got to sell? What do you want me to do? Some people just want managers, like, to do what? Just to say you have one? There's a lot here. I remember there's this room. This guy, Andrew Solomson, ran this room at a coffee shop in the Valley, Lulu's Beehive. It was like every Friday or something. He would never book me. It pissed me the fuck off. And I just thought if I got in there, that would be like a step. And then I saw who was booking. They were all way worse than me, or girls who wanted to fuck. And it pissed me. And then I got in there. I'm like, oh, it's just a coffee shop. There's shit going on. People are grinding coffee beans. It sucks. Managers aren't going to do anything specific for you. They're just going to help you with what you already have. Tom Cruise gets a manager. No, that's even the same thing. They don't make Tom Cruise movies. They just say, well, we'll read the ones that, and we'll narrow them down to the ones you want to do. L. Ron Hubbard's his manager. L. Ron, is it? He's dead, right? I could see that. What were you going to say?
Let's say you start doing book stuff like on the road and all that. Like, how much material would you think you should be able to do before you start doing that, so you don't repeat yourself? You know what I'm saying? Cause
yeah. say that. It's really not about how much material. I mean, you need to be able to fill up the amount of time they're booking you for. But if you're supposed to do 15, you should probably have a lot more than that. In junior writing, that's what they taught us. Like if you write a paper, you should know something like 200 or 300% more than you're including in the paper on whatever subject it is. You know, on knitting. In America, you got to do a bunch of research and only use what you need to use. But it's really not about, especially in the first couple of years, really not about like getting specifically enough materials that you can go on the road and do it. You really just get material for the sake of getting it. Hold on one second. So you just build the material for the joy of it, and don't worry about what it's for until later. You know, when I went from like middling to headlining, it wasn't about like getting the time. It was mostly about getting those people convinced that they should book me. But I already had. I was still featuring, but I still had plenty more time. I could headline. It was tough in the beginning, just because it was a lot more time. So it was like tough to like think out all my jokes in the order. But then once you do it 10 times, you're fine at it. But really, it's like you just continue to build material, totally. And then once you have a joke that sort of doesn't apply to you anymore, fucking get rid of it. You know, it shouldn't just be about like getting all this stuff together. But definitely try to write a lot. I mean, definitely don't not do that, you know? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If it doesn't make sense, let me know. I'm a huge pothead, and sometimes I lose track of what I'm saying.
You read like all day. I mean, and you're going up every night. Are you parsing through it? Like, does the cream automatically rise in your brain from all you wrote, or you usually throw away like 90%, like the paper you're writing? You got 5 pages worth, but it's 1 page you're bringing tonight. You know.
Yeah. I got some advice when I started from Joe Rogan. And I was like, I went through my first slump. My material wasn't working as well as it was. At open mics, I remember it's every week. I don't know if it's still like this, but every week there's like a rotation of open mics you can do. And so then it was like, for me, it became like, all right, I can do every joke once at each one of these places, and then I go back to the same Monday room. It's all the same people. So they've already seen it, so I can't do it anymore. Nobody writes like open micers. You guys write more than anybody. Just constantly come up with new shit, which is great. Because here's the advice he gave me. He goes, he didn't use anything from his first 2 years. He said he used one little 20-second impression of Arnold Schwarzenegger with a cucumber up his ass. And he goes, everything else is just gone. It's no longer who he is. So really all you're doing in the first 2 years is just getting like a spine on stage and just learning like, how to be comfortable up there. I watch you guys once in a while, and you're all doing the same stuff I was doing, which is fine. But I remember Freddie Soto, he's dead, but he was like a really good comic, and when he acted out his father, and he was exasperated, he would have his hands all the way up, like really like go for it. And then I would see like open micers like myself try and do the same thing, and we would go like to here, we would like we were just too nervous to fucking let it out. So that's all you're really learning is the technique, you know, not the joke specifically. It's good to get jokes, but they're not going to really stay with you for a long time. You guys all right now, you're not good yet, you know? None of us are. That's just normal. And we all feel good. You're good compared to other people at your level, I'm sure. But like, no one's good when they start something. Same as basketball players. You know, NBA players are better than college players. It's just the more you do it, the better you're going to get. And you're going to look back at where you were. You probably already do. Look back to where you were a year ago and be like, ooh, that wasn't very good. And you're better now. And you look back to where you are now and say, it's not good. And your development in the beginning goes up a lot and then like stops improving. You know, only improves little by little. What were you going to say?
Like some guys, like they have, you know, the road guy, you know, and then there's some guys, you know, who aren't that special. How do you like, is there a difference in how you write those two things?
Well, there's TV standards. I mean, I asked Attell once if he writes jokes for Comedy Central, or if he said he just writes jokes, and then he'll categorize them afterwards, like, oh, I can do that one on Comedy Central, and this one will be an HBO joke. He doesn't write with that in mind.
No.
Those people and those standards are going to change over and over again. So you really can't try to please them. What you really should be doing is just doing the stuff you want to do, and learning what that is, and then perfecting it. And then if they want to buy it, they want to buy it. But I've never been on TV. I mean, I had one little spot on HBO, like a 4-minute spot that played on a Friday night at midnight once. You know, and a lot of people just TV is not the answer for them. And there's a lot of shitty comics on TV. That style of comedy, they made their standards based on like 1980s rules of what people get offended by. Like, no one cares if you heard the word shit anymore. Nobody. No 2-year-old cares. But they're still going by that. So you can't try to please them too much, or you're really not doing... You guys are all artists. What you do is whatever you want to do. And then it's like a real painter artist, like some galleries are going to have your stuff and some aren't. Some artists get discovered after they're dead. But it doesn't mean Van Gogh was discovered after he died, right? I don't really know. And somebody was, I'm sure. And somebody big. And it's not like they weren't good, it's just the people that were in charge of deciding what is good, mostly Comedy Central, they just don't see it that way. There's just a few people who were there that just don't see it that way. You know, if you're an artist and you fuck somebody's wife, let's say you're a comic and you did the same thing, who works at Comedy Central, they're just not going to have you on. But that should not stop you from continuing to improve. You know what I mean? Just get better, and then there's other avenues, and there's new avenues coming up all the time. So don't worry too much about TV, especially at the early stages. I mean, you should get on there if you can, absolutely. Why not try? But like, it doesn't really mean that much. I remember asking when the half-hour special was something really good. When I started, it was like, they had just started. So Marin, Nick Swartzen, a few people got a half-hour specials, and they played them nonstop. The first 3 years of that, they played them nonstop because it's all they had to choose from. And then they became less and less meaningful because they would just show them once and they'd be gone. You know, they had 12 years to choose from, so it was just, they could never put them on. So then it becomes like, well, what are you doing the half hour for? You really think, like, what are you doing it for? And so somebody told me once, like, well, it's 10 grand, so that's good, that's something. But that's not the only reason you're doing comedy, really. And it's a little bit of notoriety, but not really. I talked to Bob Oshak once about it, and he was like, it doesn't change, he's still here. He was still here on a Sunday trying to get up.
It doesn't give you road work immediately?
No, it does not at all. Not at all, especially not the half hours anymore.
Jim Jeffries said when he did the Tonight Show, he got like 40 more followers. And
Yeah, that shit doesn't matter. I saw somebody showcasing for Mitzi after they did Tonight Show the week before, and I recognized him. I was like, dude, that guy was on the Tonight Show. Not passed. She crosses his name out in like a minute. It's like it doesn't do anything long term for you. What you really want to do, I'm assuming, is have a long career, be able to not have a real job for as long as possible.
Yeah.
So like specifically getting on TV, don't lose sight of that. You know what I mean? Don't lose sight of like, I want to be a comic forever. So they give you these like goals, like you have to get there in order to get there. That was get TV, get a manager, but that's not necessarily the way. Sometimes it used to be get in here. If you didn't get in here, you couldn't start. So people would just concentrate on just getting in here. I spent 4 years trying to please that lady, just trying to get in. But like, luckily the whole time I was trying to work on comedy. But like, if you don't get that thing, there's other ways around. It's just one person. The Montreal Comedy Festival is another one. Everybody wants to get into new faces. Yeah. But if you don't, it doesn't matter. Jay Moore never got in. Bobby Lee never got into that. And it fucking drove them crazy. But they didn't need that in order to get ahead. You try for that, but try for everything. You know, try for Just for Laughs, try for TV, try to get a manager that's going to work with you. We'll get into what type of manager you want later. But who asked that question? Did I answer you at all? I forget who asked.
Will a manager help you get like a writing agent too? Like if you
They can, yeah. What you want in a manager, let's just get to that now. You want someone who, you don't want to cold call somebody. Because if they're going to be working for you, you don't want them to just be like, all right, I'll work with you. You want someone who sort of is into you. And coming up to them and asking is the opposite of how to get that done. The people that are going to help you, really at any stage of your career, at any stage, are going to be other comedians and your friends. That's going to be, right now, all your friends don't really have much room to help you. You know, you guys aren't doing that much, I'm assuming. So it's tough to like help out your friends. But these are the guys you make connections with now that as you guys grow are going to get you like legitimate work. And it's not about like being friends with them so they'll get you work, but that's just what's going to happen. So if you become friendly with managers and agents, mostly managers, let's say, then they'll want to work with you. They'll want to be a guy that they'll want to be like, hey, you're cool. I want to help you. I like your stuff. I like you. Way more than like what your material is. So you got to go hang out at the Improv. You got to go hang out at the UCB and Nerd Melt. Just hang out there and be around those people, and then they'll help you that way. That's the way they're going to do it.
There's more managers at those spots than like the store?
There's nobody here.
Yeah.
This place is about stand-up, which is fine. But this place used to be about getting discovered, and that's what made it a gem. And now what makes it a gem is that nobody's ever here. So you can go out with impunity. You can bomb, and it won't matter. No one's going to see you and feel bad. I'm talking about after you do your spot, wherever you go up. Don't not go up, but do your spot, and then go hang out at one of these places.
Right.
You can go hang out at Denny's, or you can go fucking hang out at one of those places and be amongst comedians. One, the more good comics you see, the better you'll get. And bad comics too. You'll learn from them too. That was somebody's advice. I asked a bunch of comics what they should tell you guys. Who was it that said, watch a lot of comedy? Hold on. It wasn't Marin.
Chris Rock said that on the WTF episode.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't Chris Rock, so I don't have his number. I don't know who said that. But yeah, get up and then go do the other work. The other work means like go be someone they want to hang out with. I wanted this, and I'm sure most of you guys too, that you want people just to know that you're super talented. And just sort of say like, yeah, I get it, you're funny, come do punch up on this movie for me. Or come, open for me on the road. But that's not the way it's gonna be. If I don't know you, the odds of me asking you to go on the road for me, one, I don't really have the opportunity to bring people a lot. But two, it's like I don't know you. So I'd rather bring a friend who's less funny than you. Because it's gonna be a fun time. And managers are the same way. Everybody that was shitty but friendly got management. It's not like you have to kiss up to those people. But just be around them. You guys are funny people. And the reason they're managers in comedy is because they like funny people. They get off on it. Some female managers like to fuck with male comics. That's just what they're attracted to them. The male comics are attracted to male comics too. Not in that way, but just like they're into the vibe. They're into what you guys do and they want to be around you guys. So just be around them. Let them discover who you are. And I always got this, whenever I talk to somebody who I knew could help me, I'm kind of an introvert, so I go into myself and not be able to talk to them because I felt like it was like asking them for help just by talking to them. Don't ask them for help. Just be cool and be around them. Meet them the same way you meet each other at open mics. Just as you talk, and then afterwards, if you meet somebody, ask them who was that? What does he do? And if it's a manager, put that in your head. Be cool with him again. But you don't ever ask them until way later. Don't ask them for manage me, because then they're not going to really want to help you. But if they call you in, if they say, so what's your story now? What are you doing? That's when you tell them, I'm trying to do this and this. But don't just say, I need a manager to help me do anything. Because it's not what it is. You want a manager to help you do specific things you have in mind. If you have an idea for, like I said, the surf show, or if you have, I don't know, whatever it is. They could help you with that. They know who to talk to about those things. But they're not going to invent things for you. And there are a few guys who get a manager, and the manager just gets them things. If you look at someone like Chris D'Elia, that's a guy, there's not in terms of good or bad, but he has, I think Dave Becky is his agent or manager, but those guys, there's certain people you see, they're big, but they're not that big. How come they're that good? How come they're doing that well? And a lot of that's because really great managers. Those people you should not think about. Those are the outliers. D'Elia is a really attractive guy, okay? He also kills every time he goes on stage. And people want to lose sight of that, but don't lose sight of that. That guy destroys every time he goes on stage. And people want to be around him, and he's a fun, nice guy. And managers see that, and they want to work with him. And agents see that, and they want to work with him. And networks see that, and they're like, yeah, you're fun. A lot of it is just in a meeting, it's less about the idea and more just we want to work with you. We want to do something with you. Just like if you decide who you're going to write with amongst your friends, you write with people you get along with. Mixed with, there's some sort of algorithm. It's who you get along with mixed with talent. It's some sort of but it's not about, that's what Ralphie May said. He goes, it is not about hard work and getting up. That's not what it's about. It'd be nice if it was, but it's not. So just get over that. I spent 7 years thinking, all these people are shitty and they're getting ahead. It's, instead of saying okay, what can I learn from that? All I did was, here comes another shitty guy getting ahead. But it's so what does that teach you? What can you gather from that? What? They're shitty. Yes, they are. But they're doing something right. They're getting to where you want to get to. So what are they doing right? Whitney is whatever she is on stage. But she's got the work ethic that none of us will ever have. And she is by far more successful probably now than we'll ever be, probably combined. But so what is she doing right? It's not, oh, she's so pretty. She's not that pretty. She's okay. She's in LA 7. You know what I mean? There's plenty of hotter comedians and hotter actresses. It's not that. It's that she knows everybody. And she does a rotation on Facebook of writing every single person she meets. And she's like, oh, I saw that thing, made me think of you. Just being cool and friendly. Not kissing up, because they'll read through that. But just be nice. Let yourself be nice to them. And then eventually, not now, but in a few years and over the coming years, you'll develop these relationships with them. And then maybe they won't even be your first manager. Maybe they'll be your fourth manager. And then they'll be like, oh, so you're not working with anybody now? I was like, yeah, I'd love to work with you, man. And that shit will happen. But as you have stuff going on. So don't get caught up in I need this step to get to the next step. Just be friendly with everybody and know you're planting seeds for way, way later. Yeah.
What about when you're at our stage and you're talking to people that are at your level, in terms of asking for advice from them? Like when you see them, like, do you think a lot of comedians at your level don't want to do that, or?
Well, it's tough. Here's what it is. It's tough for us to even think about when guys like Marin. Okay, let's say me. I'm at 14 years. When I think of like newer comics, I think of someone at 6 or 7 years in. It's tough to relate to those first like year or two, where it's like that. It's fucking hellish, sort of. And you just move past it, and when I think of beginner, it's not like that far beginning. It's like when you think of like high school, you don't think of like what class was like in first grade. You're like, oh, I didn't even know anything then. So to me, Rogan said there's no advice to give you. I think it was meant in terms of like development on stage. That's one where just watch a bunch of comedians, learn from them, and the advice they're giving you is like you sort of have to find that for yourself. Not because it's like this mystery that you got to come across it, but it's like until you've been in a situation where you have a heckler, anything I tell you, you're not gonna internalize. You know what I mean? You have to do it. You have to snap on them too hard once, and then lose the crowd, and then not deal with it at all once, and lose the crowd that way because you're not even like paying attention to it. And you can get little tips, but only after you've already been in there enough. And you'll ask specific questions, like, "Hey, I had this heckler, and I fucking ripped him a new asshole, but then everyone turned on me." Like something specific, like what should I do there? Like what's the problem? And sometimes people say, I've had this. Somebody told me this. Like sometimes, like you guys are way more sensitive and observant than audience members are. So when this guy walked in, it was these Italian guys. They walked into the side there, and I just hated them instantly. I just knew who they were. They were just rich kids who didn't do anything. And as soon as they opened up their mouth for a second, I was like, "Kill yourself!" I was just immediately like as hard as I could, and everyone in the crowd was like, "Jesus, they didn't do anything." But it's like, no, they did do something. You would have seen it. And so that was the advice I got. I was like, let them hang themselves a little bit and then do that. But then I still have to do that 4, 5, 10 more times before I like really got it in your muscle memory. There's this thing in basketball where if the lane is like here, if the basket's here, and you're at the top of the key this way, and somebody switches, so somebody's running at you from down below, running at you. So the basket's here, the foul line's here, they're running this way. Well, you can either shoot before they get there, or knowing they're off balance, you can drive around them, because they won't be able to run at you and then run back at the same time. But I could tell a basketball player that, but they'll only know that when they've had somebody running at them 50 times. And then the muscle memory will kick in and just like, you don't even think about it, you're just like, I can go around them this way because they're coming up to, to help. So the advice from other comics, they're not going to give you this like gem of wisdom that's going to make you a good comic instantly. It's really about internalizing it into your muscles. You know what I mean? Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah.
Yep.
How did you deal with hecklers in the beginning?
I failed. I failed a lot. And that's what I mean when I say you're not good. I don't mean you're not funny. It means technically, the technical aspects of it, you guys don't have yet. You don't know like how to raise and lower your voice yet, and how to do an act out properly, or how to do less fake segues. The more you do it, the more you'll get it. That's what these stages are. There's a Ralphie told me once in here, in the back there once, when I was starting. He was like, "How long have you been doing comedy?" And I said, "I think it was like a year then." And he goes, "Oh, that's when it's just fun." And I was like, "What are you talking about? It's horrible. I'm not a regular here. I can't. It's open mics are so fucking shitty." And I've talked to him about it a bunch over the next 10, 12 years. And this is what he meant. He just meant like, guys, right now there's no business, especially if you're a year or two in. Even 3 or 4, there's really not much business to do. It's just about writing a joke. So in that way, you and Aziz and me and fucking some horrible person, we're all in the same boat. We're all just trying to write a good dick joke. You know what I mean? That's all it is. So the art of it, that's all you guys got going on right now. So it's fucking beautiful. All you're trying to do is write good jokes. You don't have to worry about like, well, this one will go for Comedy Central, this one will go for HBO. Just be free. Just enjoy yourself and learn shit. I watched Mark Curry. Yeah, that's his name. 3 nights in a row. That was a joy of working the booth here. It's because you got to watch a lot of good comics and a lot of shitty comics. And you can start seeing the mistakes they make. But I saw Mark Curry 3 nights in a row. And he normally wasn't here much. It was somebody who like...
Is that Mr. Cooper?
It was
Yeah.
Mr. Cooper, yeah. And he's a good comic. And so the first night, I was just enjoying it. He was a guy who was never around. I was just like, oh, this is really fun and interesting. And the second night, I watched it again. It was pretty much the same 25 minutes or so. And I watched it again, and I laughed again, because it's still funny. And then the third night, it's like, well, now it's 3 nights in a row. I know it by heart, you know? And I was watching it, and he did it like 2 taglines for this one joke, and then he missed the 3rd tagline. And I was like, oh, he didn't do that. And only because I watched him the last 2 nights, like he missed that last one. And then this was him on stage. He was like going like he did like 1, 2, and then he's like, yeah. And then he goes, oh, and imagine if, and then he did the 3rd tagline. And that's when I saw the technical aspects come out, where it's like, oh, you can fake forget. Like that's something you can use as a tool in order to like get something out, so it's not like it's like repetitive and rote. Those are the things you're learning now, the technical parts of it. You know, that's what I mean by you're not good yet. It means your comedy can't come out yet until you learn that stuff. And there's no like, I wish there was a word of wisdom, there's like a secret that all the old guys are like holding out. But there's not. It's just learn what type of comedy you'll be. And don't try to be like anyone specific. Because honestly, I mean, the advice Mitch Hedberg would have given you would be different on how to write a joke than, you know, than whoever, I don't know, than Marin. Those are completely different comics. So it's like you become whatever you want to become. I forgot what the question was. But it's okay, we're talking. Go ahead. I lose my place a lot.
I just want to preface mine. I have a lot of like, questions, so I want to be like that overzealous kid that's the one guy that's always asking questions about anything.
I'll mix it up.
Ours is a little, my mind's a little smaller on the scale because I know you posted this for LA Comics. We came out from Arizona just because we were going to learn something.
Okay.
But ours, I don't like the scale of writers, managers, things. It's more just basically like localized stuff. One, the biggest thing is with all the technology and everything and all the self-promotion and everything, is it still such a necessity to be in LA or New York to get yourself out? I mean, like that was always the big thing on every documentary you watch is like, if you're not doing stuff in New York, you're not shit. If you're not doing
well, the only advice is, how long have you been doing comedy?
Huh?
How long have you been doing comedy?
Maybe 2 years.
Okay. But I usually tell people, I started in LA, and I tell people that was a mistake. That I don't know how the open mics are now, but it was a very non-nurturing environment. It failed out a lot of people who could have been really great comics.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, there's guys I started with that would have been way better than me. But it's so hard to get up in front of 5 comics, 2 of which are sleeping, and the other 2 are writing jokes, and one guy kind of half paying attention. That's not a fun environment to do stand-up in. And the fucking coffee grinder going off, like that's bad. And eventually, after a couple years out, people get sick of it, and you'll start seeing people drop off. It's not to say you shouldn't be here. You're already here, whatever. But like, I made it through that system. It's not because of perseverance or anything like that. It's a lot of luck. I managed to get in here when it was a place that you could still get in and become a regular from being an employee. It's really not that anymore.
What about the volume of mics you get here, though?
Yeah, there's that. There's some cities where you can't get up. I don't know what Phoenix is like.
Well, we kind of just made a list of stuff. We've got it to the point where anyone can do 2 to 3 shows from Monday to Sunday.
Every night?
All around the valley.
Then that's what you need. That's all you need. If you can get up every night, that's like a minimum of what you can. Some cities don't have that. So what I usually tell people is like stay in your city until you're a couple years in, until you like have your base, until you're a little bit confident on stage. And then you can come to LA and New York where it's really, it's demeaning, the fucking shit we gotta do. Waiting in line with homeless people.
I talked to a comic from out here at one of our shows saying that he was out in Chicago and he was like, I'm ready to move to LA, and he was going to do it at his 3rd year, and then he was like, you know what, maybe I'll hold off, and then he said he waited another 2 more years, so he waited after like 5 years, and when he came here, realized that he was still on just that like tiny rung below, and he was like, I'm glad I didn't make that first move, and he said the biggest advice is if you're in a smaller town is don't leave to go to a city like LA, New York until you're featuring at 5 major clubs in your town. Not 5 major open mics, but like if there's 5,
Maybe.
5
That's the
clubs.
path. I don't know if exactly that, just because some people aren't really road comics. Guys like Hedberg had a real tough time on the road.
Yep.
Because he would feature an MC, and people are like, what the fuck is this? You know, when they're there to see him, it was way different. But when he was MCing, it was like he would open up with these weirdo jokes. And people were like, this is terrible for the show. So like, for him to have to wait until he's featuring at 5 road clubs would be like...
No, not 5 road clubs, the 5 major clubs in your town, like where you're at, where you can still pull friends, still pull people that have seen you.
I think it's just when you sort of get comfortable. Joey Diaz told me this once, and it's true, that whatever city you start in, you'll never get respect. That they'll always look at you as an open micer.
Yeah, that was the question I was going to ask. I started in LA. How do I get out? How do I raise out of this open?
Well, here's what's going to happen. I see guys that are on stage at the Improv or something, or in the store, or wherever, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I know what they did. They're not what I like, or they're bad. And then someone says, like, when's the last time you see him? And I was like, I don't know, 5, 6 years ago. And then it hits me, it's like, they were 3 years into comedy then, and they're 8 years into comedy now. And I would not want someone to judge me that way.
Right.
You know, but I'll still judge other people that way, and everyone will. It's just sort of a natural thing. So just understand that some of these guys will see you, and that, this guy Eric Abrams, who used to book the Improv, he told me some stuff. And he said, like, be careful who you go up in front of, because they will always have that thought of you. The people that are going to be around in terms of agents, managers, industry in general, and other comics too. Big comics, like, you want them to like you. So if you go up and show them a kind of a mediocre performance, that's what they'll think of you forever. I've seen people one time that I make, like, I stick somewhere in my head. You categorize them. There's nothing you can do about it. It's not fair. It's not unfair. It's just the way life is. If people see you trip and fall, then they're going to think you're a spaz. You know what I mean? It's not. It's like you might get way better at that, but it's still like, yeah, I've seen it. So sort of, you can get away from those people thinking about you like that. I did eventually, but I'm still sure there's some people that still see me as an open micer. There must be. You guys all started after me, so you don't saw me as that. But like, and luckily now, a lot of these Comedy Central type people, industry type people, they came here after I was done being an open micer. So they don't know me as that. The people that were there, they're always going to be like, yeah, I know him. I get that all the time. A manager gets that all the time. People say like, I have to like beg them just to watch your clip. So yeah, there's nothing you can do. You're already here in LA. You're doing it here. Yeah.
How do you have to crush every time?
What?
You have to crush every time and get the respect that you need?
No, but if you crush, people are going to respect it more. I mean, they always said this at showcases. This is the thing they always said when I became friends with some of those people, is that they can see, when it was a bad room, Drew Carey used to do this improv night at the Improv. But I'm saying he would do improvisation. Him and his friends, it was Drew Carey night, and it was every Thursday.
Yeah.
And he'd do a 10 p.m. show. And it was every other Thursday, excuse me. And if you went on the show, that he had a show, like if you had a showcase at 8 p.m. show, it was going to be packed because everyone was there early. It was going to be sold out and standing room only, and it was great. And if you went up the next week, it was empty. It was just an improv that you guys are trying to get people to come to. And I know some of you don't have anybody to get to come, so it's like 8 people. So it's just the luck of the draw. In those environments, absolutely, you should be crushing. You should try to. I mean, I always say always do as well as you can, but like, you can do that with new material. You can do it with jokes that aren't worked out, but with those jokes that you're working on, try to do the best you can.
Right.
You know, it's like you can't always swing for a home run, but like, you can with like, I don't know, with like less tools. That's a better analogy.
Sam said he used to tank if he didn't admit Sia was in the room.
So you didn't steal anything?
Yeah, because he said he'd have people give him cues, but
Yeah.
he wouldn't do new jokes or anything.
Yeah, I would start doing just crowd work, and then I realized like, well, some of this is going to turn into material. I was just watching that. Yeah, what are you going to say?
How do you hang out at like UCB and Improv and Factory without paying a lot of money?
Yeah, well, this place lets you in. This place has always been good about it. If it's not sold out, they'll let you in the back.
The Improv's pretty fun.
The Improv is pretty good too. The Laugh Factory is always pretty bad. I don't know how they are now, but it used to piss me off when I would go down there to watch someone I knew, someone I was friendly with here, and I was like, oh, I just see Freddie Soto's on City Mine. Like, now you got to pay. Come on, man. And it's just they're just doing their job. It's just Jamie. It's not the door guy's fault. But the Improv, absolutely, you can go there and hang out. And when I say the Improv, is it?
Most of it.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, I know it's tough and poor, so I wouldn't say you have to like pay to go in those places, but you must know somebody that's like a couple years ahead of you that's going in. Those people can bring you in. You know, you're not going to ask Greg Fitzsimmons to take you around the clubs. He's just not going to do it. He doesn't know you. But someone who's just like a little bit past you, like, hey, if you ever go into those rooms, let me know. I'd love to go hang out. And that's all is hang out. The Improv, it's not the watching at the Improv that's good. It's the bar area. That's what I mean when I'm saying go hang out at the Improv. Do your spot wherever, get better, technically, and then go be around those people who are going to help you 7 years from now. You know? Yeah.
Mine's kind of added to that question. Working at a club like you worked here yourself, and there's been a bunch of other comics that have gotten to start in box office or serving, things like that, food running, whatever. I heard before that it's hard to you get in that club just because it's like going to school for you. You watch comedy every day, you're learning everything that works in and out, the quirky stuff. I've heard that sometimes you get lost in the fray where they forget like, oh, you're here, you're a comic and stuff, but then you lost and now you're just an employee. Did you ever have to overcome anything like that when you worked here? Did they know that this is what you wanted to do and they
Yeah.
were trying to help you, or you were just a payroll employee and you happened to be funny on the weekends?
Here's what I figured out. No, I was like a payroll employee, and it was. I mean, before I was a regular, I would just do the open mic nights, and then occasionally the belly room. They would give me spots. But I mean, it really bothered me to no end. I know it bothered Freddie also. He took a long time to get made a paid regular here. And Caparulo, it bothered him. It's like, oh, no one respects me. Tony Hinchcliffe has the same stuff, where he was like, I really thought it was like a slight on him, and everyone was looking at him as just some not a paid regular. And then later, I realized what all the comics were thinking about us was just like, oh, I just assume you guys are.
Yeah.
Like, they don't care. No one else looks at who else is on the list or when.
Yeah.
They just assume you get spots, but they haven't seen you go on right after them, right before them. So no one's looking down on you like the way you think they are.
Well,
They're just like, oh, you're here, you must be a comic.
But at least also like the management staff that's also working at the club, like that kind of puts you as like, you know, they know that you do stuff.
Oh, they'll shit on you.
The problem I have with this right now, like how you're saying, like the best spot to do the improv is at the bar where you're trying to, you know, jive with someone like, oh, I heard you doing this show, hey, would you mind checking out this show? We work at 2 clubs in Arizona, one where the club he works at is more lenient to, oh, talk with the comic, you know, hang out with them.
Yeah, you can't bother anybody. You know, it's like, you know when you're bothering somebody.
But we also have the club I work at is a strict no fraternization. You're here to do your job, don't learn stuff. It's just kind of a precursor, like new thing that they're trying to do.
Who's that?
I work at Stage Live.
It says, don't talk to comedians?
It's kind of a thing now because of past experiences with
Fucking-
other servers
I always
from the
do
party
that.
spots.
Some comic goes to a bar and gets too drunk, and then no comics are allowed to go there. It's like, why am I?
Yeah, that's what
Brendan
sometimes
did that,
if you're
not me.
a
That's a
server-
different person.
If you're a server that's a comic and you want to talk to the person, they think like, oh, that guy's going to try and get you to do something sketchy because he's out of town, doesn't know anybody. Basically, it's most of like, that guy's going to try and get you to buy drugs. Don't do anything that's going to get yourself in trouble and sacrifice your job and like your future.
Right. Well, I mean, definitely don't like bug a guy. Like if somebody's
exactly,
there and they're
yeah.
talking on the phone, you don't want to be the guy who's sitting in the green room saying, so what else can you teach me? And he's like, I don't know, man, I'm dealing with something
Yeah,
right
well,
now.
that's kind of the portion of it,
Yeah.
but it's also to the like.
I mean, you got to know, hold on, Stuart, you got to know, like, when you're bugging people, you got to know not to, it's tough, it's a tough line, and some people are going to get on the wrong side of that line.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I mean, being at the improv, I mean, it's like being at a house party, where you don't have to try to talk to anybody, but if you go to the house parties everybody goes to, eventually you'll just meet them.
Yeah.
You know, and you'll become friendly with them, and then your own sense of humor will come out. You don't have to try to impress them in any way. David Taylor, his uncle, comes to visit sometimes. He's a photographer. He takes pictures of like Miss America pageants and stuff like that. Just how he makes his living. He comes out here once in a while for work, and I'll hang out at the store. And he went with Matt Taylor to the Ha Ha Cafe, and was sitting at the front bar there. And Matt told somebody that that guy, someone was, who was that guy? Because he had like white hair. And he goes, oh, he's an agent at William Morris, or a manager. Agent. And so the guy didn't know that. The uncle didn't know that Matt had said that. But all he saw was people just coming up to him, left and right, like, oh, you watching the baseball game? I love baseball. It's so fun. What are you a fan of? I like the Orioles, but I can also like the Braves. You like the Braves? And it's just like, it was like, why is everyone trying to talk to me? It was so weird for him. Just like people seek him out. So they're aware of that. So don't do that, but don't try to be away from them, but like, you know, just be around them.
Yeah.
It's like, this is how I am at parties. I get uncomfortable, but it's like, if I know you three and I don't know you, then I'm talking with all you guys, but you know them, then now we're in a 5-way conversation, and now I can meet you. Instead of like, hi, my name is Ari, what can we talk about? No one meets that way.
Right.
So just kind of be around them. So you get to, if some guy over there wants to talk to you, some comic, then fucking talk to him.
That's the thing we usually get is like if they come in like, hey, what do you guys do? What do you guys do?
Then
after the
fucking
show?
go
You
out
to
with
a
them.
bar, and we're like, we're all going home, and it like puts off this cold front, which a lot of us that work there, that even our comics like, that's not what
Oh, we'll tell them the management says. But then we're not supposed to talk to you, but ignore that shit. They would just not let us drink at the old place in Arizona. And we're like, they said it was a state law, you couldn't drink while you're on stage.
At the improv?
At the improv. And then we found out it was just some Christian guy who didn't want people drinking on stage.
Yeah,
He's dead now. Yes. It was so annoying. I'd be off stage, I'd be emceeing, and I would like ask the bartender for a beer, and he'd like look over my shoulder, and I'm like, who the fuck are you looking at?
Yeah.
And it was the manager going like, it's okay. I'm like, give me a fucking beer.
It's very nervous tiptoeing at those clubs.
They wouldn't serve. All we did was we bought a bunch of liquor, and then we kept it in the green room, and then we just got Cokes and mixed.
Well, also you're saying about like meeting people. I know like you're saying like make friends with people and like they put them on the show.
Yeah.
How do you feel about? I feel like nepotism is kind of like the biggest curse around this town.
Yeah, it's what, okay, with people helping their friends is what makes sort of not the best comedy come out, but there's something to be said for chemistry too. Every team Sean Kemp played for was worse because of his addition. You know, look at Kobe Bryant, it's the same shit. They got the best center in the NBA this year and one of the top point guards, and now they're fucking 500.
Swept.
What?
They got swept.
By the Clips.
Really? Nice. 0 for 4.
And they clinched the division because of it.
The Clippers did? Oh, wow. That's good. But it's a lot about chemistry. So it's like, I'd rather work with a friend of mine who's slightly less funny than someone who's a little more funny that I don't know at all. That's just not going to be good in a writing room. It's not going to be good on the road. I mean, don't ask those guys to like take you with them on the road, but like,
No, I mean like if you're.
you can say hi, absolutely. And then also know this, if you meet anybody on the road, they are not going to help you when you get back to LA or New York. Those guys forget you immediately. It was a fun weekend, and that's all it was. And if they say like, yeah, I'd love to, you know, let me know when you're in LA, well, that just means nod hello and say, I worked with you once, see you later, when you get here. They have their own lives here. They're on vacation there. Stuart, what were we going to say?
I was going to ask you if there was like a turning point that you felt with your material, your stage presence around the time that you got passed here. Did you feel that there was an act like?
Here's what happened. I got paid a non-paid regular here. She worked me pretty fucking long before she passed me. She got in her head. Also, hold on, before I go on, you guys should know this. Everything is changing in Hollywood. With the internet and with the way things are in general, it's almost exponential, the changes. So when people tell you, like, this is the way I did it, you have to see how much of that you can actually really take in right now. They all told us, like, well, you can still make it at 45. Look at Rodney Dangerfield. And eventually I'm like, can you think of an example that wasn't 40 years ago? So I can actually do something with that? There's a story of, who's that dude from Close Encounters of the Third Kind? Richard Dreyfuss, yeah. He did this thing, all my acting teachers would say, all of them would say this, that he went into these meetings, he got his auditions, and he went in to meet the casting directors, and he would tell the producers, and he would tell them he wasn't interested in doing this part. And they're like, you came in here to tell me that you don't want to do this role? And he goes, yeah, I mean, I want to say hi, and thank you for the opportunity, but it's not for me. And eventually Spielberg found out about this guy. He was like, who the fuck is this, turning down roles that aren't even offered to him? And I think that was what he gave him. Maybe something else first, but I think Close Encounters after that. And they're like, that's a good story. That will not work today. Yeah, your agent would kill you. They'll get the cast agent, will call your agent and say, what the fuck, who the fuck, you think I have time for this? I have time to see 25 people, and this guy came in just to leave? Like, you do that twice, and your agent will drop you. So those stories aren't exactly a one-to-one. Like, you can't exactly transfer all those stories. So my experience here at the Comedy Store is going to be different than yours. When I was here, Mitzi was here every week, a few times a week. I honestly don't see it as a way in to become a paid regular anymore. It doesn't seem like it is. Then I got to work with Mitzi and get advice from her, honestly from 40 years of stand-up. She would see. Some stuff she would tell me would be like useless, but some stuff she would tell me would be dead on. And just the ability to work here and see comics was important. But when I got made a non-paid regular after like 4 years, I remember that was a turning point when it was like I was just way more confident. I would go to the same shitty open mics, and I'd be like, you guys can't touch me now because I'm a non-paid regular. It was like, and I would do better because of that confidence. By the time I got made a paid regular, though, I saw how fucking stupid it all was, and I didn't care as much. So there's no like specific turning point, like boom, and I'm gonna get better. But I mean, I remember that time with those Italian guys in the side. Like certain things you'll remember to like help you get better. But it's not like you're gonna figure it all out one day. It's just gonna be like jumps. Here's the development I had. It's tough to remember all these. But I remember being like, you know, getting slightly better. It's usually like that, you know. And then sometimes I'll go through a rut and I'll get worse. And those will usually put me out over here. Like when I come out of it, I'll be like way better than I went into it. There's also these jumps where you like get a little better every day, and then all of a sudden you figure some stuff out, and you're like, oh, now I'm here. It's still getting a little better, but there's these jumps you can make, and you'll like kind of take those with you for always. But it's usually some breakthrough set, some like great crowd in front of a bunch of people. I don't want to forget this too. There's another mistake you can make of not coming to LA soon enough. because I remember being 2 years in and doing an open mic in Northern Virginia, and just visiting home and like finding an open mic, and they were all like, it's an open mic. Talked to this guy who was the same 2 years as I was, and man, he was bad. He was so bad, and I saw him talk about that open mic. He's like, it's just an open mic. And I'm like, there were 75 audience members there.
Yeah.
You have no idea how easy you have it. This is the best show I've done all year. And you're looking at it as an open mic, and this guy was not developed because he only went up a few times a week instead of like 5, 6, 7 times a week. And it's just like he wasn't going to develop them. So at some point you gotta get your legs, your sea legs, and then get the fuck out of there into like where you can see good people. Being around good people all the time will help you. You should watch every headliner that goes to Phoenix, for the good ones and the bad ones, if they let you in. You should watch all those people. It's tough because here you get to see people every night. You get to see people 15 times. There you only get to see them like once or twice on a weekend, and you just sort of enjoy the act.
There's 6 headliners on one show here, where you get them.
Yeah, some of the best comics in the world are here on any given night. Sebastian and Brett Ernst, I mean, those guys are fucking great. And there's guys that I saw that were like the best that anyone that I knew at one specific thing. Like the way Don Barris can take control of a late night crowd. Like I don't see many guys that can do that. And I'm like, okay, what can I learn from that? And you just see the way he can like smile slightly, and as he calls a grandmother some dirty slut, and has her laughing. You know, it's like, I couldn't do that in the beginning. And we saw this guy, we called him White Kyle, or Sig Kyle, because he saw Don doing that, and he saw me and a few other people going like, you fucking bitch, like with a smile on their face, or saying like, hey, what's up, black people? And he went to some lady in the crowd on Sunday night, and he just goes, what's up, you black bitch? It made the rest of the show weird. Like for hours after that, everyone was fucking. And that's just, I know what he had in mind. We all know what he had in mind. But technically, it wasn't there yet. And that's when he started calling him Sick Kyle after that. Yeah, but you see people night after night after night, and eventually you can start getting the technical aspects of what they do. The way Bobby Lee, I always stole this from him, was just putting his hand on the mic stand, just having something to do with it. He'd have it there. He got it from Carlos, I think. Just you'll see the technique people have, where to move the stool, or to sit down or stand up, leave the microphone in or not. All that stuff, just look at what they do. Paul Mooney, he's never here anymore, but like he took control of a late night crowd, or early crowd, more than anybody I've seen. So I always try to watch his first 5 minutes. Because people would be leaving, and they would see him come on, and they didn't know who he was. Black people knew who he was a little bit. This is before Chappelle's show. So white people had no idea who that guy was. But they'd start to stand up, and they'd be like, hold on. They'd start to sit down. Before he even talked, he just had this power. And so you'll see people that can do something really good. There's some great storytellers around. So if you're like, have some like story bit, you watch those guys, and you start seeing like how they come full circle on it, you know, and like the way they're doing things, and you can start to like learn from them and grow that way. That's not necessarily you should do that, but if you want to do, let's say, a story, then look at the other storyteller comics and see how they're doing it. What did you ask? Was there any big moments of like development?
Yeah, I mean,
like
was there like you were starting to do stuff in TV work or anything like that where?
Yeah, that'll help make you more confident, definitely. When Tony Rock started coming around, I mean, he clearly used that name of Rock. And people got him up at the Laugh Factory right away. They said this about Pauly Shore too. I remember somebody telling me like he did it for himself, like he did whatever he did for himself. But like nobody tried to put him on just because Mitzi was his mother. And then the guy said like, yeah, I mean he would go to the Laugh Factory, people would call him and say, hey, Pauly's coming, just put him on and get him off so you can deal with it. I'm like, well, how is that not being helped?
Yeah.
He got up. Tony Rock, same way. He got up. But here's what he did. He used the stage time to get better. You know what I mean? So who gives a fuck? So TV never made itself open to me. But that's not going to stop me. I thought it would for a while. It's like if I can't get on TV, I can't be anything. But the whole time, you're just improving on stage. Now, this is something Marin told me to tell you guys. It's like, don't put all your eggs into stand-up. He said there are maybe 10 to 15 guys that can make just a living off just stand-up comedy. You know, and be just known for just that. And the odds are there's more than 15 of you in here. So, I mean, think about it. There's no specific. I always had this thing where I'd be real combative with people and be like, no, stand-up is the real thing. Everyone else is shitty. and I'm the best. And we had this thing like, oh, if you're a Comedy Store comic, you were good, and Laugh Factory comics all suck, and the improv comics all suck. And then I realized like later, it's like, why? Because I happen to drive by here and get a job here. We're all better than the Laugh Factory people who came from the other side and got a job there. Like, it's ridiculous. It's not like a special technique. Every acting class does the same thing. We're like, oh, this is the best training. Well, it's not. Good people come out of everywhere. Every comedian, first of all, hold on, I gotta get back to this. But comics are all your friends, okay? I don't know if you guys have this combative thing that we had, but it's always like, I'm better than you, and that guy sucks. We never say it to people. We just talk shit about them and fucking hate them, especially if they got ahead when you knew they weren't good. That's not bad. Some comic who's getting ahead because they're not good, that just helps us. Not in terms of like, oh, it just shows comics that are bad. That's bad. But I'm saying like, your comics are your colleagues. We're all doing the same shit. Like what I said, we're all just trying to write a dick joke. So we're all together. If you want to be enemies with somebody, be enemies with somebody who's not a comic. You know? Who isn't even trying. We're all just creative people. We're all in the same boat. So yeah, some people are going to be way worse than you, and you're going to be offended by that. But they're not doing anything to you. Just help them along. In terms of what I said, like everyone, your friends are going to help you, that means you guys too. A lot of you guys are going to quit and become fucking producers. So it's not like you should kiss up because you never know who can help you and like fear that they won't help you. But like, be friendly and eventually they'll want to work with you. If you quit, you might give him a job at some point. Like, oh, I love that guy. It just comes down to like, oh, it's down between these two people and you're like, oh yeah, I used to stand up with him. Yeah, get him. Or, oh no, fuck that guy. I used to stand up with him. It's like, how do you want people acting? It's not about like you have to show them that you're better than them. Just be cool with people. Just be friendly. We're all colleagues. We're comics. That's us. We're comics. So we're all in the same boat. Be angry at your parents. Someone who's not a comic, who doesn't get it. Oh wait, here's what I want to get back to. But in terms of that too, it's like there's plenty of ways that you can get out your funny things you have. There's YouTube videos. Oh, and that's what I meant too. Fuck, I gotta stay focused. In terms of like how it's different now, this is no longer a way in. There's also podcasts weren't around 5 years ago. There wasn't a way to get your own shit done. You can make stuff on your own way easier now. Before, they had all the keys. So you have to get some guy in a suit that says, we're willing to give you money to do this thing. And now it's really not it's not as true. Now if you're broke, you need some money. You definitely need some money. But you can do videos for other people. You can help them with theirs. You know, there's stuff you can do just to get better. Writing, I came out here and I wanted to be I told people writer, but really comic is what I wanted to do. But writing, I at least taken some classes, so I felt like, well, I can say I want to do that, and I won't be like embarrassed. Like, well, why would you think you could be a comic? I'm like, well, I had no reason to think I could. But writing, I at least taken a few classes. And then I tried both for a while, and then comedy took more, my stand-up took more of my mind. And all my thoughts were going to stand-up, so I just concentrated on that. And I'm like, oh, I'll get to writing, I'll get to writing. And then 10 years passed, and then I'm the guy who just hasn't written. You can say like, well, I want to do this, but then I just haven't. There comes a change from when you, in your mind, when you will all go through this. When you go from being a guy who's trying to become these things to just having become it. You know, like you see those degenerate, washed up comics that are huge drug addicts. Like you guys have seen them. And you're like, well, I don't want to be that, but I can still take drugs and experience these things. And I'm not saying stay away from drugs. I'm not saying that. I'm saying stay away from doing nothing except drugs. But like, you will eventually become, oh, that's just that drug addict guy. Or that's just that guy who's never written anything. Or doesn't write a new joke. And you keep saying like, I'll get to it, I'll get to it. And then you become that person. So write. David Taylor wrote for 5 years at coffee shops every night. And then eventually started getting close on jobs and started getting jobs. Just do it for the sake of doing it. And you will improve your skills. At all of it. Directing stuff, you want to shoot little shorts. You can do them like people said on your iPhone. Whatever. Just get it done and you won't be good and you will get better by having done it. It's the same as any like computer program. You don't know Excel that well until you fucking use it a bunch. Or whatever. You know, you learn what all this stuff is on ESPN.com, not your first time. Your first time you go like, what? Where are the basketball scores? And you figure it out, now you just know. So just do everything. That's what Marin said. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Like a lot of you guys are going to become right. There's ways to get out like humor. There's tons of different ways. So don't be locked up. Look at, like I said, Reggie Watts. That guy does it his own completely separate way. And now he's the same, he's met up with Sarah Silverman. Like in the end, they're just sort of like their own way and they came back to the same place. Yeah.
I see a lot of guys try to get into the whole podcasting thing, but something someone told me once is that you don't want to do that too early because if you get too exposed when you're not good, everyone's always going to have that memory of you.
Yeah, they say that a lot.
Do you think the podcast and YouTube avenue is getting too flooded?
Well, here's what it is. They say don't expose yourself too early. My feeling is this: it's like when I say like the people will see you as an open micer always once they see you doing open mics. In that way, there is something to be said for like be careful who sees you and where and how. But if you do something that's not good and it gets 50 views on YouTube, no one sees that. So really, what kind of exposure is it? The only way you're getting exposure if it gets like 100,000 views, and then you're like, can't be all bad, you know, unless you're like William Hung, and you're just like so bad that they're laughing at you. But yeah, just do this stuff, and you can delete it later when you get better at it. John LeJoie, he wasn't as good, I'm sure, as he is now when he started doing all those things. But now he gets him, you know, he has an audience that knows and loves him and wants him to like put out new stuff. So I wouldn't worry that much about like it's too much exposure. It's almost like just try it. And you'll quit after 2 years. It might not go anywhere, but at least you'll have done it. And you're like, cool, now I have a little bit of experience doing that. And it'll make you better. It won't be like a one-to-one, like, do this and you will become a star in this avenue. It's just like you'll get better over time. When I started doing commercials or auditions for it, I wasn't good at it. And I got a little better and I started booking some, and that helped me make money so I could just do stand-up. But like, even on the commercials themselves, I wasn't as good when I started on them as I was after I'd done 35 or 50 of them, you know? It's like you just get better at all your skills. So I wouldn't worry too much about like limiting yourself because you're afraid of the exposure, you know? Just do the best you can at whatever level you're at, and know that you're going to improve, which means you're going to look back on this and go like, oh, this wasn't good. But at the time, I made clips online that I found later, like, whoa, that is terrible. And it's sort of embarrassing. But yeah, you can just take that shit down. And you gotta do something that's representative of yourself. I don't know, I mean, don't send those out to like agents and managers, because they'll see it and they'll just assume you're just a comic. They're not gonna assume you've been doing it for a year, you know? But yeah, little sketches and shit, just make them, who cares? Podcast, same thing. It's like, yeah, maybe it's too late, but maybe it's not. Here's the thing about those that are cool, is that you might get 7 listeners, but those are 7 fans.
Yeah.
And other people will listen and then like, I don't like it. It's okay, they'll just never remember that you had a podcast. You know, it won't even enter into their memory. So if you get an 8th fan, then now you have an extra fan. You know, if you have 10, it's just like Twitter and all that. It's like the people that follow you and listen to your jokes. If you have like 100 followers, it's 100 people listening to your jokes. That's a lot. It's the size of the OR almost. That's pretty good. And as you get better, that audience will grow. You'll get more, you'll start hitting better tweets and people will retweet you more, and you'll start growing that way. But you can't worry too much about like, joke isn't good, it's going to expose me too early. Just keep trying. What? What did you say?
Did you fuck your fans?
Fuck my fans, not till way later. Not till way later.
Someone, did you ever meet Shang-Chi at all?
I don't know Shang-Chi.
He was telling me once, he's barely coming up, but he was telling me that he would fuck people he would meet, but then he's like, I can't do that, because then that's just the bitch I make angry at me, and then that loses a fan.
Oh yeah. Well, the way I started saying it was like, there's going to be a lot of fans, so it's like, whatever. If you lose 1 or 2, it's not the biggest deal. If you're doing what you want to do, like if somebody's mad at you there's 2 things too that I always did when I started. There's 2 ways to look at your stand-up. This is the kind of stand-up I do, whatever style you do, and let's say it's super dirty. That's what I always did. And I want to defend why I'm super dirty. And it's like, no, this is more real. People have those thoughts. They have thoughts of sex all the time, so I should be talking about it. But what it really was this is the kind of comedy I did, so I was justifying it by saying whatever I already do is the best way to do it. And what's a way healthier way to do it is saying, what would I value in comedy, separating myself from it, and then saying, okay, well, I'm good in those parts of it, and I'm bad in those parts. Let me find out the parts I'm bad at and make those better. Because it's not going to make you better to say what I already do is the best thing. It's going to make you better to look at where you're not good. I do this storyteller show. When I started, I was just like, it's fine. But then after 2 years of doing a new story every month, because it wasn't the intention, but I got way better at telling stories on stage. It's just from trying it and doing it over and over again. And if I looked at it honestly at myself and said, like, what's the best type of comedy? I mean, I saw Ralphie May do a story once about meeting Sam Kinison and a shitty night in the OR once. And I saw everyone just on the edge of their seat. It wasn't like it was a shitty night, everyone was bombing, but they were all so, like, in rapt attention listening to him. But I was a 17-year-old, won some contest, and Kinison was doing lines right around him. And he was like, oh, what's going on here? And it's like really weirded out by it. And everyone's paying attention. And I thought, like, that's a great way to get a crowd, like, really into what you're doing. But then I never really took that to heart. I always just said, like, no, the way I do it's the best way. It's not.
What did he do exactly to get the crowd? It just sounds like an interesting story.
Yeah, it was. It was just interesting. That's why they were listening, I think. And he said, like, you guys are a B- crowd. I'm not going to give you A+ material. I'm going to give you B+ material. And then he's like, I'll just tell you this story. And man, it was cool. Everyone was listening so hard. And that's another thing. There's no, like, is this the type of comedy you should do? Like, you need jokes. Like, why? You're just a performer on stage. So you can do whatever the fuck you want to do. If you want to bring out props, do it. Who cares?
But it's scarier, right? Because when you have jokes, like you have like that punchline to like save you.
It's way scarier to do some 9-minute long thing.
Yeah.
Because you're stuck in this path that's going nowhere. 2 minutes in, you're like, fuck, do I just bail on this whole thing? Do I eat shit for another 7 minutes? But the eating shit will make you'll find out 1 or 2 things, you'll get better, and then eventually the story won't eat shit anymore. Yeah, that's something. I should write these down. So go ahead, what are you going to ask?
I run an open mic at Stand Up Scottsdale in Phoenix, and do you think running an open mic that gets between 30 and like 50 people, like comics at it, is a positive or a negative thing, and would it be better to just host it or do a set and let other people do
You don't make enemies of your friends. The more shows you run, the more enemies you're going to make.
All right.
It's like there's almost no way around it. When Jeff Ross did The Burn, you could see him like wringing his hands over like how he can't help all his friends. And whatever line, let's say he can help 3 people, then he goes that 4th and 5th one are going to be pissed at me. And he got a lot more people on than that, you know? And he got 10, 12, 15 people, but he goes, if I got 15 on, 16th and 17th, they're going to go like, what the fuck, man? You got her on or him on and not me? And they're going to be mad at him. The more shows you run, the more people are going to be pissed at you. You're also going to have people like liking you, but I don't know what to tell you in terms of that. I don't know. Yeah.
Can I ask you some auditioning questions?
Yeah.
Do you have any tricks that you found like help you better with your auditioning?
Yeah, here's one for commercials.
Do you audition with your glasses? Because some teachers have said it turns you into like more of a character. Or...
Well, I mostly audition for commercials. I didn't get like a theatrical agent. If you can get one, get one. Those people, in terms of like you need to be friendly with your manager, that's true. They need to be like friends with you. Agents do not need to be friends with you. They just have to like you and send you out. But if they're shit, it's nice if you have a cooler one, but if you don't, that's fine. They're way more like plumbers, where like as long as they're doing a good job, you can hire them, but if they're not, then fucking get rid of them. Get somebody else. So for commercials, glasses make you more of a character. It's totally cool. Sometimes they'll tell you to take it off and take it off. Also, whenever you audition for stuff, especially commercials, if they tell you like, don't try to be funny, just do what's there, they're not talking to you. They're talking to actors. They don't know you're a comic. Be funny. You don't have to push or be needy, but if you think it would go better, something else, as long as you say, eat Dryer's ice cream, that part's fine. The rest, they don't give a fuck about. So if you have a funny way to do it, absolutely do that. They're talking to actors who are so silly and dumb that they're funny and offensive. Here's some tips, some things you guys should know. When you get to an audition and they say slate, that just means say your name. A lot of people get lost on that. They'll go, so like, wait, it just means say your name. And then there's the other thing. Somebody told me once about who I liked. The entire time you're auditioning, view it as you are on home plate, and you should do everything to within first to third base. Because if you turn this way, then they can't see your face. And even if it seems right for an audition, they're not going to get your reaction. They're not going to cast you. So like even if you're pulling up at a drive-through and you're supposed to talk to like the Jack in the Box thing, let's say you're the camera and I'm doing it this way. Instead of going like, yeah, I'll have one order of this, just fake it and go, yeah, I'll have one order. Just always be able to like get your face straight forward. If you're talking to somebody, don't look right at them. Look kind of view it as like 2 people in a car. You don't have to look at them when you're talking. You can talk and look forward. So let them see your face. Those are little tips. Yeah, first and third, and then not go below, like don't look too high or too low. Just like keep it all so you can see you. And then honestly, a lot of that shit, like I booked a lot of things because of these. And this, like they don't, acting doesn't really matter that much for commercials. Yeah.
I've heard from people that the best way to get an agent is through a referral. Would you agree with that? Or
Yeah.
what's...
The people that are getting, if you go up to an agent or manager and say, hey, you should work with me, they're just not going to. Anytime somebody asks somebody for a favor, you're like, you know what I mean? But if your friend told you like, hey, I know you're looking to get rid of that Coca-Cola, you're going to throw it out, that guy's really thirsty. You're like, oh, okay, here. Terrible example. The agents and managers gets approached a lot. So whenever people say like, can you help me? It's immediate like, leave me alone. You know? Yeah, absolutely. Your friends are a little bit higher than you, not way higher, but a little bit higher. Say, what's the deal with that? You don't even have to ask them, like, hey, can you get me a manager or agent? Just say, like, do you like your agent? I'm looking for one. And then let them say, like, well, let me call them for you. Let them say it. And some of them won't. That's okay. Then they won't. It's all right. But just let the people who are slightly above you, who have those people, know and ask them for their advice, too. Like, right when I got a commercial agent, that was the first agent I got. Somebody remind me, I'll tell you how to get one. But that was the first agent I got. But then my friend's like, hey, can you get me in there? I was like, oh, I'm not really comfortable here myself. Like, I just got in. When I started booking stuff, then for every booking I got, I could call Lauren. I could tell him, like, hey, I just booked something. Can you look at my friend? He's funny, too. Because then he would be listening to what I said. Because I'm making him money right then. But people that are way more in at their place, like I saw someone do this to Leah. They asked Chris Leah, like, how do you like your manager? He's like, well, let me call them for you. But it was somebody who was like a few steps below him, but not way below him. Someone who he could say, like, yeah, my manager would be happy to have you probably, or should be happy to have you. And then if their roster's full, they're going to say, no, I can't right now. And so that's not going to be an in. But nothing to do with you. It's just they have a full, let's say they only want 10 people and they have 10. So it's like, sorry. But just sort of put it out there for them, and they have to help you on their own. They have to come to you. Otherwise, they're not really going to be into you. A lot of people have gotten managers and stuff that just, they had to sign, like this manager had to sign them as for a favor of somebody, and then they just never work for you. And then what do you got? Say you got a manager? That's that same thing with Lulu's, with that shitty room in the valley, where it's like, just so I could say I got on there, just a spot. Just like any other shitty spot. Just booked for it. So yeah, put it out there for them, but don't worry too much about it. How long have you been doing comedy?
A little over a year.
Okay, it's super early for that.
Yeah.
Just because you don't really have anything for them to sell you on. Now you definitely do want an agent, if you can get that, and I don't really know the right way.
What about for like commercial agents?
Okay, yeah, here, thanks. There is a book at Samuel French, this yellow book that costs about $10. Samuel French is down Sunset on the north side of the street, right next to the Pikey bar, across from that 7-Eleven there, and some car dealership. Maybe Gardner, yeah, okay.
Right by Rock Paper.
Yeah, there's one in the valley too. There's another Samuel French. So they have this book in the back. It's yellow. It's the agent's book, and it'll have a list of all the agents. It's about $10. You guys can share it. You know, if you all put in $1, you can all share it because he's the only thing you need it for. You just need to go down that list of agents. Commercial agents are the ones looking because they can have like 200 people because they go by categories. So they want like 5 people that look like me, not just one. You know, and 5 tall, athletic black people, and 5 scrawny black people, and 5 models, and just for everything. They want a bunch of people. So you just go down that list and see which commercial agents will represent non-union people. It should say that in there. And then just send them out a headshot and resume. Or you find out who you know is represented there. And again, if they're not way, way above you, you can't ask Jeff Ross for help getting a commercial agent. He's just like, he's way busier than you. He doesn't know you. But the guys who do sort of know you, talk to them. It's like, you know, are you happy with the commercial? What's the deal over there? And let them offer. Or just go down that list, send out a resume and headshot, and just say, I'm looking for new commercial representation. And some of the, like, I'm talking about send to 200 of them. And 10 of them will write you back. 5 of them will write you back. And they'll take a meeting with you, and it might be 3-4 months down the line. And then you see who you mesh with, who you vibe with, and then that's it. And you got one of them. And they might never send you out an audition. But hopefully they will. But that's how you get a commercial agent. Yeah.
What's some of the names of some of the companies that work mainly with comedians? Like Aqua's and...
Aqua does a lot. Yeah, they had a lot of comedians. They also have a lot of models. But then sometimes they're like, we have enough. like lower level guys. They'll be like, we already have guys that are just coming up. We need like name guys. You know what I mean? But they all will. They all will. Some more than others, but really they all will. And if they don't, then those are the people who won't write you back. Lie in your resume a little bit. You know, tell them like that you're a legit comedian. But you don't have to say like I can do accents you can't do. You know, but just, I mean, a little bit. Just say like I perform around LA. I've been doing comedy for years. Because they also will take people that have done comedy like 5 times. They'll call themselves comics.
Does that book, the $10 yellow book, does that also include like writing agents? Would you do the same thing for that?
Ones. I think they have different ones for different things. Or you have to look when you get there. They have a manager's book, which is, I know is separate. But for the agent's book, I think it might be all the agents put together, or it might be, or let's say like, I remember like William Morris was one of the agents, and it said, only looking at union for commercial. Also, I think it said writers as well. So it just lists them all. And then it's on you to go out and seek them. No one's going to find you. No one's going to be like, you're awesome, or they're going to think you're as awesome as you do. They're just not going to find you and pluck you out, even though everybody wants that. So you got to do a little work in order for them to get you. So
like physically
like
send them like
them
your
resume
packet
headshot.
or whatever.
Yeah, it's going to cost you a little bit of money to get those headshots made up and to get them, although this might be changed too. I don't know how much people use headshots anymore. Right now, the way they use them is just online. You almost never have to actually bring headshots. So I don't know if people would even look at them that way anymore. You might not even have to get them printed up. Maybe just email them with your picture of your headshot. And then all you pay for is pictures.
It's both. I got the book. Half of them accept email submissions, half of them not email.
Really? Okay. And then share that with each other. There's no, especially at your stages, there is no competition. You guys are just being shit on left and right. You're like the lowest rung. So there's no like, oh, I'll get ahead and then he won't get ahead. It's not, you can just all get better together. A bunch of you can get represented by the same agency. We've got a bunch of you in the same category. They look almost exactly the same and get represented. It's not me or them. It's more like a candle, where it's like if you light another candle with your candle, your flame doesn't go out. You both have a flame now. It's a zero-sum cost, is what people say, where it's like, it's not like a money in my wallet where if I give you $100, I have $100 less. It's not like that. It's just like, I'll give you a job. Now we both have jobs. Yeah.
If you have an agent, but like say, like with your movie, they came to you, do you have to pay the agent still if you book it yourself?
You don't have to, but something Joy Diaz told me once is when you get an agent, if you have something on your own, is just bring it to them. You're giving up 10%, which is not a lot of money, but you're giving up 10% of this thing, which, and I'll show you a good example of this, but so let's say somebody offers you $100, or let's say $5,000 to do this thing. Just bring it to your agent and say, do the deal for me. Here's free money. And what it does is, one, it convinces them that, hey, you're working. You're somebody who has value. Because they can see you as someone who's just not doing anything. It's just an open micer, and then they don't value you. But the more you're doing stuff, this is how people get booked, too. If you just get booked on a lot of festivals and things, people, without seeing your comedy, they will just assume you're better. If you're on a show, they're like, oh, that guy must be good, because somebody else picked him. So then everybody's booking the same people. That's how shitty people get ahead. You're like, how's that person on TV 10 times? Just because they've been on TV, and nobody watched the 9 other sets. They just know they've been on this show and this show and this show. Nobody watches Conan. They just know who's been on there. So you can bomb there, and nobody gives a fuck. They're just like, oh, you did Conan, I heard. How'd it go? And you just say, great, thanks for asking. Wait, what was I just talking about right now? I wanted to finish that.
Whether or not you give them a
Oh, yeah.
percentage or you
So this is what Diaz said. Bring them something. So one, they think you're working. They think you're a professional, and you actually have worth. And two, they get embarrassed that they didn't bring it to you.
Right.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah. So it's worth the 10% of this thing, whatever it is. It's worth that to make them now, let's start going. Three, this was the thing I did when me and Kirk Fox and Ian Edwards did this Pauly Shore, some DVD, some sketch DVD. God, it was so bad. But like, so I brought it to them. They paid. I think the offer was like $1,400 to go down there for a week to Miami and shoot these things, and free hotel and per diem, $50. I'm like, great, sounded good. And I was like, I'll just bring it to these people. It's $140 that I'm giving up. I could definitely use that, but I'll just try it. And she looked over the contract, this agent or manager, whoever it was, and she goes, oh, this is wrong. This is not, they're paying you on this category, and they should be paying you for, I think, over 3 characters, whatever it was. And she goes, no, they owe you $3,500. And so then me and Ian and Kirk all got $3,500. And so then that's way worth the $120
Yeah.
we were gonna give up, and the $350 I ended up giving her was way, way worth that. So yeah, bring that shit to them, and they'll protect you. My instinct was always like, well, they didn't do this, I don't wanna give it to them, just give it to them. Let them be your partner
Yeah.
in what you're doing. And then when they're no longer pulling their weight, at some point when you get good enough to where you're like, dude, you're not pulling your weight, that's when you treat them like a plumber. You're like, if you don't fix this shit, then why am I hiring you? There's this weird thing where we all think, and at the early stages it's like this, we all think that we're getting a manager or an agent and they can fire us, they can drop us. But really, we're hiring them. We're paying them to do these things. You know, they're not paying us, but it seems like we're the ones trying to get this job. And it's only at the very beginning stages because you need somebody. But pretty soon it's like, you will get to the point of making a living, and then you can say like, well, you're not pulling your weight. There's a bunch of shitty people in this town. Managers and agents and all that sort of stuff, and producers and network people. It's a bunch of people who are just bad at their jobs. So you'll work with them. You will, and then you'll realize that, oh, you're not good at your job, and then you'll just drop them. If they just continuously bring you nothing, like, what are you doing for me? Ralphie had to drop his manager. I was in the car with him. He dropped his manager on the speakerphone, and I was quiet. But he was like, dude, you're not doing. I'm only on the road. I don't need you. I don't need to give you 10%. For this road booking stuff, when I have an agent that books me on there, I was like, I'll be happy to pay, he said, I'll be happy to pay you for like Hollywood stuff that you get me, but right now none of that's coming in, so there's no reason I'm paying 20% on this as opposed to 10. If you want to just do a deal where I can just pay you on the Hollywood stuff, we can do that. And the guy was like, well, I could never do that because that's just a bad precedent. And then Ralphie May, who makes 50 to 100 grand a week on the road, told this guy, like, okay, well then, I told you how it is, so I don't need you. I don't need someone to do nothing. So he's like, there goes your 5 to 10 grand a week. And he'll pocket that, and he should, because the guy's not doing anything for him. But the agent who's getting the road work, he'll still pay them, because they continuously get him road work. So you have to keep thinking about it.
Is there any benefit to having the same theatrical and commercial agency?
No, I think that's a detriment.
Okay.
I look at Rogan, who's with William Morris, across the board. A lot of people want to have you across the board. This is all way later stuff, by the way. Somebody told me this advice once, Dave Rath told me this, where it's like at the early stages, you don't want a manager. You want anybody helping you who can help you. So unless some manager's really going to work hard for you, it's not going to be good for you just to have this one guy being the only guy that can help. Because if he's not working at it, then you won't get anything. Be friends with all those people. I got an audition for Punk'd once, because I saw the girl who was auditioning people for it. She was here one night. Not looking at people or looking at someone else. What was her name? Fuck, I think Nick Yusuf is working with her now, or somebody is. But just saw her. I was like, oh, how you doing? How you been? That's it. I met her on an audition for Punk'd. And she was around here or there, and I just talked to her a little bit. Totally fine. Punk'd was done. Didn't want anything from her, just friendly in the front. And then next day or 2 days later, I got an audition for her for casting something else. I wasn't pushing for that. It was just another person that was like, oh yeah, that guy, he's nice, and he'd be right for this. Just because you see them. That's what I mean when I talk to people and be friendly with people. Those would be the ones who have you in mind. Not like they're gonna like pay you back for being friends with them, but they'll want to help you. So with managers too, it's like just be nice to all of them and let all of them think of you for some low-level thing. You know, if it's a star of a show, they're not calling you. They're calling Sarah Silverman or someone like that. But if it's just some small thing, maybe they'll call you. Be friendly with them. Be around them at all times. Yeah.
Do you do you have to keep I know you like change your appearance sometimes and shave your beard and stuff. Do your agents get mad at you because you're not the same as your headshots when you do that?
Yeah, occasionally casting directors will. Although I've had someone say this, like, they wouldn't have brought me in if they knew that it was like my beard was real long, my hair was real long. She's like, you're not the category anymore. This was office professional, and this is just not you. I'm not mad at you for looking like this, but you got to get new headshots. So yeah, they'll get mad here or there. Fuck it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't who cares? Just be funny. That's what you should be worrying about. I mean, obviously, don't shave your head right before you shoot your first TV show, or I try not to cut my beard too much, like in between auditions and callbacks. But once I know I don't have any callbacks that still might be coming, then do whatever you want.
Right.
Yeah.
I had a question about like you were talking about this kind of like weird people who worry about that don't do their jobs well, kind of like show idea theft. I was talking with the general manager of our club, and we were just going over writing stuff, and I pitched her this treatment idea that I had for something. She actually thought it was really surprising really well, and she told me, she's like, I'd like to get you in touch with somebody. They're going to come, and I guess they're connected with some big production company. She told me to look up the name and just take a look at it, see if I think it's interesting and if I could talk to someone. And the first thing I did when I looked up the name was it wasn't recognizable production company, but the first 3 things I saw were there in 3 different lawsuits, kind of showing some
Oh,
kind
really?
of like hesitant. So what would you go about if you were to meet with someone?
Oh, it's the only person helping you?
How to
It's
protect
like,
your idea though, like to make
Oh,
sure you
right.
pitch it and you don't want to like pitch it to them like, yeah, well, we're gonna pass, and then it gets
and
stripped
take
away
it,
from
well,
you.
if you register it, that'll help that.
Like, what's the quickest? I mean, like,
Writers Guild of America, Writers Guild East or Writers Guild West. It doesn't really matter.
do you have to be in the union to
So
register?
the way it was when I was in college, it was $17. You could register a script for, I think, 15 years,
Same treatments and stuff.
probably. Now, some of them, you'd be surprised how you really can't copyright like an idea of like doing a reality show with comics. Let's just say, like, that's not, no one's,
Yeah, no,
like,
like-
people just have that idea.
I mean, if there was like a full treatment
Yeah.
for.
You protect yourself with that, but then again, it's like, also think of it as like your ideas now are probably not gonna be as good as you think they are. So don't worry about someone stealing it. Just go forward with it. Try to just push and keep moving and don't like let that hamstring you at all. Fucking, what's his name? Steve Pearl would always talk about how Robin Williams stole his act. Robin Williams stole his act. That's all he would say. And all these people would say about Robin Williams stole their act. But all these other people wrote new acts, and Steve Pearl just stayed complaining about it. And now he's just a joke. So it's like, adversity is going to happen. That's another thing to tell you guys. There's always going to be someone who gets it easier than you. Do not compare yourself to them. Everyone's on a different road. So if you compare yourself to somebody who's making it right away, you're just going to be fucked. There's going to be so much unfairness here. Because it's not just about who's the funniest on stage. I mean, you've seen television and movies. They put attractive people on there. Most comics are fucking trolls. So, like, we're behind the 8 ball that way. And you want to say, like, well, I'm funnier than that guy. Well, guess what? It's not about that. We have this guy here named Peter Chen, this awful, awful Asian comic. And he would complain that people got spots and he didn't, because he had been here 10 years. And I was like, yeah, stuff, I know. Bob Oshak never gets spots either, barely ever gets spots. He goes, no, but he's only been here 8 years. I've been here 10. And I was like, oh, dude, it's not about that. It's not about who's been here the longest. People just want to take their own like category and say, this is why I'm deserving of whatever. Who cares? Just move on. There's going to be hurdles. Some people their parents didn't pay for college. Mine paid for as much as they could, and I got jobs for the rest. It's like, you can say like, well, I have to pay for college, and you don't have to get a job like I do, so it's harder for me. Yeah, so it's harder for you. So you're going to quit? That's not a reason to not do anything. So if somebody steals your shit, it's like, yeah, it sucks, and you can complain about it, but complain about it as you're moving forward. There are going to be people who have it way easier than you. I was dating a female comic. We passed by the open mic out here once, and she goes, why are they all lined up out there? And I was like, because they can't just get in a spot because they're pretty. It was so frustrating. How many women are here right now? Is it close to 0? They're going to have it easier than you do. Because they're pretty, and because people in the back of their heads want to sleep with them a little bit. Okay? That's not...
on the podcast. But in commercials, it's not.
Commercials, they don't have that.
Every guy's different,
yeah.
but the girls all look the same.
In commercials, it's bad. You have to be super hot. That's when it's the best time to hit on hot girls, when they're at a hot girl audition. They're really vulnerable. But like, yeah, it's easier for women. That girl never had to fucking wait in line here. She would just have people put her on. And it was like, that sucks. But that, for me, complaining about her being able to get on places was not going to get me on places. It was not going to do what I wanted it to do, which was get on. So, yeah, everyone has their own hurdle. Like, maybe you have depression, or someone else, can't, whatever reason they can't write, but it's because their parents they have to work a lot, and they're too tired. When I had day jobs, I couldn't get up on Wednesdays. I was just too exhausted. I would do my day job, I would come in here, I would go to the back there and sleep for an hour, call the phone guy and say, hey, there used to be a phone back there, and like, call me at exactly, 8:22, if I could just get up and go straight to the cover booth, work there until 2 a.m., then go to sleep. And by Wednesday, I was just exhausted. I would finish work at 6 o'clock, and I would just go to sleep. And it's like, yeah, it's a lot. Aaron Cater had it easier. His parents bought him a car every year. And that was way easier. But that doesn't do anything for me. Like, see what your end results are, and like, what is going to get you there. So TV, managers, those things might help you. But if they're not going to be a fucking help to you, then whatever. Then keep moving forward. Just, it's the tendency is to complain about everything that holds you back. That's just, I did it too. But it's not helping you. Yeah, if Montreal, at the comedy festivals, like, oh, they're not, they're only seeing people with managers, like, oh, well, that sucks. And if you could all use that to get ahead. But if it's not there, then it's not there. There must be some other way in. Let me see some of the stuff that I wanted to say. How do you get a manager? We talked about that a little bit, right? That's another thing. What do you have for them to manage? If you don't have anything, then what's the point? Oh yeah, if you talk, be the guy people want to work with. If you talk to these people at the Improv, the UCB, at Nerd Melt, whatever, like, that's what Bobby Lee told me once about commercial acting, because he used to get a lot of them. He goes, just be the guy they want to invite to their Christmas party. Anybody can reach into a fucking cooler and be like, oh, Bud Light. Anyone can do that. It's so fucking easy. They spend weeks looking for the right person, but guess what? If you're on your way to a fucking shoot, and it's in Valencia, okay, and you get a flat tire, or your car, and you just can't get there, they're just going to look at the grips and go like, you're in. And that's it, because anyone can do it. So just be the person they want to work with at almost every stage. At commercial auditions, like beforehand, if the directors and the casting and the people and all the agencies all there, say something, you can book stuff before you start the audition. Be cool and friendly. It's tough because you're going to be really nervous. Whitney said she used to always take this thing called beta blockers. What?
For your heart?
Maybe it's not that. It blocks adrenaline, yeah. I don't know what dosage she put it on. Bobby started doing it too, I think. But, because you get nervous. You guys probably still get nervous on stage a lot, right?
Yes.
That stuff holds you back. So the more comfortable you can get on stage, the less nervous you are. I performed last night, this is not to brag, but I performed in front of 6,000 people last night. This is gigantic, by far the biggest show I've ever done. By like 2,500. But I realized it afterwards, like I wasn't nervous. I was a little nervous, like excited, like anxious to get on, like beforehand. But then I was on, it was no like, my hands weren't trembling, I wasn't like talking too fast, which is what I used to do when I was nervous. It was just like, oh, whatever. Only experience will get you there. Those beta blockers might be a good help, but anything that limits the amount of nerves you have is better, because then you can be the funny person you are. That's probably the only thing holding you back on stage now, is your nerves, is not allowing yourself to fail freely. When you know you're funny, when Bobby Lee goes to an audition, he knows what he does. He knows where his jokes are going to come from. Not like he hasn't planned them all out ahead of time, but he just has that comfort. Pat Oswalt said this about Zach Galifianakis once, that he has, more than anyone he has ever seen, he has an understanding of his own style of comedy. Zach knows what he does. He might not be able to write out every word and describe everything, but he knows what kind of comedy he's into and how it would be funny to like look someone like this close to their face or whatever he does. He just knows. And he trusts himself because he's not nervous anymore. So if you go into these places, if you meet a manager and agent, try not to be nervous about them. Just try to like forget who they are and just think of them as another comic. It's tough because they're a lot older than you now, but at some point they're going to be the same age as you, and then later they're going to be younger than you, which I haven't really gotten yet a lot, but a little bit, and then they're going to look up to you because you're just going to have been around. You're going to have developed something for 10 years, and you're going to be pretty good. You're not there yet. I know the tendency is to want this all right now, but really enjoy the fucking road. That's what Ralphie said. This time is all just fun. Just really have fun with this. Just going to open mics and then going to fucking Jerry's afterwards and just talking with a bunch of comics, that shit goes away after a while. And then everyone comes here, they do their spot, and they leave. They go back to their fucking wives and children. And it's like, you don't get to... Mitzi said this once. We all had a meeting upstairs, and she goes, they used to pay the comics in cash. $15, $50, whatever it was. Back then. She goes, yeah, we used to pay them in cash. They would spend it right there on cocaine. The drug dealers would hang out. They would just trade their money before getting... She goes, and then she goes, now everybody just goes home and watches TV. Like she was bemoaning the fact that they're not doing coke. But it really is because it was the social part of it, where everyone's out and friendly, and like that part is like that. You're not gonna ever have that like you guys do right now. It's like telling fucking high schoolers, I know you're not gonna take this to heart. It's like telling high schoolers like you guys have it easy, but you know they do now, right? You know when you're in 6th grade how fucking easy you had that. But at the time you're like, this sucks. You do math homework. Like, you get recess. You don't ever have that again, but your experience is so limited. You guys are having a great time now, so really enjoy it and just try to get better. And at some point, you will start seeing people taking you seriously as you start getting better. And then later, you ever see somebody who was a fucking worthless cunt, man or woman, just an awful bitter person, and then they sort of get nicer. It takes a few years for everyone to catch up to that. They want to be like, well, I'm nicer now. Everyone should know that. It's like, well, you were an asshole for 5 years. And if you're nice for 2 weeks, we'll still see you as an asshole. But after 2 or 3 years, and compare this to your open mic level of comedy, that's the asshole cunt. After a few years of not being asshole, people start going like, you know, they've been actually pretty cool lately. And new people come in that only know you as cool people, and then the tide will change, and people won't see you as an asshole anymore. It's the same thing with your comedy. You guys aren't technically sound yet, but you will be. Some of you at different levels than others, and then people will start seeing you for what you are, as like talented artists. The fact that you want to do this means like you have something worth offering. Oh, here's another thing. There's no such thing as making it. That idea that we all had, that like, well, you gotta make it how long until it takes to make it. What is making it? You guys have all heard that, right? But what do you think making it means? What do you think making it is?
Earning a living.
Earning a living. That's a good one. That's a solid one. I used to say, like, if I could just be Argus Campbell, if I just make 60 grand a year doing comedy, like, that'd be a win. But eventually, you're not going to be happy with that. Shandling, I always heard, was really bitter that he wasn't Jerry Seinfeld. And he had a great career. He was a funny stand-up. He had 2 really amazing shows. And just jealous that he's not Jerry Seinfeld. Like, you never really ever feel that you made it. Let's say you're on a sitcom, you're the lead of a sitcom. That seems like making it. But there's a bunch of those people that I later saw 10 years later in commercial auditions with me, and I feel bad for them. I'm like, what happened to you? You were like a guy. It was known. You were on some show for like 5 years. Well, that goes away. It just becomes a job. Writers always trying to get on writing staff. It's like, that'll be me making it. But really, I've seen these writers. It's just a job to them. Like the guys who joke write for The Burn and for Jeselnik's show and for all these other roasts and all these other things, they're just looking to get their next job. They're doing this job for a while. They're getting paid as much money as they can, $3,500 or more a week, and then they go home to their wives, and then that job ends for the summer or whatever. And now they're out of a job. They got to find another job. There's no making it. Even if Brad Pitt, obviously he's made it. But like at what stage did he make it? When he got Thelma and Louise and he just had like a breakout role in that? No, he still needed to get his next thing. There's no real line of like making it, and it all goes downhill. Who's that guy from Heathers? The movie Heathers. Christian Slater. Yeah, he made it, and then he was a nobody for about 10 years, and he couldn't get a job. And what? Travolta's another one, yeah. And now they're back to having made it, but there's no making it. They're just like getting jobs from people, so you can earn a living doing the thing you want to do. Hopefully it'll be good. Like I said, Aziz Ansari makes a lot more for his dick jokes than we will. But we're all just trying to do the same thing. We're just trying to make a good joke. And hopefully, you win the lottery and you get paid a shitload for it. But like, there's no such thing as making it. You just keep going. You just keep going until you're fucking out. Until you're selling mattresses somewhere. Because it couldn't go on anymore.
Yeah,
at some point, it's so easy right now to be broke. When you hit like 45, 50, you can't stay in youth hostels anymore. It just doesn't feel right anymore. So fucking be broke now while you can. Like do it now. Like have your roommates and do whatever and eat shit, eat awful food. Like it's okay, but just work on getting better. And then making it, like you said, will just be that you will continue to earn a living and continue to be able to do this. Because at some point, the drags of like family, and I haven't gotten it yet, luckily, but the drags of family and responsibility will weigh on you. And your parents will start going like, how much longer are you going to do that? And you start feeling it. Somebody's going to offer you a job, like a legitimate regular job. It doesn't sound that bad. And you're either going to take it and be out of, Hollywood and stand up, or you're not going to take it, you're going to stay in it. So my feeling is, as long as you can stay in it, then that's a win. Yeah.
At one point when you make like the money where you think you have made it, like what consistently would you hit a peak of money where you would just get a financial advisor and hopefully be able to coast if you don't get the next
Oh
job?
yeah, I don't know, what is it?
Standard money, because I know like
I always said if I made like $1 million, you can get like a CD that paid 3% a year. You can get like 30 grand a year off that. I'm like, that'd be enough, 30 grand a year. But then the problem is, you wouldn't just live off 30 grand a year if you had $1 million in the bank. You wouldn't do it. So everybody coming up, when I booked my first commercial, all these people told me like, oh, you should get a car now. I was like, what? They're like, yeah, spend it on yourself. But I met some guy in my apartment building. He's like, oh, cool, a commercial. Yeah, I used to do that. I work at a liquor store now. I sell fine wines. And it was like, oh. So you gotta, like, in between the first and the second one, or the second one and the third one, you gotta, like, coast off whatever money. So fucking save it until you're making shitloads. Like, save it. Because once you're out of money, then you're back in a job. Jamie.
Yeah, so like...
This is a question about penises?
Like, regardless of how much money you make off of, like, commercial work or TV or, like, road work, like, do you have to set aside a certain amount
Oh.
How does it work for?
Oh yeah, for independent contractor stuff. If you ever get a commercial or a sitcom or anything like that, what I do is I fill out to have on the taxes, take out the maximum they're allowed, just because I don't want to get stuck at the end of the year having to pay like $1,000, you know, that I've spent because I was like, yeah, I got whatever I got, so I can spend all this. I'd rather than take out a bunch and then just get $100 back at the end of the year, you know. But for stand-up work, that's all independent, so you got to pay all that. And you can hide it, but who's the guy from Blade?
Wesley Snipes.
Yeah, he didn't pay it.
There's a lot of comics get paid in cash, like, like that's in their contract.
If you can get paid for cash and not sign any paperwork, do that every time. But if you sign paperwork, you're going to owe money on that. If you get shitty, skeevy club owners who are like, how about I just pay you off the books, you don't sign anything? Fuck yeah, both of you take the benefit from that.
I usually claim enough stand-up income every year that I write off a shitload of stuff.
Oh yeah, you can definitely write off a lot. Your apartment, talk to
Cable
your tax
TV.
guy. You can write off your apartment, you can write off your car and all your gas, definitely. Every plane trip you take.
Internet, cell phone.
Some of it, that's where you do your work. You do your writing there.
Internet,
Not all of it, but some of
TV.
it. What? TV, absolutely. Any movie you go to, those are, here's what I did. I don't know how easy this is, but I got a second credit card. Or I have a debit card for my spending cash for just meals and stuff. And then a separate card where I say anything here will be tax deductible. And then at the end of the year I pay $5 or $10 and they give you a year-end summary. And it just shows you all the stuff. So you like travel, it'll show you all the fucking flights. Anywhere I'm on the road, if I'm out of LA, that's all deductible stuff. So if you get somebody, even if you're opening for somebody, making $50 a show, making $250 for the week, and you spend a lot more than that, just, you're a comic, so you can deduct all this stuff from your other income because you're a comic. You know, even if you're not making money at that, it's overall, like all these jobs lead to your total income, so you can deduct all of them. So if you're in Texas, on any sort of trip, anything you buy at a comedy club, that's all deductible. So that's what I do, is I use that second credit card just for that, so I don't have to keep receipts and shit. But absolutely, take all that stuff off. Rent your phone, you have to use. Any headshots you get, clothes, that's all wardrobe. If you might wear it in an audition, that's wardrobe.
So you pay like your
I'm assuming
phone
most
bill?
of you guys are poor and can't go shopping a lot. But if you do get a shirt at a thrift store or whatever, that's fucking wardrobe. Yeah.
When do you recommend incorporating stuff?
I don't know. I haven't done it. Honestly, that's like a 2 or 3% difference from what I gather. It's like when you're dealing in millions, it's like a large amount of money, but percentage difference is like not really worth. When you have a business manager, you can get into that, but that's like 6, 7, 8 years away. That's a sitcom away. That's like major money away. Yeah.
I have a question about you don't. Oh, sorry.
Oh, just
No,
can you
sorry.
deduct weed
What?
as well?
Do what?
Deduct weed.
As you can, I think that they said was last year, they said you can start deducting his medical expenses. Yeah, because the state of California, not in your federal taxes, but on your state taxes, that California views it as medicine, and you can deduct. I can deduct my depression medication. It should be the same as that. Tell your tax guy. Tell like these are my medical expenses. Like, can I deduct? You're not getting over on them, you know. So they'll just help you deduct as much as you can. But yeah, if you save your receipts, that's medicine. That's how they view it. They don't view it as recreational. You can't deduct it in Washington State. Oh, look who gets up as soon as I mention weed. What?
What do you think about like union or versus non-union?
Stay non-union for a while because that lets you do both. And then when you have to join the union, join up. When they say, in that agent book, when they say only looking for union people, only looking for, both, they say only union just to weed out the fucking boonshaka lockers of the world. You know what I mean? Because, like, if you're union, you probably are at some level. They don't know you individually, but they figure you're at some level. You know, if I say I'm a paid regular at the Comedy Store, that puts me in, if nobody knows who I am, that puts me in some sort of category. It narrows it down a little bit. So if you can get a union, if you're trying to get an agent still, then yeah, but if you're not, then it doesn't matter. You can still get a job. They'll just write you in. They'll pay a little fine. The company, if they really want you, they won't care. But that's the agent's way of not looking at people that are homeless. Because like we'll just weed those out. What?
Someone was telling me once that when you write off like travel, like gas expenses, is there a difference like money-wise going by the mile or versus like a receipt where you spent $30 on gas?
Yeah, I don't know. That's all tax guy stuff. But I know that stuff is deductible. So keep them all, like your telephone, absolutely your cell phone. It's the only thing you're doing business on is your cell phone. And he'll tell you what percentage you can take off from that.
You don't have to make like a TV log of like the things that you watch or anything like that?
No, just your cable. I mean, honestly, if you're only watching Game of Thrones because you're trying to write some, ye old show, but you still got to pay for all of HBO. So it's, how much is it, $30 a month? 50, whatever HBO is. Like, you can deduct the whole thing. Yeah, absolutely every movie you watch. And then sometimes if you go to dinner with like friends, you can count that, but now you might be deducting more than you have. Boom, boom, got that. What were you going to say?
So I don't know how much you might know about this, but since you said the game's kind of changing, there's been a few comics that have jumped the ship from getting albums out on Comedy Central and comedy labels to Eric Griffin's on Side One Dummy, which is a punk rock label that I used to listen to when I was in high school. Yeah. Dave Cross was on Sub Pop, and these are indie labels that already have a precedent of a booking agency that can put you on the road. It might not put you in a comedy club, but it'll put you in an 18 or over venue. Right. And they also cut 50-50 deals where they're going to give you your merch, they're going to put out your CD, but you're basically cutting it in half. Like, they're going to put you on the road. Yeah. Anything you sell and you make, half goes to the label, half goes to you. Is that like a good spot to start
Any merch you sell?
Huh?
Any merch you sell goes to them?
Any merch you sell, because they buy your merch outright, so you don't have to pay for it. And when you're on the road, you're basically getting all your merch for free. You just get to keep half of what you sell. Oh, well, that's nice. They pay production costs. I mean, look at each one and see if it seems fair or not. But I mean, is that a good like start out to like, okay, I'm on this little indie label that'll get me a little like punk rock scene.
The labels don't really get you that much exposure anymore. So like with all these people, with managers too, when you meet with them, you can ask them at the labels to anything, just like, what are you going to do for me? That's what I mean. Like, don't look at it in terms of like they're hiring you. Look at them as a plumber. So like, what are you going to do, and how much money are you going to take to do it? You know, that's what you would see with someone fixing your sink. So managers and agents, those guys, same thing. Like, okay, well, are you going to print all that stuff up for me? Okay, well, that saves me this much in upfront costs, which you need probably if you're poor. You know, depends what they're going to do. Like Louis C.K. wanted to sell his special after it was on HBO. He wanted to sell it online for $5 afterwards, and HBO was like, no. And he goes, okay, well, I just won't do it this way. And then he just decided what I want, what he doesn't want, what he can live with. And then eventually HBO was like, well, we really want you to do it. So, okay, we'll let you do it. They wouldn't let me do that. They wouldn't let you do that. So, I mean, see what's necessary for you and just be able to walk away from something you don't want. Not about like, come on, please be better. It's like a cheating girlfriend. You can have her not be cheating all you want. You can want her not to be that, but that's what she is. So, like, it's just like, deal with it. Do you want this or not? Based on this now, that she might fuck your brother. Do you now still want to go out with her or not? So this guy offers you this much as a manager. He's like, I want to get you into these places and these places. And ask him, like, well, how do you plan to do that? What do you need from me? Where do you see me going in the next 5 years? This is what I want to do. Can you get me there? How specifically can you get me there? Talk to them. And if it's really, you don't find it like something you want to do, then just fucking say, well, thank you, and that's it. It's not going to help you. You know? Here's a couple more things. Don't bother people. Got to that. Oh, here's one. That nobody's going to fucking help you along the way and tell you what you need to do. Just seemed like they were going to. But like, you know how there's a difference between grade school, how much your teachers coddled you, and then high school, where it's more like you're on your own. And then if you went to college, even more, the teachers, like, they didn't give a fuck. They're like, papers due on Tuesday at, 3 p.m. Either have it or don't. I don't care. And people fail out. It's even worse in comedy. No one's going to tell you what to do. No one's going to, like, help you and say you need to be doing this. If you get a good manager, they might, like, stick on you, but that's really just to bother you. But look at guys like Aziz. Everyone, when he sold 3 scripts to, Judd Apatow. And a lot of my friends are like, fucking Aziz, how did he sell that? Oh, it's just because he's brown. I'm like, well, you know what he did that we didn't do? He wrote 3 scripts. Yeah. So, like, what are you complaining about? You've never even done anything. You couldn't be in that position. My roommate, when I moved out here, he wanted to be a screenwriter. He told everybody he was a writer. He'd never written shit. He'd written 12 pages. And, like, he's waiting for this opportunity for someone just to come and, like, snatch him up. Like, he's waiting to get into a cab. And at the same time, Steven Spielberg gets in the back the other way. And like, oh, we'll share it. And they start talking, and he'll be like, what do you do? I'm a screenwriter. Oh, I'd love to see what you have. Oh, you have nothing. So even if you had that magical moment, you still have nothing to give him. So just get shit done. Like, no one's going to tell you to do it. If you were in that moment, Steven Spielberg, and you go like, oh, I don't have anything yet, but it'll be done like in a month. He'll be like, oh, okay, well, cool, here's a fake number. Call me when you're fucking asked something. He's never going to help you. You just have to do it on your own. You will fail to the bottom and do nothing. Here's the deal. Comedy is so easy. In terms of the amount of work you have to put in, let's all be honest with ourselves.
Yep.
What do we work? 10 minutes a day besides getting on stage? Not kind of like going down to an open mic. Like actual writing and sitting there working. Like legitimately. I tried to write once for an hour a day and I couldn't do that. People work for 8 hours a day in real jobs. Some of you do. It's like that we can't put in a little extra time is embarrassing. But it's also nice because if we do just put in half an hour a day, we're way ahead of everybody else. Because nobody's working hard at all. So just work a little bit. No one's going to get on you. We're all want to party and have fun and have time with our friends. That's all sweet. That's all great. And it's fun to be at open mics and talk to people. But it's like, work. Do something. Make yourself do something. It's not like hard work will pay off, because I don't think it will. It's not a one-to-one. Hard work will not equal paying off. But you can do a little bit of work and start getting ahead. None of us do it. Jeff Ross does a lot of work putting a show together. Most of us just go on stage, and then the rest, like, I'll think of a joke in my car. So you can be way ahead of that if you just do yourself a little bit. This is something Dave Moyen said once, and I liked it a lot. And it helped me a lot. For when I did it, it helped me so much. He was in the back there, and he asked, well, he's talking to someone else, but I just sort of joined in the conversation. But that same thing where I just sort of like, you know, he knows that girl, and I knew that girl, so I just sort of sat there talking with him, but not actually jumping in until, you know, he called on me. But they were like, how much do you stand up? And I was like, you know, every night, but mostly just open mics. And he's like, why do you say it like that? Like, it's that embarrassing. I was like, you know, they're shitty. And he goes, I know. He goes, I did them for 4 years. They're awful. But, like, that's what you have to do. So this is what he told me. He goes, if you can, every morning, if you can take 10 minutes, just 10 minutes out of your day in the morning, before you drink coffee or whatever it is, and just write. And he said, set an alarm. If you have an iPhone, have the countdown for 11 minutes, start it, and then, like, go in front of your computer. So just 10 minutes. And at the end of the 10 minutes, just stop. And get up and go do your work for the day. Go to your job, do whatever. He said 2 things. One, almost everyone can spare 10 minutes. That's just taking a quicker shower, you know, doing something less, not stopping for donuts on the way, whatever it is, you can spare 10 minutes. But 2, one, it'll get your mind moving to something. Just freestyle. Don't worry about, like, what I got to write something good. Just continuously write for 10 minutes. And he goes, you'll come onto something, and at the end of the 10 minutes, you'll still have a thought that's not completed. Like mid-word, you can stop. And then the rest of the day, you'll be thinking, you'll be writing in your head of, like, that thought. But it just gets you going. Because nothing gets you going. I knew this guy used to be a door guy. He wasn't on stage ever. And he goes, I'm waiting to write some good new joke, then I'll get on stage. And then 5 years passed. And he's waiting for a new joke. Just get on stage, and you'll force yourself to write a new joke. Yeah, just do a little bit of work. Just a little. You're never going to reach the levels, I'll get to you next. You're never going to reach the levels that fucking Whitney is. The amount of work she does, we're not going to be there. She's not mortal that way. She works so fucking hard. But just a little bit, and you're way ahead of the curve. Most people, when I was doing open mics here, most people were getting on like 2 or 3 times a week. And if you got on 5 or 6 or 7, you're way ahead of people. And there's always room for improvement. Everybody can work harder, but you know, you're not going to. Let's be honest, you're going to enjoy yourself a little bit. Just put a little time in. Meet with your friends and just try to write a script. You know, you'll get better at it by having done it. It won't go anywhere. Just know it won't go anywhere. This is a quote that I love by Ernest Hemingway. It says, the first draft of anything is shit. And if you just go into things with that attitude of like, what I'm making right now is probably not going to be good, but it'll get me to a place where I'll be making good things. Just like when you pick up a basketball for the first time or a golf club. Tiger Woods was not Tiger Woods when he picked up a golf club. He was 2. He couldn't hit that well. He was sucky at golf. But he's not going to be like, well, I'm good. I should be on the PGA Tour. He waited 18 years. And then he got on. What were you going to say?
You were touching on writing 10 minutes a day. Say you do that and then you write something that you feel is good and you want to go and take it on stage. How long do you usually wait, or do you think an appropriate amount of time is to wait from the moment you think of something?
I don't think, this is the kind of stuff that I mean when I turn to, like, there's some people don't think that any advice to new comics, this is one of those things, where it's like you feel what feels right to you. Everyone's got a different thing, and every joke has a different amount. There's no, like, set time. There's some things I'll toss around in my head for years. And I'm just like, it's not funny, but I know there's something there. And there's some stuff where it's like, you know, that you've done on the way to whatever open mic, you thought of something. And you try it and it works. Other times it doesn't work. Just try shit and get better. If you view it, I feel like if you view it as just like, this is just a means to an end, just to get better at stand-up or writing or producing something, some short, just getting comedy out there. That's what you want to do. And you'll get better at it in every form. Take different, that's what Marin said, that's why I agree with it. It's like, don't just do stand-up. Just see how many different ways there are to get a joke out. There's tons of different ways. You know, just like you can be a prop comic and get a joke out about George Bush, or you can be like a political comic, or you can do black comedy, or you can do alternative comedy. That's all, you can make the same pretty much joke about George Bush. But you come to it from different ways. Or you can write a fucking, like Jonathan Swift did. He wrote stuff about how you should eat the poor, and that would solve the poverty issue. And that's not real, but that's the way he did it. A comic could do that same thing in a stand-up line instead of in an essay. Or someone could do that in a movie. Yeah. So yeah, there's no exact right time. Just try it when you want to try it. And also know this, if you're in front of someone important, that's not the time to work out new stuff. If you're in front of Jamie Masada for the first time, or whatever important is to you, that also means like your parents, who are either going to continue to support you emotionally or not, because you're going to fucking bomb in front of them. It's going to be tough for them to say like, yeah, you should stick with this dream if you're terrible in front of them. So those are important sets too. You know, and that's when you whip out all your A stuff and just try to like take the reins off and just unload for those important sets. Every other time, it's like you're just getting better, so it's okay if you fail. If you look at it that way, then it doesn't matter. What's up, Shoes? Once I started looking at jokes of like, I'll just bomb with a new joke, and I have to do this like 5 or 6 times, and that's the way the joke gets better. Once I started looking at it like that, then it became easier to bomb. Because then it's like, this is just going to get me there, so it doesn't hurt as much. The agents we got to, modeling.
I got another question.
Yeah.
Have some, run the darker jokes.
Yeah.
And like, when they work well. But I know that I could make it less edgy but more palatable.
Yeah.
So does it help me to compromise in that sense? Do something that, like, although I know it's going to get bigger, it's going to get more people laughing?
I know Dennis Miller said he was never going to, when I remember this from high school, he said he wasn't going to dumb down his jokes just for the sake of a crowd. This is when people still respected Dennis Miller. What? Yeah, he did dumb down his life. This is when people still liked him when he was still, like, up there. The darker stuff is harder to get to people, especially when it's not funny. When it's not funny and dark or dirty, it's offensive to people. They get uncomfortable. If you just do a joke about lollipops that isn't funny, they'll just sit there in silence, and they won't be like, ugh, they won't feel weird. But if you do a joke about black people, everyone immediately is like, uh-oh, where are you going to go with this? So if it's not, if all your T's aren't crossed, your I's aren't dotted, like you don't have everything completely like justified by your jokes, then it's going to bomb way harder.
Like I've done it like it'd be like a longer day. I've done it 2 nights in a row, pretty much the exact same.
Well, every crowd is different, definitely.
So I mean, does it help me if I make it?
Well, let's imagine like a reference joke, where you can have a joke about. Do you guys know who the band Alt J is?
Yeah.
Okay, they're a new band. I haven't listened to it yet. I downloaded it. I haven't listened to it yet. Illegally downloaded it. And you can make a joke about them based on something they do. Like, oh yeah, that's like the lead singer of Alt J, you know, seeing a horse. And if everyone in a cool hipster room might know what that meant, but everyone who doesn't wouldn't know. So it's like, do you dumb down that reference, or you just leave it as is? And you can dumb it down to, it's like a needy singer coming in contact with a farm animal, you know? That's not a joke, but like, you know, like something like that. So now everybody can get it. So you have to decide what's the line of how much you change. Like English comics, they don't start saying elevator, they just continue to say lift. And they'll say, you'll pretty much get it, so it's fine. So yeah, you gotta think about it. But I will tell you this, I had that same theory that I was like, well, my jokes are just too dark for people. But really what it was is that my jokes weren't good enough. And an unformed, dirty joke or dark joke is way harder on people than an unformed, clean joke.
But it's also sometimes I can see like they're laughing to themselves. Too. So I know that it's getting to them. But
yeah, every crowd's different. Some crowds are more boisterous.
Or if it's.
Yeah, you got to do it a lot of times before you really start figuring it out. You know, you need enough data points. So if you have like 5 crowds, that's not really going to do it in terms of like, oh, this joke is good or that joke isn't good. I hate when people, like industry people say that. They're like, here's why that material didn't work, because this joke is too dark, or this joke, I was like, no, it's because I didn't connect with the audience.
Right.
Like, you didn't see me kill with it yesterday. And that's what I mean when people say, like, I can tell even when there's a bad crowd. No, you can't. No, you can't, because I can't. And I've seen hundreds of hours of stand-up comedy, and I can't. If there's a shitty room where everybody's bombing, I'm going to think you're bad. And if it's a great crowd and you're a bad comic and you're killing, I'm going to think you're pretty good. That's just the way it is. So if you have 5 sets to decide if this joke is good or bad, it's like that's putting a lot of pressure on the people in those 5 rooms. You know, but 100 times, 200 times, now you can start getting more of an idea of like, oh, this joke is good or bad. I remember I was up there once and I did some joke about anorexia. The first joke, one of the first jokes I had that worked well. It was, how do you kill an anorexic person? You tell her, if you lost like 5 more pounds, you'd be beautiful. And it always got a good response. Like, it was pretty consistently getting a good response. And I did it up there, and some girl's like, that's not funny. It was like 6 people in the audience, and then for the first time I was like, oh, it is funny. That's already been decided by fucking multiple crowds. It's fun. I might not have done it right tonight. I might have seen too much of a scowl on my face, but this joke, you can't fuck with a joke. You're fucking with me only. The joke is a proven winner. So maybe you had a sister that had anorexia and you don't like it, or you had anorexia and you don't like it, but the joke is fine. So a lot of it's just the type of crowd, or maybe the way you delivered it. There's that too. If I'm way tired, I'm not delivering my jokes as well as if I'm like fully rested. So you want to be like, well, this joke works, what's wrong with you? But really it's like, I'm not pausing the right amount of time. I'm not smiling right. Sebastian got a lot better when he learned how to smile a little bit. Not make people think he was like super angry all the time. You know, he would get up on stage in the beginning, he goes, the week I had today. And he would just start this angry, like, and then he realized he could just be like, I'm not really that angry. Just a little bit of a smile, and everyone like would put themselves at ease. That's the technical stuff I'm talking about too. Like, those are the things you learn, like little smirks that can like make a crowd be okay with you. You will learn that over time. It will become innate, where you can't even describe it. You just know it.
Jesselnick put a video on YouTube of him like eating a dick in Michigan, I think, like doing like some of his best jokes.
Yeah.
And just bombing, and then it interviews him afterwards, and it's the same thing. It's like he knows these jokes are good because he's done them hundreds of times,
Yeah.
but that audience wasn't really...
Yeah, Dice did that after his big album. He went in and recorded The Day the Laughter Died. Just did it at a regular show, a pop-in set, that he was like, turn the mics on, turn the audience mics on too, we're going to record this, and you just hear, and it's no Dice fans, a couple.
Did he get into a fight at the end of it or something?
He might have, it's been a while. But like, they weren't there for him, and he's really offensively dirty. He still walks people. He says even at his shows now, he will still have people walking out upset, like not knowing how dirty it was going to be. Like, oh, this is too much, and they'll walk out. And he loves it. And that's, everybody knows ahead of time going in. So, yeah. I mean, a lot of times you want to say, like, my joke is great, these people are idiots, but then that's not going to help you. What will help you is, like, how would I make them laugh more at my jokes without like, mortgaging what I want to say. You know, if it's dark, you can stay dark, but you have to get around it. If you listen to all the Chris Rock jokes, the best jokes he had, the ones you remembered, are not the best laughs. You know? The difference between black people and niggers, that stuff did not get the big laughs. The setups got the big laughs. And then the stuff he said in between, what you remember, was not where the punchlines were. But he had all that other stuff on, the flowery stuff, to make you listen. You know, like you'll laugh at this joke, you'll laugh at this joke, and you'll hear this thing in the middle. So that can help a lot. You know, flowering it up. A story is the same way. When I do a story, it's like, I see it's too long without a laugh, I put a fucking stupid metaphor in there. Or something. You know, and that'll make people laugh, so go with you over that hump of like having no laughs. So that too. I used to be like, oh, I saw some comic do this. That guy TK. He's still around, right? The bringer guy. And he was like some open mic, and he goes, oh, too edgy for you? And I remember then going like, that is the wrong way you want to look at it. Because that was just a joke that was not good. And he was using himself going like, I'm just too edgy for this room, as a way to not improve at all. That was 12 years ago, before he was a superstar he is today. It's like this guy didn't improve because he wasn't pushing himself. He was just saying the crowd is wrong. Like, you can get them on your side. You can get them on your side. There's ways to do it without giving up what you want to say. But it's hard, and you have to find it. Some people say dirty jokes are easier. I think it's harder, because when those don't work, they really get people angry at you. Drug references too. Christian people hate that shit. How you get a commercial agent, we did that. Oh, here's the other thing about the agents industry. All those people, networks, you know, producers, directors, managers, agents, they're just people. They're just regular dudes. There's no like such thing as Hollywood, as they're all made up of like one mindset, like the fucking Borg in Star Trek. They're just made up of individual dudes who think whatever they think. And now if one of those dudes is really into some comic, the other dude might not have seen that comic and goes, oh yeah, they're pretty funny. Just because they sort of like what everybody else likes. But there's no like specific way to get in. You just need one of them to hire you, and then you're hired. If Tarantino likes you and wants to put you in a movie, you'll be in a Tarantino movie. Even if all the other people hate you. They're all just dudes. So their opinion doesn't matter any more than your opinion or your opinion, your opinion. They've been around for like 5-10 years, let's say. You know, you can like them on that level, but really they're just some guy who went to college and got into this. Some of them came from the music side, and they're like, oh, now I'm a comedy agent. And it's like, you don't know shit about comedy. You don't watch it every night. And they don't. It's not like they don't know, but they don't have any specific extra knowledge. They don't have a finger on the pulse. They're just some guy. So if some guy doesn't like you, that's okay. If you have a great YouTube video and 95% of people click like, because 95% approval rating, that's a pretty high approval rating. But that means 5 out of every 100 people have clicked not like on your video. But that's okay, because you have so many. But if you center on that one person who clicks unlike, that's going to be really negative. If you get one agent or manager or whatever that says, well, it's not really me right now, I don't really like it, or they're just rude to you, whatever it is, that's just some dude. It's okay for some people not to be into it. That was so freeing. When I was on here once, I saw some lady, like in one of these seats, some old conservative lady just going like, just scowling at me and hating what I do, because it's just a different person every 15 minutes. And I was like, and she said something, I don't remember if she got mad at me or not. I think she was like, I don't like you. And I was like, okay, that's all right. You don't like me. I shouldn't be up in front of you. You want Christian comedy, I'm not going to give that to you. So we're a bad match. If you guys go to a polka show, you can be like, this is shitty music. Because it's only for polka fans. So if you say, like, I don't like the quick beat here, the polka band go like, okay, that's fine, but I have 2,000 people that are here to see me right now. So fine, you're just some guy. People are entitled to their opinions. So don't take what they say as being like holy. Like what they say sometimes, a lot of times they're just coming up with it on the spur of the moment. They're just like, try to do this. Doesn't mean that's the exact right thing you should do. It's just some guy telling you. It also doesn't mean you should just like say fuck you to whatever they say and say you don't know anything. But like take everything they say with a grain of salt, as that's just some person. You know what I mean? Does that make sense to you guys? Yeah. They're not wiser than us. And some of them are older, and you think they were already agents or managers, or they worked at a studio or a network before we started comedy. So like, oh, they must know. But they don't know. There was this girl who used to book Premium Blend, Allison Cohn. And she would only book people that she saw at parties, she liked at parties. She loved alternative comedy. That's another reason why UCB and Nerd Melt is a good place to go, because the assistants that are actually going to shows for the managers and agents and networks, head people at Comedy Central are not going to regular shows, but their assistants, their 25-year-old assistants, are going to shows, and 25-year-old college-educated people, the type of shows they go to, are over there. You know, occasionally they'll be in here or the Improv, but that's the kind of shows they like, is that Nerd Melt and UCB. So be around those people. As you start talking to them, tell them, like, I'll be performing at the Comedy Store, or this other place, or the Improv, or wherever else. And they'll come to those places too. But that's just where that's the same thing. They're just some dude. They have that predisposition. So this girl, Allison Cohn, she would always like alternative comics. And she would also like the people who she wanted to fuck. She never fucked them, but she wanted to. And so whoever she was attracted to, she'd be more likely to book. So now all of Comedy Central's bookings, except for the top level of Premium Blend, the top managers who would just call them and say, you got to put Steve Renazzisi on. He bypassed the system, I remember. He just had his manager call and say, no, this guy's great, have him on. And we all want that, but that's probably not going to happen for any of us, that level. He just got a manager. He got a really good manager because of a referral that he didn't ask for. He's an outlier. I asked him, I was like, what would you say to these people, especially about getting managers and agents? Because you did that when none of us did. And he goes, dude, that was just luck. That was Freddie Soto saying to his manager, saying, you got to come look at this guy. That could happen to you, and that might not happen to you, and it probably won't. That's just a hurdle he didn't have to leap over. But it's not going to stop you. It's just, you can always say, like, that guy had it easier, but it's not going to serve you in any way. It's going to make you a worse comic to spend your time thinking about that. So these guys that are just doing this Allison Cohn type, they're just meant like, well, she didn't like me, because I was, like, more crass. Me and David Taylor were, like, were darker people. So weren't happy-go-lucky friendly. But other people got on because she liked them. And that means that almost their entire roster was just people this one chick liked. And be like, oh, what do you got to do to get on Comedy Central? Do you have to write this joke or that joke? Like, no, the reality is you got to get some chick to like you. And then be okay on stage. So don't worry about what one person says or does. You know, and then eventually she left, and then a new person came on with a new attitude about what they wanted to book. And that attitude still wasn't me. But whatever, at some point it doesn't matter. Talk to the industry, yeah.
Ari, do you have any advice on the transition from opener host into feature work? Because I'm getting a small amount from people who've thrown me bones here and there.
Well,
But
featuring is a lot.
clubs don't want to. They're wanting to book features that are local, so they don't have to pay.
Yeah.
So did you deal with that, and how did you?
Well, I had Rogan take me on the road with him. After a while, this wasn't like right away. This was after 7 or 8 years. Rogan would start taking me on the road with him. And I would talk to the clubs, and I'd be like, hey, I'd love to come back here on my own, even a feature. I couldn't, at DC Improv, my family's from like near Washington, D.C. I had one guy that would let me, he was friends with me, John X. And he said, whenever you want, give me a few weeks' notice, I will let you MC. I'll just bump one of the local MCs to a few weeks later. And featuring, give me a few months' notice, I can get you on whatever week you need. If you have a wedding or something, just let me know, and we'll do it. And he was always cool with me. And then the new lady took over, and I wasn't one of her people anymore, and she had all these locals that she wanted to book, like people that she liked. The same thing what I'm telling you. If like people that you like, you're more likely to give a spot to. You know? It's just the way it is. You're opening for me in San Diego because I know you from here. I don't know your comedy that well. You know what I mean? But it's okay, and you're from there too, right? So it's like, yeah, that seems fine. It's an opener. How much damage can you do? You know what I mean? It'll be fine no matter what. But like, so if that lady wasn't going to book me anymore, she just wasn't going to book me. Because 2 reasons. One, she has her friends that she likes, that she wants to give time to. And every Joe Rogan that brings their own people, that's one less week she gets to hook up someone in her comedy community. And a lot of people are booking their own guys. So every one of those weeks is somebody she can't book, someone who's talented in that area. And then she had her favorites. And then it was also like, she was a part owner of the club, and she's like, well, I don't have to pay for a hotel room if I book this guy who lives here. Then why would I not save $300 or $500, whatever the hotel room costs for a week? That's coming out of her pocket. So she's like, why would I spend that when I don't have to? And you want to take it as an insult, like I'm better than that guy, but there's so much in categories that we don't really understand. Like that Peter Chen guy who goes, I've been doing it 10 years, he's only doing 8. Like there's more to it than that. So the idea of like I'm funnier than that guy who's getting booked, like there's more in it. There's just $500 she's saving in a hotel. So absolutely, if you tell those people, I don't need a hotel, I have some place to stay, it'll be more bookable. What I had as trouble with was going from featuring with Rogan to headlining. Like I'd love to come back here on an off week, and I never got a single person to help me. Occasionally let me do like a late show Saturday, which would never work. Because I was the same draw as him, which wouldn't, but it was like, they were like, yeah, and they would just never have me in because they had the other people they liked better. And I could have done a better job of hanging out with those people and being somebody they wanted to have back. It's not to say you have to get drunk with them, but you're there, be around them, be cool. You know? Be cool. Bert Kreischer, everybody wants to bring him back. You know what I mean? And now he's at the point where he wants a specific amount of money, and that's more important. But for a while, when he's just trying to get in, Tom Segura took a year. And he said, I'm going to take all my money, and I'm just going to feature at every club in the country that I can. And I know I won't get put up a lot. I'll figure out a way to, like, you know, room with people or figure it out or just break even weeks. And he goes, this is the way I'm going to meet every club booker in America. And for 52 weeks, he took all the Jay Moore gigs he could. He took all the gigs he could, whatever he could get in, like just feature work in front of like Dave Stroop or all these like road guys that are booking a lot of rooms. He just took them all. And then eventually he could, because of that year, he could get a headline at a few of the places. I went and took with him. He was like, I'm going to Indianapolis. And he called me. This was like 2 years ago. And he called me and said, hey, maybe 3. And said, I'm going. I can ask her if you can feature for me. It'll be a break-even week. You have to pay for your own flight, but she'll pay for a hotel room. And it's $75 a set or 100, whatever it was. And he goes, I'm not trying to insult you, but if you want to go, it'd be a good way to meet her. And I didn't have anything going on that week, so I was like, yeah, I'll go. And then she was like, we had a good time. I never asked her if she could headline me because he said Brian Sickler had the same thing. And he was like, hey, I want to come back and headline. And she immediately, when you ask people for shit, their hands go up. They're like, they're immediately saying of like how to say no. It's like homeless people bothering you. You immediately think to say no and not what their problem is. But if you get to know some homeless guy, you're telling me this whole story about some homeless guy and how he used to be, you know, a great basketball player and, you know, now he's in the street and, you know, he still tries to help the youth around town. You're like, oh, fuck, oh, here, man, here's $1. On my own, I made that decision. You know, so I didn't ask her, and then she was like, hey, I'd love to have you come back and headline. And so then it was like a success, just because of that. But none of those Rogan gigs ever did I get to like headline out of those. So like, what was your question? How do you
It's
move to them?
From making myself, because you mentioned the why.
Yeah.
Now it's the how, moving from that opener host to that feature.
Yeah, that's
spot.
hard. It's be the guy. It's a lot of that is be the guy they want to hang out with and have at their Christmas party, because they do want. But a lot of it too is like those weeks are booked by headliners who bring their own guys, so it's hard. The only technical thing I would say is just when you're emceeing, you know you're starting off the show from cold, and so you can't immediately start off with, you know, blowjob stuff. Like you got to get them like situated into comedy, but that's all technical stuff that you'll learn when you do it.
Did you get headlining stuff more from these connections you're talking about, or was it like your podcast started blowing up and you became a draw?
It was all the stuff that I was like, it got frustrating for me after a while. I'm probably not a terrible example for you in terms of that I was ahead of where I should have been. It's tough to look at yourself unbiased, so maybe that's not true. But I felt like I was way ahead of these other people that were headlining without credits, you know? So I'm like, I can do as well or better than them. And then my agent now explained to me, he goes, that low-level headliner, $1,500 a week, $1,200 to $1,500 a week guy, that is the most competitive spot in comedy. There are way more people trying out for those spots than the $25,000 a week jobs. You have 25, 50 people doing that. There's like 1,000 people trying to get that $1,500 a week job. And you're like, but I'm funny, I'll kill for the whole 45 minutes to an hour. And at that point, they're like, yeah, we expect anyone to do that. So if that's the standard, then really what are you offering them? Why would they book you instead of somebody else that they know, that they've already dealt with? Or even some washed up old timer that they just have a history with. It's hard to break through in that. But yeah, they wouldn't do it until I had my podcast and those started taking off. And even then, club owners were like skeptical of it. They're like, I don't know if anybody would really come. We thought half-hour comedy is the way to go. But nobody comes because of half-hour comedies. 2 years after you do a half-hour, nobody will remember you even did one. Let alone like have anybody come out to see you. Jamie Keller, this guy was on My Boys with Jim Gaffigan. He was going on the road more because he was on this TBS show. And I was like, do people come out to see you? And he goes, honestly, maybe 4 people a show on average. But it's enough to make the club owners think that people will come out. It legitimizes me a little in their eyes. That same thing where like one person picks you, then all other people are like, oh, that guy picked you? Okay. So then he could get in and headline because of that. Not because it added a draw, but just because it seemed like it should add to a draw.
Did Renazizi's change from the league?
Yeah, it took him a while. He was 2 years on the league. He didn't have a PA agent. He didn't have an agent sending him out. And it was like, why? He's a hilarious comic, and he's on his show for 2 years, and he couldn't get booked in places.
Didn't he make his own show with the league guys though? Like they made their own league, like
yeah.
No, like the stand-up show.
Oh, they eventually did like on tour, yeah. And those would do so well that they would show those numbers to clubs and say, look what they do in unison. And at first, he would have to take less money than he probably should get at a club, but he's like, trust me, you'll be super happy with the numbers he does, and then they'll offer him more money later.
Right.
And now he's making bank. But even then, think about that in terms of like, if I make it, it'll all be okay. That's a guy who was on a show for 2 years. And not only could he not get booked on the road, he couldn't get an agent to even submit him to book things on the road. They were all like, I don't know. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's a hilarious comedian.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even like he was sucky with credits. He was great with credits, and he couldn't get on there. So it's not like it's an easy, like, as long as you get better, it will work out. There's going to be a bunch of different roads. But the whole time while he was trying to get on the road, movies and TV were working out for him. He was on another show. He was on Punk, and he was on this sitcom that didn't last very long, and he's on guest starring roles. So it's like you throw yourself into everything. Stuff will pay for you to continue to write jokes. You know? Yeah.
And especially you're talking about kind of group shows. What I know they did that with Sullivan and Son. And stuff. There's a lot of like no-name comics that are going on group tours as like a group name, like there's the lawyers of comedy, comedians at law and stuff like that.
Those don't really do much.
They split it as a band. We just had one of those like the Almost Homeless show that almost sold out of entire theater because it's also people that tour with the Renaissance Festival that have their own kind of crowd and following.
Yeah.
Like, do you think that's a good way to start getting on the road? Is like almost like a band getting 3 of your friends together and selling yourself as like a whole group package?
Maybe, but honestly, who's going to come out to see? Unless they already knew the Renaissance people, that's who came out. It's not just based on the title alone. They had this tour called wasn't Three Amigos, Payasos of Comedy, something like that.
Yeah, Joey was in there.
No, it was something. It was Madrigal, Al Madrigal, two other Mexicans. But the problem was, this is what all the clubs found out, is it this name, this compadres of comedy, whatever it was, something like that. That name didn't carry as much weight as each of their individual names, so they did less numbers than if they just came alone. This idea of like joining them all together, like the Kings of Comedy. That's the Kings of Comedy, and the Blue Collar Comedy Tour. I mean, it's a fun way to go on the road with your friends. I did one, the Monsters of Comedy, where me and my friends just drove the coast from spot to spot, and it was like a break-even trip. And we slept 3 to a room every night, and we ate horrible food, but it was fun. Jason Rouse, Sam Tripoli, and Chris Neff. And we'll see, yes, we'll see what's our...
What about Tripoli's like naughty show that he does, like that's getting kind of a big...
Yeah, he's trying to push that, but he's pushing that name, The Naughty Show, like he's building that into something.
Like the Midnight Show that...
But through his podcast too, like he's building a name for it. But right in the beginning, no one was going to see it just because it was called The Naughty Show. And even now, it's not as good as you think it is. They'll do it in Vegas, and 35 people will show up, 50, and it's like that's good, but it's not like you're not going to be Tosh right away and sell out theaters. That show I did last night was because K-Rock was doing the show. No one was there for me. So you just, I don't know. Those things are okay, I guess. But really, it's just for fun. It's fine. If it can get you more time, so you can like work out more time. Any opportunity you get, you can do a full half hour or an hour or whatever. Try it. As long as nobody's there going to watch you. Nobody important. Try it. Put yourself in those situations. Here's the other thing I was going to say about material, because I don't like telling people how to write or what jokes to do. Any advice I ever give comments on my own level or lower it or higher is just like I thought you were going to explore this side of the subject. Like if you have a long bit, I'll say like, I thought I was going to hear what your father said about that. But that's it. I'm not going to write a joke for them. Just like, I could see it going that way. Or way to pause there. Here's the advice I'll give you about material. Try not to let it, because this happened to me and all my friends, try not to let your material own you. Like at some point, you're going to be better than you were when you wrote that joke. And you're going to still do this joke because it works. And then you're not going to write new jokes because you have this joke that works. And you wrote this joke 1.5 years into comedy, and now you're 6 years into comedy. And if you had to write this joke again, you would not write this joke because you're better than that. But you're stuck doing it, and you're letting it own you. So just let yourself tell a joke, thank you for your service, it's time for you to move on now, and just let it go. That's the benefit of recording something. If you have some killer thing, I don't know, I like to put it down somewhere on a CD or something, or a YouTube clip, at least so it's not dead to the world forever. I view that as like when you let go of a joke and just don't do it anymore, that's like a painter, like an artist, drawing like a great painting, painting a great painting, and then like at the end, like, okay, that was awesome, and then just burning it. Like you should put it in a gallery and go, cool, I'll move on to my next painting. But you don't just keep taking that same painting around for years, like, hey, check out my painting. Like, you're done with it. You know it's not improving anymore. Use it for showcases for a little while, and then fucking move on. And so yeah, if it's good, and you think it's still good, put it on a YouTube clip and then retire it that way. That way you don't have to do it, unless it's the situation really, really calls for it. If it's a joke about Hasidic people and like there's 19 Hasidic people in the audience, like, all right, this would actually go really well right now. But yeah, that's that thing that it'll be a trap for you. Is to like let that own you. So just be careful of it. Who else has a question?
Do you have any reading material you suggest?
No, but that book about the Comedy Store is pretty good.
What was the title of that?
I'm dying up here.
I'm dying up here. Yeah, it was just about the strike, and it just shows about the different situations that were then. Yeah, they're not. I'll get to you in a second, but they're not. Those things don't relate to you. Like I said, like with Ronnie Dangerfield making it, it's 40, it's 40s, 50s. That's so old. It doesn't have anything to do with you. So the way those people all just get development deals and huge shows, it's interesting, but it's not us anymore. The industry caught up. The same thing with podcasts are going on, but it's not like a bad thing to do. But if you were in the first couple of years of podcasts, that's probably better for you. But just keep doing stuff, and stuff can take off. Jay Moore came later, and he's got one of the top rated podcasts. I know he was famous, but like, just keep doing shit. Dean, how much traction do you get off your podcast?
I get a lot of shitload. Like
20,000 downloads.
That's great. And
That's
when
great.
did you start? After like the big rush, right?
What's that?
After the first rush is when you started, right?
It took a long time to get it going, but once you get guests, if you get a good guest on and they retweet it, then it catches
Yeah,
fire.
and then people will hear you and they'll hear your sense of humor, and they'll either be into it or not into it.
Yeah.
But like, there's no reason not to do it just because it won't lead to something major right away. It's like, just keep doing it, and it might take off. Put your hands on a lot of stuff, and it might take off. And then you get fans that come see you from that, right?
They come all the time.
If you can get one fan to come see you somewhere from that. Like, I had Reep on my podcast right when I started, and he said someone in Arizona was like, I heard you on Ari's podcast, and I came out. I'm like, right there is a win.
But do you,
Just one person. It's not worth 2 hours, but like, it's at least a win.
do you think a lot of you guys are successful in podcasting though because you like have the same 30 or 40 people like kind of as guests that people will
Some of that,
will
they get
go
used to
to
people.
them because they've heard them on other like
Yeah, some of
a lot
that.
of us might not be able to do. Do you
Yeah,
think that?
there's some of that. But then, that's just some of it. Yeah, if you can get celebrities every day, that'll help. But really, why they come is because most of the people that have done podcasts now have developed a sense of humor. And that even when they're not being funny, they're still funny. And that the way you guys are in front of your friends, when you're all fucking around, hanging out, and getting high or drunk or not, or just watching TV late at night, and you're friendly and funny and making each other laugh, like, if you can get to that natural state that you are, and you will get funnier as you do this. You practice being funny, you will get funnier. Not just the technical stuff, but you will get funnier. My friends at home would say that after a few years. They're like, dude, I think you're funnier now. And I would be comfortable around them. But you will get funnier just by doing it over and over again. Anything in life, the more you do, the better you'll get. That's just the way it is, until your body fails. You know? That's why pool players and bowlers can play until their 50s, because they don't need their bodies that much for that sort of thing. But basketball players, you got 35 and you're done. But like comedy, you can still do it till you're 65. You will continue to develop and get better. Robert Redford said, like 20 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, said he's just starting to understand acting. And that was someone who'd already won Oscars and been in it for fucking 20 years or more, and he's just like starting to figure out, I'm just feeling like I'm starting to get good at comedy now. It's like the more you do it, the better you'll get. But when you're on podcasts, people start to like sense that, like this guy is funny. And they'll just start liking you, and you'll get fans here or there. Not just like one appearance, but like multiple times and people can see you. It's like I remember seeing David Tell on some late night show, and I remember just laughing, and then had no idea who he was after that. And then he was on some other late night show, maybe 6 months later, and I laughed again. I was like, oh, I think that was that guy that I saw before. And then again, like, you know, a few months later after that, I saw him on some other late night show, or some interview, and I was like, oh, that's that guy again. And then the fourth time, by then I'd be like, oh, David Tell's going to be on Letterman tonight. I'm going to tune in for this. And then after that, I've become a Letterman fan. I mean, a David Tell fan. Just by constant exposure to his sense of humor. So like the more you do, as you develop, the more people will just, not everybody, Christians won't like me. You know what I mean? But the type of people who would like your sense of humor will eventually start to like your sense of humor.
And do you think that like making a podcast, even if like not a lot of people are listening,
it's still worth it for you?
Because like an
Just
agent or
do
somebody will see you're a
something.
producer
Absolutely.
or something.
Just do something, and you will get better at comedy from talking comedically on the air sometimes. You feel like you're better now, like as a comic, just from doing
well,
podcasts?
I think because you listen to people as you're interviewing, so you listen to like the laughs the same kind of way.
Yeah.
It's a timing thing. Like sometimes I'll steamroll over the guests, and I'll be like, that was horrible.
Yeah.
And you just start to learn that.
And you get better at it from having done it.
Yeah,
Anything.
absolutely.
Practice gets you better at anything. But yeah, you'll just do, even if you write a script that won't go anywhere, just assume you will not sell the first script you write. You'll try to, and you'll feel like it's good. And then 5 years later, you'll realize how shitty it was. But just do it, just so you can do, anything you're moving forward will help you. Just keep moving forward with things. And don't worry about it being the break to make you made it. To make you make it. It's just not going to be that, but it's still going to overall get you better. The guys that are like, you know, like look at Barack Obama. He wasn't presidential candidate right away. First he was a senator, then he gave some sweet speech at the Democratic National Convention, and then everybody's like, oh, who's this guy? And they started taking like notice of him. But it wasn't because of his policies before that. It was because he sounded cool, and he was interesting, and he gave a great speech. And he had developed a speech-making technique over fucking a decade or more. And he had gotten so good at it that when his time was there, the National Convention, he fucking killed it. And I guarantee you, there were some other people on that same convention that you don't remember because they didn't kill it. They just hadn't developed that sense of style and the things he was saying. And he did, and that didn't mean he was going to be the president. He still had to then, 4 or 8 years later, had to fucking beat Hillary Rodham Clinton in a I don't know, preview, whatever they do.
Primary.
Primaries. And he barely beat her. It was still like, not everything you do is going to lead to a success, but it'll get you closer. And the more you get close, the more you're going to go in. It's just like fucking tiddlywinks. Or a basket. If you just keep throwing up a basket, like a ball up towards a basket, eventually a few are going to pop in. And those will be bookings for you. That'll be a sitcom, or some gigantic show, or some 6,000 seater like I did last night. Those are just going to be wins that you get over time of failure after failure. Like here or there, you're going to get a win. What sucks about this, it's not like golf, where if you come in second every week, you're going to make such a great killing. You're going to make such a good living. And you're probably going to rank #1 in the world. If you just keep taking second place. But here, second place means you didn't get the part. Or you're not going to be on the show. So it sucks, but if you keep getting close, you'll get stuff. Who else has a question?
I got one.
Yeah.
Going back to open mics, are there better rooms to go to, or is it just about trying to get up whenever you can?
Yeah, good question. I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
I think you just got to go to all of them, figure out
Yeah.
which ones you like more.
There's going to be some better and worse. What I would do is I would set my week to Westwood Brew Co. still does Tuesday nights now with bands, but like that was the best one. That's before Comedy Bang Bang started, and all these other shows that were on Tuesday. So like that was the place, and cool people would go down there. Zach went down there once. Ginny Garofalo showed up a few times. Like after they were already like names, and it was like ooh, just by their presence we felt more legitimized. But that was the open mic that I would like set my week for. So I would start my first joke of the new week on Wednesday. I would try to like perfect it at all the other rooms all over, where you only see a few of the same people. And then by Tuesday, here's I finished, and then it was done, and then I'd start the next thing. And then it became here on Sunday night. So I'd start on Monday, and I'd just keep like trying to get it better until that Sunday night show. Cause here there were real people, they had real audience members. So I felt like that should be my onus instead of pleasing those open micers at Westwood. But yeah, there's gonna be some that are shitty and some that are better, and at some point you'll outgrow. Like I try not to do bars anymore, places with bars like in the room, just because it's like people are talking, and to me it's like this is not the way I want to present the stuff I wrote. I took years to write this stuff, or months of hard work and suffering, and now like you guys are all talking at the bar. It's like instead of painting a painting and having it on a nice white gallery wall, instead of just painting it and then just like crumpling it up and throwing it in the corner. And then saying, well, there's my painting. And it's like, it's the same painting, but that's not the way it's supposed to be taken in. Now, you guys are not the stage where you can turn down rooms and saying, I don't want to do one where people are talking. It sucks, but you have no leg to stand on, so you have to take those shitty rooms. But always go to the better rooms, if you have a choice of like one or the other. Like if I had to drive half an hour that way, half an hour that way, like go to the better room. Or, mix with the chances of you getting on, too. If you can't get on in one room, then what's that going to do for you?
And I think like jokes that make all the other comics who are barely paying attention start laughing really hard, those usually are probably going to kill with like an audience too.
Yeah, well, that's what I found is that you would find things like if they worked in certain rooms, it'll work everywhere. But there's also bad habits eventually doing open mics. As Mitzi said, that I used to be real hyper. I would do all my jokes like a really high pitched voice, not even on purpose, but like just out of like it just happened. Because I was nervous, I was trying to get their energy, and I was like, yeah, 730 words, you can't say shit and fuck on TV. And she was like, what are you so hyper about? I was like, I got to get the crowd like going. She was like, you're just getting yourself going. And I was like, she's an idiot. You're an idiot. You don't understand. But she did understand. She had seen fucking 25 years of comedy, and I had seen 6 months of it. And I was like, that's what I mean when I was saying, don't make what you're already doing have value just because you're already doing it. That's what I was doing there. I was saying, well, this is the right thing to do because it'll get a crowd interested in you. And really, I wasn't saying this is the right thing to do, and now let me see what I do. I was saying what I do must be good. So let me find reasons why it is. And that's unhealthy. That won't get you to a better place. So yeah, I was too hyper. And they were laughing at me just because I was being an idiot. But they weren't laughing at my jokes that I wrote. I don't know. So yeah, go everywhere you can. I try to get up as much as I can and do what line feels good. In the beginning, when I started going up, I just went up here. We had 3 open mic nights here a week. So I'd only get up here Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Well, it started just Sunday, actually. And then this guy, Jordy Fox, told me, like, dude, you got to go to other rooms. And he showed me, like, the other open mics, and so then I started going around. And then my development, instead of went here, was started going way up. Just from practice. Practice will make you better at everything. There's everything in your life. The writing and the acting. take acting classes too, once you have some money. Like if you get a manager and they say, well, I want to get on a sitcom. They're like, well, why? Who are you? You're not a good actor yet. Like you can't be. You've never done it. You'll be okay because you want to be okay, but you're not going to be good. So eventually you're going to get into a class. Classes will make you better at things. Same as pottery classes. Why should acting be that much different than pottery? You're not going to be good at pottery if they just show you the wheel and say go. So acting's way easier. You just play pretend, but it's like it's not going to be as good. So get some classes. Be better. Practice gets you better at everything. And then also write, do all that, yeah.
You feel the same way about comedy classes?
No, I don't feel the same way about comedy classes. But here's what's different. Jake Johansson told me this about acting classes. One of the benefits of acting classes, there's two that he saw. There's one, it shows you how to be around other actors. So you get to meet other actors and find out what they're doing, how to get an agent, like they know which agents are good. You get to talk to them. Doing things with the people in the industry. If you just went to the open mic and then went right home, didn't talk to anybody, you would be getting the benefit of having done it, but you'll be missing out on the benefit of finding out what the open mics are that you usually get from your friends. All those things. How do you get up at this place? Just talking to them. Oh, that's a good joke. Like, I like saying that. Whatever it is, you get this benefit of just being around those people. So acting classes does that. It also lets you practice, because there's really no open mics for acting. But stand-up comedy classes, like, you can just get on. You can just go to an open mic right now. You don't need Sandy Shores or Greg Dean or whoever tells you, like, this is how you get on. I feel like those things tell you a certain way to do comedy, and you can't get a guy like Mitch Hedberg to come out of those things. They would squash that in him. They'd be like, that's not the way you write a joke. And they would squash it, and they wouldn't let him develop how he is. Gilbert Gottfried could not develop in a comedy class. Not that type of act. They just wouldn't. They'd say we have a technique for it, and everyone develops differently in different styles. There's alt comics, and like I said, there's black comics and fucking mainstream guys, and you just develop into whatever comic you want to be. No one can tell you what to write. That's why I don't like comedy classes. They tell you too much. A lot of it you really have to find for yourself. Really through practice and just doing it, and then you're like, oh, I'm good at this. Now I got to work on this and continue to develop the good thing.
That being said, have you heard, or because this is a big thing in Phoenix, about relevant comedy, like trying to be relevant, but like what in terms is relevant? Like my comedy club owner is like big on relevant comedy, but he doesn't explain what it is.
There's this type of comedy you watch where it's like, it just seems like 80s or 90s comedy. Martin Lawrence came in once for like a few months, and he was just like, the jokes he was making, he could make okay jokes, but he was doing 90s comedy. The type of gay jokes he was making, where I wanted to pull him aside and be like, dude, everybody in this crowd thinks gay is okay. You're living in Los Angeles, and these are 26-year-olds. There's nobody here that has the same view of you as you, and you're not justifying your opinions. You're just using gay as a punchline. And that could work in the 90s, but that can't work now. That's kind of an irrelevant style of comedy. So things like that, but I wouldn't worry about it too much. You just do what you want to do. My friend David said this, that everybody who starts comedy ends up just trying to do an impression of a comedian. That's all we do, and that's what I was. I was doing Monica Lewinsky jokes. That's who I'd seen on TV the last few years doing those jokes, so I felt like that's what I should do too. But eventually, you'll drop that and you'll start doing the jokes that you want to do. And that'll be relevant. If it's anything from your life that you really want to express on stage, one of the best things to help me with my comedy was I dated this artist. And when she would go into a painting, she would talk about it in terms of what she wanted to express. And then she would use her technical skills to express that. She was really good at drawing fur and hair. She could do that really, really well. And whatever she wanted to express about, I think one of her whole series of something was about these masks that women have to wear in life to pretend to be a different thing. And then she just drew all these people with like half masks and like witches underneath it and over that. And she was expressed, but she had in mind already, like, what do I want to tell people? And it's that women are forced to wear masks, and humans in general too. She has some non-women too. If you go into it with that, then any of your comedy will be justified by what you've said. Because you're like, I just want to share this. And then you will get better at it over time. You will learn how to express it better as your technical skills get better.
The reason I ask is my comedy, or the owner of our comedy club, literally yanked me off stage because I told a story about when I was 16, I got a Ouija board for my birthday. He's like, that's not relevant. And then he literally pulled me off physically off stage.
Okay, there's going to be a lot of situations like that where some person like tells you you're wrong. One, it goes back to that's just some dude, but there's also on the other side of that guy might know more than you do, and you don't want to look at yourself as having done something badly. I don't know about the Ouija board, but I told Renazizi when he started, he used to have a joke about being in a locker room and having guys' dicks out. People, just old men, have their dicks out all the time, and it's just like, I know when you go to a locker room for the first time, you feel like, what the fuck? Why are all these old men having their dicks out? Why don't you put underwear on? And so everyone has that thought, but the problem is that everyone who's been to a locker room has the same bits, has the same, like, their dicks are right here. And I told him, I was like, dude, that joke is hacky. I know it's your own experience, but like, everyone's done it. And your first instinct is to go, shut up, you don't know, I'm good. That Ouija board thing was good. But if you stop and like take yourself out of it and say like, well, let's just imagine what he's saying. Could it be true? And why could it be true? And what can I learn from it if it was true? Now, if you really look at that with an open mind, I don't know the joke, I don't know what he's talking about. If you really look at it from an open mind and you say, no, I really think that guy might just have a problem with Ouija boards or something like that, then you can say, okay, I can move on with impunity, just keep going and not have to worry about what he's saying. I think I'm on the right path. But really look, like maybe he was right. Maybe it is hacky. In what ways is it hacky? In what ways can I change that? Don't worry about who the messenger is. If the message is fine, it's fine. If Boon Shakalaka gives you a tagline and it works, then really what's the difference where it comes from? You know what I mean? I mean, obviously you're less likely to listen to what he says, but the message is the message. That's what matters. What, Josh?
What do you think about a gimmick, like, for example, my voice?
Yeah.
I don't want to depend on just that, but it's so easy to succumb to.
Well, this is
something
stuff.
about you.
Yeah.
Where do you draw the line from? This is who I am, and I'm just using this as like a gimmick.
Yeah. Well, you're welcome. You're going to get more and more away from gimmicks as you go. The better you get as able to express your thoughts, you're going to get away from that. I did so many Jew jokes when I started. It was so prevalent in my act. And I was like, no, you don't understand. I grew up Jewish. People are like, that's too easy. No, I'm the only Jew here. And it's like, that didn't make me who I was. I had no real relation to that, even though I was like used to be religious. But I would do the jokes, they were easy. And eventually I slowly stopped doing them. The dirty jokes too, I'll still be dirty, but it was so overboard dirty that I was overusing the gimmick. Your voice, you can't help it. But the amount of jokes you make, early on though, you're just learning how to be funny on stage, just learning how to be comfortable. So if that gets you there, that's okay. But those are the things that I don't want to give you advice on, because like you will find that yourself.
Yeah.
You will start getting disgusted by certain things you say. You know? You'll be like, oh, this is just, and that's when you know to drop it. Now some guys never learn that. And so they keep doing this annoying thing, and we've all seen those people. They just do this annoying, horrible thing. They just keep doing it for years and years. And you're like, why are you still doing that? But they'll never get it. I'm sure there's stuff that in my act that's the same way that I'll just never get. That I'm not as good as I could be, but I'm not seeing myself honestly. So the goal is to try to see yourself as honest as possible. Mushrooms help with that a lot. It really does. It takes yourself out of yourself and lets you like view, like instead of being here where I'm just looking out at you guys, it's like I'm here and I can see you guys, but I can also see myself. And then I'd be like, oh, you're sitting cross-legged like a homosexual. You know what I mean? And then it's like I can see it for what it is instead of like, oh, it's just you just see yourself.
Would you watch your set on shrooms as a study or to stare at?
Maybe. I'm probably not organized enough to actually cue it up. But just the thoughts you have are okay. But if you can take those same thoughts of like, let me view myself without ego, without like, well, I'm right or wrong. I've dealt with people, I had to leave a podcast thing once because I was just looking for ways to improve my podcast. And the other guy that was working on it was like, it's fine. These guys said it's fine. What's the problem? I'm like, dude, don't get upset because you want to attack your weaknesses. That's a fucking gift for you. Anytime somebody shows you something that you're weak on, it hurts. It hurts a little bit, obviously, but that is a gift. That is someone saying that you have a hole. It's like you have a chain and somebody shows you the actual weak link, a part of the chain that's about to fray and break. You should say thank you. You shouldn't say fuck you, your chain's not that strong. But that's a normal tendency, is to go, you think you're that good? Them doesn't matter. The message matters, not the messenger. Everyone has their own weak parts. I know so many people so many really talented people who are like, oh, that's a hacky joke. And I was like, oh, you don't have a hacky joke? But they do, but it doesn't mean that joke isn't hacky and dumb. Like anytime somebody says that, it sucks so bad, it hurts. But like get past the hurt, and then that night or whenever when you're alone, like, well, hold on, let me think about it. You know, can this be better? Am I mumbling too much? Am I being too hyper on stage? Let me try. Let me at least try. I'm going to have, all of you are going to have thousands more sets. Thousands of more sets that coming up. So like, you can try something and see if it works 4 or 5 times the way somebody says it. And if it still doesn't, then fine. But I've had way more often, somebody says, try it this way. I'm like, oh, I tried it that way. And I never tried it that way. I thought about it once, or I tried it once, and it didn't work perfectly, and I'm just comfortable doing it the way I'm always doing it. If you take yourself out of that comfort range and really attack your weaknesses, that is the best gift you can get, is someone telling you what you did wrong. Telling you what you did right, that's just ego. That's what the Laugh Factory open mic used to be for. I don't know if it's like that anymore. It was just a fucking ego boost. They let people, it was like, what was the show? 8 o'clock was the show, and then 9 o'clock started open mic. Started the regular show. So if you came to the open mic, you just stayed. So Tim Allen and all these other people would come, and so people would just come early. Dan Cook, they would come early. So the open mic was a fucking killer every single week. And then you would come here and you would fucking eat shit with the same material. It's nice to have an ego boost once in a while, but always look at your weaknesses. It's going to make you better than anything else. Like that Hemingway thing, that first draft of anything is shit. If you know that, you're okay. But if you start going like, yeah, I wrote a perfect script, it's just, you're not going to get better at your next script. You're going to say, what's wrong with the industry these days? They don't know what funny is. And that doesn't help you.
How do you ask for criticism?
If you, it's there. Your friends will tell you. Just say, like, you got any notes on that? Just say, you have any notes on that at all? Or do you see anything there you can think of? I mean, in the beginning, it's not that easy. But we had this writing class where we had to all talk about everybody else's 10 pages every day in college. And the teacher was like, I liked it is not allowed in this class. That doesn't do anyone any good. It just wastes 20 seconds to say I really liked it. What the fuck? If there's one specific thing you liked, you can say why. You can say, wow, this really reminded me of my youth, and that really got me in a good place. It has to be so specific. Otherwise, like, yeah, assume this is all good. Here are the points I didn't understand. If you can get your friends at first to tell you that'd be great. Any of the older guys that say something to you, you should listen to them. They have a lot more experience. Some of them might just be bitter, but like, your tendency is to want to reject what they say. But just imagine if it were true.
I hate to plug the club that I work in, but we have an open mic where at the end of the open mic, they go through and you get critiqued by the other comics. And they're people you don't know, so they don't have to be nice to you.
Yeah.
You know, and that really
Yeah, that stuff hurts. That writing, when you had to present your 10 pages, it hurt. And people say, look, well, this wasn't clear, and I didn't know what this guy was doing. These two seem like the same exact character. It doesn't feel good to tell you you're not as great as you were hoping you were. But yeah, that shit's good. We use that with our friends. Get 5 or 6 friends and say, let's all watch each other and write notes. Just what you thought, what you didn't think. I saw Louis C.K. do that for Rogan once, like 5 years ago at the Improv. And before the show was going, but afterwards he was like, hey man, here, I don't know if you want whatever, but here's the notes I took on your set. And that came from Louis C.K. So he had enough respect that if you did that to somebody, to Rogan, he'd be like, who the fuck are you? You know what I mean? But either way, the note might have been the same. This wasn't clear. I didn't know what you were talking about. David Taylor did this joke in there once, and it was about cow tipping. He didn't say cow tipping. He talked to these people from Indiana. He goes, you guys go tipping? And I don't know how the rest of the crowd felt, but I felt like that meant like tipping money. So I didn't get it. And the crowd didn't laugh. And I told him afterwards, I think they missed what you were saying about being cow tipping, because you didn't say the word cow. And he was like, oh yeah, I guess you're right. And he knew what he had in mind, so he could have pictured cow tipping while he said tipping. You know what I mean? But it wasn't clear to the audience. So getting someone else to say that was like, oh cool, that's just one addition of a word. One word to make it clear. Those are the easy ones to handle. Because that's not like saying a joke is bad. But shit like that, have your friends help you. Absolutely.
How do you do with like an overconfidence situation with like, say a consecutive amount of sets that go good, and then like you're saying the old guys are telling you what you do good and what's the best at, what they like the most, and like kind of like that hype fear, like, okay, everybody's saying I'm good, I'm saying I'm good, I'm saying I'm good. Why am I not getting this other stuff? Like,
yeah. Being humble will make you better than anything else. Knowing that you're not good. Once every 6 months to a year, I would go by and I would look back at where I was and go like, man, I sucked back then. But now I'm good. And then another year would pass by and be like, I was way off. I was bad. But now I'm good. And then another year would pass by. I'm like, why do I keep doing this? I was terrible back then again. And then eventually I realized, like, where I am right now and I feel good, I feel like I'm good, me a year from now will look back on me and saying, you were making a lot of mistakes there. And so then just knowing that is like, I'll try to be as good as I can, but also know that I'm not that talented yet. I don't have the fucking technique down. And I will get better at it. Yeah. I mean, so when older guys look at you, they're going to look at someone who's a beginner. This would be in anything. In anything. Not just in comedy. So take yourself out of it. Do that mushroom thing where you take yourself out of it. If someone would look at it, like if Patrick Ewing used to teach young guys at Georgetown how to be the center. Because he just knew more. He had faced Akeem Olajuwon 50 times. And Shaquille O'Neal, he just knew how to do this better than them. And they would listen to him. And they felt like they were good. They were really good. They were starting centers at Georgetown. You know, that was Alonzo Mourning and Dikembe Mutombo. They would listen to the old guy. So the old guys, when they look at you, they will look at someone who is a beginner. And they will see a lot of mistakes. And you guys feel really funny. And you are, but you're making these mistakes that they can see really easily. So if any of those people like give you some advice, look at it twice before you reject it. You know, like really think about it. When Owen Smith passes by you on stage after you bring him up, and after you finish and you bring him up, if he says something in my ear, if he goes, hey, whatever he says, I am listening to that every single time. Because that guy is proven to only give me constructive criticism. Every time for years. And he gives me stuff that like, I never thought of that angle. He doesn't tell you what to write or jokes, he just tells you like directions to go. And it's so helpful. Your friends will do that for you if you ask them for it. But if you just want them to tell you you're good, they'll do that too. They'll see someone who's not open to getting constructive criticism, and they won't give it to you.
With the Monsters tour, what were some of the things you did right and things you guys did wrong? Because a lot of people at my experience level are starting to do their own little produce.
Well, we didn't have any draw. No one would come to see us. It was pre-Twitter, I believe. So we probably had a few fans through the whole week, but mostly there was nowhere to reach them, just Facebook fan page. So without a draw, no one's going to come based on the idea of like we're doing something crazy and different, you know. So if you put it on a tour, put it on for the joy of just going on a tour and doing these shitty gigs for the sake of doing them. You know, outside of LA and New York, there is more time to get, like longer sets to get. Here, it's what's normal, 7, 6? What's open mics?
3.
3?
3 to 7.
3 to 5,
yeah. So it's nice once it's so short. It's nice sometimes to stretch your legs and be able to do 20, 25, and put all your material together and see how it build do segues and stuff, and like learn how to build a set. But the more you do that, the better you'll get. So yeah, take the opportunity to get yourself the experience a little bit. As long as you're breaking even here, my thought was always like, if I can go MC at a DC Improv, $50 a set, and my flight cost me $300, and I can do 6 shows, it's like, why would I not go there? So it's break even, do 6 shows there in 4 days, 15 minutes a show, you know, 30 minutes on Friday and Saturday because it's 2 sets, and I'll break even there. I'm living poor here, so what's the difference where I am as long as I can get the material, you know? Not forever, but for like a week or 2, yeah, try it. But no, if it fails, then it's no big deal.
How do you feel about text blast and email blast shows, where the club just kind of blows it out to whoever's been there just to pull money into the club?
Yeah, those make for shittier shows, but that's not really what you guys got to worry about. So now let me tell you a few things that some people wrote me when I asked for this. Madrigal said this. He said, watching good comics is just as important as doing sets, which I'll sort of agree with. Yeah,
What's the argument?
I don't know about just as important as practice, but watching them is definitely good. Watching good comics, what they do, you will learn from them from being around them. You'll get better just by being in their presence. That's what hurt me about that guy, that open mic in Northern Virginia, when he wasn't that good, because he wasn't used to seeing good comics. That's how I felt about it. He was used to seeing shitty comics. So his bar was here, and my bar was you know, the best comics in the world are here. Right. Bill Burr and, you know, all these guys are like, I get to watch them every day. It's like, that's what I want to be. So if I fall short of that, I'm still above this bar. You know? So watching them definitely helps. But if it's time to go do a set in the belly room, fucking go do a set in the belly room and stop watching whoever's there.
Jim Jeffries said he does, he's influenced to do more material because he did a TV show that like Anthony Clark was on, and after he got done with his set, they like the guy that was the producer walked by and goes, "We can't use any of that. It was the same exact material you did 10 years ago when you were on the show. They didn't air any of it."
Yeah, on the same show. Yeah, don't let your material own you. It's so easy at that level too. There's guys, there's headliner guys that just do the same hour, exact start finish, and it owns them. But guys like Don Herrera keep writing. He'll have some jokes that are old, but he'll keep writing and adding to the fucking the body of work. So here's what else Al said: set realistic goals and go get them. Realistic goals. I'll agree with that. Stuff you can do. Like I want to finish. I want to write a script, or I want to write a bit about this, or I want to try to get into some like one night a week room, but not the best in the world. But realistic goals, and then like that's what you have to strive for. You know, getting into that. So it's like, now what do I have to do to get it? And then you get it. Like, cool. Next goal. What do I want to do? You know what I mean? Whatever it is, write an outline for a script or something, or shoot a YouTube video. No crazy explosions or anything like that. Just a realistic goal. You can get there, and it'll make you get somewhere. It's like I have to have this in mind instead of just like, I don't know, keep doing comedy until something hits. That's harder. Here's another one that my friend wrote. It was have sex with audience members, not other comedians. And, all of us. But here's the deal: you're going to fuck other comics. You're going to. The only advice I can give you is this: when you break up with other comedians, handle it well. You will get yourself into a lot of trouble. No one else will care when you broke up with that person. They won't want to take a side. They don't give a shit. They didn't care that you were going out in the first place. They might have wanted to fuck her. You know what I mean? Now you're fucking her for like 6 months or a year, and suddenly when you break up, you want everyone else to treat her like crap? Like, why? She was just a friend in our scene. They're not going to. They get bored and annoyed when you start asking them to do it. So when you break up, do your best. Once you know it's broken up, just be friends with that person, even if it's uncomfortable. Just like, let's just be cool, so nobody has to worry about this, and it doesn't become a thing. And then a few months later, your feelings will go away completely, and just be friendly with them. And then you could fuck some other female comic.
Throw water in her face.
Like throw water in her face. Yeah, don't do that. It just gets you in trouble. So just try to, I wouldn't say don't date comics. That's who you're around. Everybody dates people from work. You see the same people at open mics, you start hitting it off, you get feelings for somebody, just fucking go for it. Why not? Just know it's gonna end. That's why they have no inter-office romances at workplaces. Because not when it's working, that's fine. It's when it breaks up. That's when everybody gets in trouble. That's when every comedy club manager gets fired, when they're dating a waitress, when they break up, and they start fucking another waitress, and they all get mad at them. Break up well. That's my only advice on that end.
Or only date female comics that aren't good joke writers, just in case after.
I'm not gonna matter. Still, all right. Now this is my agent wrote me, my personal appearance agent. He said he gets packages every day from up-and-coming comics telling them why I should sign them. Some people put whole packages together with like color headshots and DVDs and letters, and these are from people who have 15 or 20 minutes. A personal appearance agent is not going to represent you if you have that much time. You have to at least get to where you are killing for an hour, and then you can worry about that stuff. But otherwise, they're not going to do anything. Like, what can he do? He's good. What can he do for you? Get you feature work? He's not going to. Nobody's going to waste their time getting you $500 worth of work for $50 for themselves. That is a phone call. It's the same amount of phone call time it takes to get Pablo Francisco booked for $20,000, which he will get $2 grand for. So the same amount of time, he'll get $50 for you. It's not going to happen. That's stuff you got to do on your own. So don't like overshoot your mark. Kind of know where you are and who you are. Take the acting classes now. Start working on the writing now. Because at some point when somebody says, yeah, I'd love to represent you for like literary agency or acting, you already better be a good actor. You can't be like, cool, let me get into an acting class and I'll talk to you in 3 years. You know what I mean? Do that shit now. If you can't afford it, you can't afford it. But you can afford to write a script. You can write it on your computer. Absolutely. If you don't have a computer, library. Like, there's not that much that can hold you back. Anything that is, if you don't have a computer, let's just say, I'm like, well, those guys all have final draft at computer. That's just a hurdle, and nobody gives a fuck. All they care about is Aziz Ansari has 3 scripts. They don't care what he had to overcome. So go to the library and write it. Do whatever you can now, so when they actually ask you for like a clip or something to show them, you can actually show them. That's another thing. I don't know how it is now, but when I started, you had to send them tapes. Somebody's like, that was really good, send me a tape. and I would never have a tape ready. I would always have to like, okay, I'll make one. And then it wouldn't come out good enough. You can't tape anything in here. You can't record anything there. It's just so shitty. But like, what I should have done was just have a good tape. So when somebody says, hey, that was really good, I'll be like, cool, I'll run it off for you and send it to you tomorrow. And then make a better one later, so as like after 6 months passes and you see that guy I was a shitty comic, you don't want to send that tape out anymore, or that clip out anymore, make another one, so just keep updating it. You know what I mean? If you're in a good room, fucking set up a camera. And you can have something. You don't have to make it public and have everyone see it, but when somebody says, I'd love to see some of your stuff, when you become friends with those people, when they do like you and they say, yeah, send me something, I'd love to like talk to you about comedy, then you can show them you have it ready. You have headshots done. You have a script or two that you already wrote, or a packet, or an idea that you're like, here's what I can already take you. I've been working on my own, because you're going to have to work on your own anyway. So get that shit done ahead of time. This is another thing. Agents and managers will say this. It was so frustrating to me. They'll see you, they'll think it was funny, they'll say, that was great, let's stay in touch, let's talk. And I always want to be like, what the fuck does that mean? Do you want me to call you in a week? What does that mean? Are you to come see me once a month? Tell me what do you want me to do? And it means this. It means that they're not ready right then to be like, I have to sign you. I don't want anyone else to do anything with you. But it means like, dude, I like what you have. I like what you did on stage. Let's continue to be friendly with each other. And as you start having something going on, I'll start trying to help you with it. But until you do, there's nothing they can do. You know what I mean? Like, I can't call a plumber if I'm homeless. It won't matter. There's nothing you can do for me. But once you have a sink that you're not renting, that you actually own, then that's when you can get a plumber. That's when he can help you. It's the same as them. So just stay in touch with them. That means call them every like few weeks or a month and just say, hey, what's up? How you doing? You know, talk about something in common, like a fucking sport that you guys have in common. Or I used to know this guy that I always talked to him about Bakersfield, about corn, because he was from Bakersfield and he knew them then. It was an easy way to like talk, just some way to have conversation, and then you can slip in. And by the way, I wrote this script, or I have some showcase coming up, or I'm trying to get to Montreal. Then they'll let them decide if they want to like, oh, let me make a call for you. That's what it means, stay in touch. They're not going to keep looking at you and try to like pluck you up and put you on a star. It doesn't happen. So yeah, if they say stay in touch, try not to get frustrated by that. Try to like stay in touch. Not like you're best friends, but like, you know, you do that, Dean, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have an
You're
agent
friendly.
or anything.
But you're friendly with people. You've been
But
on
yeah,
movies.
they come around and they say, hey man, let me know when you're on again, and I'll just email them, not every day, like
Yeah, but when you have
once
a good
week,
show, when you have a good show,
a good one,
Yeah.
I'll say, hey, I'm at the factory.
form a list of these people.
Yeah.
When you meet somebody who you know can help you, ask somebody like, who was that guy? And like, oh, he's head of CAA. Let's just say something like that. Or whatever you need at your level. Like, ooh, really? Hopefully you're already cool with them. Write down their name on a piece of paper at home and keep track of who they are. And then email them if they give you their card. Put it in there and try to remember what they look like. So next time you see them, you don't just go like, oh, hey man, and you don't remember them, which is what I always did. Just say, hey Matt, how you been? And they'll be friendly with you. Know that shit. That's what Whitney did every time. I guarantee she had some board that she would like, okay, this person is that, they work there, and she just picked the picture up and she would memorize it. So when she saw them, she'd be cool around them. And then they want to work with you. What?
Just a heads up, the sign up for the open mic is out, so if someone does need to sign up, they should sign.
When do they pick it? Is it the order?
It's 6 to 6:20, they do.
Okay.
So just a heads up.
All right, good idea. All right, let me get the rest of these notes that people wrote me. Okay, here's what he said though, about the 15 or 20 minutes. He goes, if people are spending money in the wrong places, you don't need to make, why not, one guy, just go get the list and bring it in here. No, put it back outside. Can't do that, right?
Still like 50 people.
Oh. Yeah, he said you're spending money on doing the wrong thing. Getting this packet together with like everything really nice, professionally done, it's like, if you have 15 minutes, you're just wasting that money. Get Final Draft instead. And this is what he said too, which I'll sort of half agree with. Stop showcasing before they're ready. It moves you to the bottom of the list. You tank in front of the whole industry. So if you do some great showcase, and I'm sure I got some of that, that just will happen. Nothing is like your final break either way. That's another thing. What if like you do some shitty showcase in front of like everyone's there from the Montreal Comedy Festival and all these managers and agents are there? Yeah, they're not going to think you're good for a while. And you're like, no, it's just a bad set. Too bad. They're just not going to think you're good for a while. You're going to have people thinking that. You're also going to kill better than you normally do in front of somebody and they're like, wow, that was really good. Don't tell them like, oh, I don't normally do this well. Just, you know, some people are going to think you're better, some people are going to think you're worse because of what you did. So if you go up in front of them being a 1 or 2 year comic when there are 7 and 8 year comics on the show, even though you think you're as good or better than them, because that's normal for you to think that, try to be somewhat realistic and go, if I go on here, I will look like the most rookie guy. And is that something you want to do in front of all those people? Now, generally, I don't think it moves you to the bottom of the list. I think generally they just go, ugh, and then they'll forget about you pretty instantly. So luckily there's that. For shitty people, they don't remember. But they write notes down. They write notes down. They write your name down, kind of what material you did and how good you were. And then when somebody calls them, this is my friend Rachel Rush does, who works at CIA now, who never represented me. But she goes, if somebody calls her and says, what do you think about Dean Del Rey? She'll go, give me a second. She'll go to her fucking file, and she'll open up the Dean Del Rey file, or have her notes, and be like, oh yeah, he was like this, yeah, he does a joke about this, he's kind of this and this on stage. She'll just say it, she'll remember him. So they're writing those notes about you. So if you start letting them write notes before you're ready, then all the notes are going to be bad notes. And you don't really want that. Same as later in your career, if you just get all coked up before you do a set, they're going to write those notes down too. And eventually you're just going to become a product of all the times they've seen you. So it sucks when you have a bad set, maybe you just broke up with somebody and now that's the reason you have a bad set, but the bottom line is they don't know or care. They'll never hear your excuse. So if you do get up in front of them, I had this Rogan's manager would always say this thing, like, what's the best case scenario and worst case scenario from doing anything? Realistic scenarios. I mean, obviously you can go do a set and somebody could shoot the place up, but that's not, it's not something you have to think about. But like, if you do some horrible joke, some really dark joke in front of this type of people, or if you do some prank that goes wrong, it's like, what's the best you can get out of it? If it might just be a couple chuckles, then is that worth the possible negative of this company, Comedy Central, never seeing you again? Is that worth it? If you get a couple chuckles, sure, that's okay, you win. But if you don't, what are you giving up for the chance? Now, if you're doing something awesome and it might turn into something tremendous, and the possible positive is really good, so it might be worth it. But think about those things. Comedy Central always say no rape jokes, no AIDS jokes, no saying the word bitch. You can say shit and fuck, but no bitch. And the reason was because they were run by women and homosexuals. And that's why they didn't like the word bitch over the word shit, even though bitch is a better word to say, curse word wise. And I did some rape joke. And I was like, well, it'll be funny anyway. And she told it to me. She goes, what could you have gained from that? That they would have thought, oh, okay, like that's good. Possible loss, they won't see you for the next couple of years. And that's what happened. Like, we just told you no rape jokes, you do it anyway. So it's like, why take the chance if there's no reason? If I had another joke to replace it with, unless I no, I really, really want to do this, I really want to make this commentary on society, and right now it's the right time, then okay. But if it's not, if it's just for the sake of a couple chuckles, then like, why are you risking it?
My buddy did a spot at the Cellar in New York, like he's a bigger comic, and they told him not to do an AIDS joke that he'd been doing. He did it anyway, and then he stopped getting spots at the Cellar.
Yeah, like, is it worth that risk?
Yeah.
Now, I've been on the road where they say, well, dirty comedy doesn't really go that well out here. And I'll say, well, I know how to do it. Thank you for your advice, but you're talking about open micers doing dirty comedy, and I'm okay with it, but thank you, and I'll do it anyway. But you have to be nice, though, when you say it.
I like The Amazing Racist myself.
Yeah, thank you.
Is there some of you that wishes you had done it later in your career when you didn't need sort of that help?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, if I did it later, it might have been better. But wishing is just like, doesn't do anything for you.
This is a stage where
what can you learn from that? Well, when I did it, it was just for a DVD, and it got ripped to the early stages of the internet. So it was one of the first viral videos. So no one really, we didn't expect it to do that, and have every fucking 14-year-old watching it at home. But where I was, nobody in the industry knew who I was. So when people said, did it hurt you? I'm like, no, because the people who weren't going to help me before now knew my name and weren't going to help me. And other people were like, I actually thought it was funny. I can't do anything with you because you still don't have anything else to present. But I got some fans out of it. The people that hated me didn't know my name before. So what's the difference? This is how it is in auditions too. I learned, coming in second doesn't do anything for you. So don't do an audition to not be wrong. Don't go in there going I just want to do what everyone's doing, just to not make an ass of myself. Make an ass of yourself. Go for it. Try something. Because if you're just second best, anywhere from second to last is all just not getting a part. So if it's not going to really embarrass you and not going to ever call back in there, try your joke. Just try it. I did an audition once where we had to pretend some guy came into our business and offered us a pizzone from Pizza Hut. And he said once, like, okay, react, like, you know, try it, be into it. Second time, do it more realistic. And so we tried. I was like, oh, we got surprised by him, and then we're like, fake tried it. And then the second time, he came in, the more realistic time, and he was like, hey, try the Pizzone. The guy behind the camera said that. And I was like, yeah, dude, you can't be in our business. Get out of here. Like, I'm sure it's good, but we're doing stuff right now. Get out of here. And I left, and the guy that I auditioned with goes, hey, thanks for ruining it for both of us. You really fucked me over there. And I booked that part. No one was at home watching me going, what? You didn't even, what? But honestly, if it wasn't what they were looking for, they would have been like, oh, okay. And then they just wouldn't say no. And it's the same as that guy who didn't do anything wrong. But like, don't go crazy overboard. Like, still, like use like what's possible worst case scenario. Don't take your dick out, you know, in a commercial audition. But you know, Joey Diaz got a callback once when they told him he had to drop his pants. Some of these are so fucking insulting to you, but he had to like drop your pants, and he didn't have any underwear on. He didn't know that was going to be the audition. So he dropped his pants. He goes, just the bottom of his balls were below his shirt. Yeah, and he got a callback. But then he was like, do you think I should take my balls out again? I was like, I don't know. This time it seemed needy. Yeah, the first time it was just a chance occurrence. But if they didn't like that, then now you got, what do you take it out every time? So you got to like guess, but I don't know what he did. This is what Ralphie May said, which I really like. I think I already told you. Talent and heart do not matter. Get over that. Get over that idea. That if I'm talented and I have the fucking gumption, I really want to do this, that is not the end all. Just get over it. And he said, just do what you do and love it. Just write your jokes. Have fun getting on stage and learning how to be better as a comic. That's the only thing that matters. And then the rest is networking and all that shit that you have to learn how to do, and that's how you hang out at the improv. We didn't have the UCB and Nerd Melt when I was starting. So that's why I keep saying the improv. But it's all the places where the industry and where cooler comics are hanging out. Do your spot, get up, and then go hang out with them, because your talent alone will not do it for you. It just won't. It's just not enough. They need to see a draw. Like places on the road, they need to see that you're going to have people come. The place in San Francisco that books you,
Yeah, punchline.
they know you're going to sell out.
Yeah.
But it's not that easy to get the punchline in another city to book you, because you're not going to sell out there.
Yeah, it's
They're
a
like,
business.
yeah, it's just a business. Don't even be mad at them. They're not doing anything wrong. They're just running a business. Same with agents and managers that say, like, I don't think you're ready yet. They're not trying to fuck you. If they can make money off you, they will do that. They're all fucking Jews, even the ones that aren't. They want to make money off you any chance they get. If they think they can, they will. There's no reason not to. There's no reason not to.
Yeah, they're not like Del Rey fans. Like, oh, let's get him in here. He's
Yeah,
great.
it's not about, if they can make money, they will. Now, sometimes they'll represent you because they think you might make money down the road. And that'd be great. But if they don't, it's not an insult to your talent. It's just like, well, what do you have going on? What do you have right now that a manager could be like, cool, I can sell this right now and make a shitload of money off you? Yeah, it's not that much. It's hard, so like, don't be mad at them. Just be like, oh, would have been a nice opportunity, but okay. I heard one guy say this once about Montreal. He was showcasing for the new faces. And I was like, did you hear? I know he had a good callback. He goes, no, I don't think I got it, but you know, whatever. It's, either way, I'll just have a bunch of other stuff in the fire. And I thought that was, I wish I knew that guy's name. Such a great attitude about it. Because like, yeah, that would be good. That'd be such a benefit to me to get into new faces, but if it doesn't, what are you going to not do comedy anymore? Just only do that? And if that doesn't work out, you're never going to get ahead? They eventually told me, like, Ari, you're never going to do new faces. Stop trying. And I was like, why? And they said, because whatever, we missed the boat, whatever, you're too old now. It's just not going to, we're not going to put a 35-year-old in here. And I was like, why? That guy did it at 35? And they were like, nah, still not. And a lot of it was because I wasn't represented, I didn't have anything going on. And there was no reason to take it. But they didn't take Whitney Cummings for new faces. They took Eliza. I remember seeing them both showcase. And Eliza had a better set, and they took her. And they didn't take Whitney. And the next year, Whitney turned them down. She had gotten so much going on that she was, oh, I don't need to do that. And she just didn't do it. So it's not like she was waiting. She didn't let it hold her back that she wasn't getting new faces. She is the example of someone who won't let anything hold her back. She already has a show? Fuck it. I'll do another show. I don't care. Just keep moving forward. I have tried to adapt that Whitney model as much as possible. They told me, like I did a CD, and then I was trying to do that Louis and Bill Burr thing where like every year, do another hour. And so I told my agent, I was like, all right, I'm ready, I gotta record a CD or something. And they're like, no, let's talk to Comedy Central, and let's get them, like that's 6 months away. If we start talking to them now, 6 months, they'll be on the next one. Don't wait, just keep moving forward. You know, you can wait a week for somebody, but just keep moving forward. That's what I always did. If I had a meeting with a manager or agent, I would let everything else go on hold until that meeting took place. Fucking set up 9 other meetings. And if you like that first guy, call those other people back and just say, oh, I'm sorry, I signed with somebody. Just keep going. No one thing is going to break you or hurt you. So just keep going with everything. Just keep throwing your fucking, what's the saying? A lot of fires.
Sticks and rods.
Irons and fire.
Yeah, irons and fire. Thanks. God, and don't do so much pot.
What's Joey's advice?
Don't do so much pot.
What was Joey's advice?
Joey's advice was one that like I said, people who see you as an open micer are always going to see you a little bit as an open micer. It's just the way it's going to be. They will, just like I said, when somebody, like, if you're a cunt and you become nice, it takes a while for those two average out. The cunt and the nice person average out, and you start seeing those people as like, they're okay. When they see you as an open micer, part of them will just think that's how good you are. And it will take, if they saw you do badly, or not even what you consider badly, just like beginnery, 10 times, and then they see you 5 years later having 2 good sets, they're going to be like, well, that guy's 10 twelfths beginner and 2 twelfths good. And then you see 2 more sets, and go, now he's 10 14ths beginner and 4 14ths good. And then after they see you 40 or 50 times do good, they're like, oh, you're a good comic. And then eventually they'll drop that idea of you as a beginner. So it's just going to happen. There's nothing you can do about it. You chose to start in LA. That's just going to happen. But it's okay. But there will be new people coming into the industry. Somebody gets an assistant job today. Let's say tomorrow, somebody will get an assistant job that has not started in comedy, has not seen anybody. And you guys have already done comedy for 2 or 4 years. So they'll look at you not as someone who's done comedy for 2 weeks, but as someone a little bit better. And someone else who works with them say, no, I saw that guy. He was like a 2-week comic. But that new guy is not going to see that. They're going to see you as where you are. And eventually you're going to be embarrassed about that. But as new people come in, they won't see you as an open micer, just as old people. So don't worry about it that much. There's nothing you can do about it. Here, what else? There's something Bobby Lee told me that I liked. That you got to bomb 100 times before you're any good. And it's not like an exact number, but just know that your bombing will lead to you being better down the road. For every rough patch you go through, it will be better. I kept a chart. I started like 6 months in. I was like, fuck it, we're not even going to count those first 6 months because it's bombing every set. But like 6 months in I started, every time I bombed I wrote it down. I made a chart on a big poster board. I made 100 boxes. And I wrote down where and when. A lot of them were at Westwood Brew Co. A lot of them were in here. Probably most of them were in here, some upstairs. And every time I wrote it down, and it started getting less and less. First year was like 25 of them. And the next year was like 20. And then the year after that was like, and then at the end it was going like a couple of years without any really hardcore bombs. Because I knew how to pander, I knew how to get out of a fucking tailspin, I knew how to like pull out of it. You'll learn that. Bombing enough will make you learn that. When I took jiu-jitsu, it's like you just learn, like I did this move, I fought against this little guy, Shigeki, he was really nice, he was a brown belt. He's like a 150-pound Asian guy, maybe 5'3". And he would grab me around the waist, and I would like, just naturally, his head was here, I'd go over like this, to like swim around him, try to like pull him. And then he would just lock his arms up, and he'd put me in an arm triangle, and I would do and I'd tap, and I'd be like, I'm done. And I did that 40 straight times. Maybe in an hour, he taught me 40 times. And then eventually, he did the same thing. I was like, oh wait, no, don't do that. Yeah, don't do that. And then you learn it. That's how you learn. You're getting choked unconscious 40 times. Bombing is way worse than getting choked. So you will learn how to pull out of those tailspins the more you do it. Not to say you should try to bomb. I would never advocate that. It's so sucky. But you guys have all done it. It sucks. You will get better at doing it from doing it. So that's why that. Okay, who else? Yeah, a lot of people say just do more than just sketch and improv and stand up. Just do as much as you can. That one I don't like. It's wrong.
Can you say who said it at least?
It was Natasha from Bobby Lee. He said it'd be funny before you even start talking. Like you should go up to the mic and have them laughing before you even open your mouth. That worked for Bobby. That's not shit that everybody should do. I used to do that too. Go up there and try to make a goofy face and have them laugh. It's not normal. Paul Mooney does not do that. You know what I mean? He gets to listen before he talks. Yeah, he just looks a certain way. Bill Burr is not doing that. Bill Burr's not doing pat. That's fun for Bobby, because Bobby likes to show his belly. That's fine. It's not wrong. It's just not what you need to do. That's why I'm like, that's why it's not like, if it's not universal, don't worry about it. And this is what Duncan Trussell said. He goes, don't rush the early years. Just enjoy it. Like I said, you guys are having the kind of fun times you're having now. It's just not, I don't get to go out with my friends every night and eat. Like it's just, you have more responsibility. Like what Ralphie said, like it's just for fun now. There's something beautiful about that. Stanhope says that everyone sells out as soon as you take $1 for stand-up. That you become a sellout. Because you have to be responsible for who's paying you money. So if you guys aren't getting paid, you are only doing it for the beauty of the art form. So that there's no more pure, like there's nothing better than that. There's no more pure like reason to do something than just for the sake of doing it. And so that's what you're doing now. So really enjoy this time of just trying to come up with a joke. That's the win. You guys remember it? I still love that time. You just get a joke and it works. And you're like, fuck yeah, that joke worked. That's all it should ever be. At the base of it, that's all it should ever be. The Sarah Silverman, all those people, that's all they're trying to do. It's just trying to get a joke to work. And then they have to take fucking meetings all day long. And fucking do work shit. And write a script. When somebody lets you actually write a script, now you have to sit down and fucking write a script. And you can't just hang out with your friends and just write a joke however you want. You have to do their job. So this is a fun time. This is when you just enjoy it. This is when you fucking beat up Cat Williams' bodyguard. It's just a fun time. You don't get to do that later. You have responsibilities and families and fucking jobs. Okay, here's some other stuff that Duncan said that I really liked. Don't be fooled by the inevitable temporary success of hacks. There are going to be shittier people in you that you know are bad, and they're going to get ahead. Do not start thinking like, well, I got to do what they do. That is a bump on the road that they're getting ahead, or they're outliers. There are managers that steal from their clients left and right. Barry Catt, all I hear about is how much he steals from people. But he slipped through the cracks, and he's a successful manager. You will have guys like that that either will get short-term success from doing hacky stuff, or will get long-term success from doing hacky stuff. And just being bad. You've seen guys like that. They're not good, and it upsets you. Stop even worrying about it, but definitely don't change what you do based on them. That's just, those are outliers. And also, they might get something a little bit, and then everyone discovers, like, oh, you're terrible. And then they go away. But you're stuck, because you've only been in comedy for 2 years, going like, well, that guy's also doing comedy for 2 years, and he's getting ahead, so what am I doing wrong? Nothing. Because if you look at it over a 20-year run, that guy is going to be selling used Hyundais in a year and a half, or in 5 years. And so if you have that place from 20 years from now looking back, you'll be like, oh, I wouldn't worry at all what he does. He's just some guy who has a regular job now. You would look at the guys who have made it. So don't worry about the shitty guys. Just don't worry. Just don't even worry. You're like, whatever. Almost view it as like, if that guy can do it being shitty, then I can be good and do even better. Put even better stuff out there.
What do you mean Barry Catt stole from his
He
clients?
just wouldn't pay people their money.
Oh, really?
He would just like not pay them and then like pay them way, way late, like months and months later. When people were like, dude, I need to pay my rent. You owe me $1,000.
Right.
You need to give that to me. He would have all the checks go to him, and then he would cut. This is my commercial agent does, which I'd rather. It's easier. If I get paid $100 for a commercial, let's just say the check gets sent to him, he would cash that check, write me a new check for $90, and send that to me. So I'll still get the 90%.
Right.
But if it was Barry Catt, he would just hold that $100 check for 6 months while you're waiting for the $90 check. Like, oh yeah, I'm sorry, it's in the mail and not paid. And people left him. A lot of people left, but new people signed with him. So he'll be okay. He started a company. He'll be okay. But don't worry about that. They're doing it the wrong way, so you don't have to model yourself after them. So that's definitely something to think about. Like, it's like you want to be good. I know you want to be good, and you look at those people and say it's unfair what they're doing. So how can they get ahead? This doesn't seem right. And just know, like, yes, it is not fair. It is not, like what Ralphie said, it is not just about merit. It is not just, like Marin said this once, it's not a meritocracy. It's not about who's best. You want it to be, but at some point, after you see 15 people going like, another guy fucking gets ahead, he's not doing it, it's not, then realize, like, well, it's not just about that. So all you're doing, there is no making it. If you keep that in mind, that there is no making it, all you're doing is trying to maximize the amount of money and creative opportunities you can get that you want to do. That's all you're trying to do. So a guy like Chappelle now will not be on a sitcom. He's just trying to maximize what he can do based on what he wants to do. So he just wants to fuck around on stage now. That's fine. Guys like Doug Stanhope are never going to make as much money as, I was going to say Tosh, but that's wrong because he's actually very funny, as, I don't know, someone more mainstream and happy.
Larry the Cable Guy.
Okay, sure. A lot of people don't respect that guy. So let's go with that. So you could say, let's say, I think he has funny jokes sometimes.
The puppet dude.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that's another one, but I'm okay with his jokes too sometimes. He performs for the audience that comes to see him. There's nothing wrong with that. So you don't have to waste time thinking like, well, fucking puppet dude gets 80 million hits. Like, yeah, but I was never going to do puppets. So that's okay. I was never going to play rock music. So I'm not mad at the Black Keys for sounding out Staples Center.
Right.
That's not the kind of creative stuff I want to do. I want to do jokes. Well, top shelf of that is not Staples Center. Top shelf of that is a club or a theater. You know what I mean? A normal top shelf.
Right.
So like, don't worry about these other people. So Larry the Cable Guy, what Stanhope is doing is he's just trying to create the kind of sociological comedy that he does, you know, the dark, whatever, and he puts it out and he's trying to maximize the amount of people who come see him and the amount of things he can do. If he wants to start a podcast, he wants to do it his way. So he doesn't worry about those other people because it's irrelevant to him. It's got nothing to do with him. If anything, it's like, well, if that guy can make it with shitty, the opportunities are there. Chuck Taylors have survived. They have been sold over and over again. It's always, what's it called? Converse, but the Converse name just keeps getting sold, and they'll never bury Chuck Taylors because it will make money in a small amount of people. It's not everybody. Jordans were way bigger for a while, for a long time. You know, regular Nikes and stuff, they'll sell more. But Chuck Taylors will continue to sell to hipsters. So they cost $5 to make, and you can sell them for $25, and they will continue to make money. Chuck Taylors don't care if Nike is bigger. They just continue to be in business. So that's what you're doing. You're trying to get your own creative juices out there. So don't even worry about them. Look at what they did right. Look at what somebody who has no talent, look at what they've done right. Look at who they've talked to and say, I'll just take that from them. You know what I mean? Like, what are the Lakers doing right? They fucking are, I hate the Lakers. But they're doing something right. They made a deal with the NBA a long time ago to fucking get the best draft picks. Whatever it was. I think collusion. That's what I think. Okay, but whatever. They owned a big market team. They did it smart. So, you know, Pittsburgh can't do that. But other teams, like, use what they do for your better. Fucking Oakland, Moneyball. They produced a winner with not a good roster. And the Red Sox and all them, they didn't start going to the Yankees. They just aren't going like, oh, well, you know, they're doing it with not talented people. They're like, no, they're doing it with not talented people. They're doing it with untalented people. So how can we use what they do to better our team? What techniques can you pull from them? Don't worry about hating people. There's something nice about everybody, especially the successes. There's something very clear. And if they have no talent, then you can narrow it down to what made them famous. What made them successful? Is it the network? What is it? Whatever it is, you can narrow it down way easier. If they're talented and they're networkers, then like which part did it for you? And maybe it's both. This is something else Duncan said. The people you see on your way up are also the people you're going to see on your way down. And that just goes to what I'm saying about just be friendly with people. These other comedians are not your enemies. That's what I thought for so long. Like, fuck those guys. We are all colleagues. We are all doing the same thing. So we really will have ups and downs. You'll have that show where you'll be on for 5 years. Then you'll be doing commercial auditions. You think you want people going like, how does it feel now? You're back with me. That feels shitty. I'm sure. But like, they'll be cool with you if you never anger them in the first place. If you were just a cool guy that was around the scene then, they'll be like, oh, how you been, man? I haven't seen you in a while. And that'll be the only thing. And it won't be this horrible negative moment. So just don't start fights for no reason. There's no winning. There's no like, you're not fighting for honor or justice or fucking, you know, you're not freeing black people from the South. You're just doing jokes. So if somebody's doing jokes not to your level of what you like, they're not doing anything wrong to you or anyone. They're just not good. That's okay. Coddle those people. Help them out. Help them be better. Maybe they will get better. But they'll definitely be around. There's no reason to be shitty. Shit on fucking some agent who doesn't represent, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, we're all in the same boat. You want to separate yourself even more and say like, oh no, only our group is better. But it's like, that's a good enough group. Comedians. We're all the same. Even the fucking shitty homeless potluckers are still just trying to do what we do. We're not better than them. You know? Just try to remember that. The fight is not there. The fight is networks that won't let you put on real comedy under the network because they're trying to please fucking housewives from Arkansas. That's the enemy. Their way of thinking. Of like, those people were never going to be my fans anyway. They were never going to listen to what I had to say. So why am I stopping from saying the word shit because that person who's never going to like me is not going to like that even more? That's the people you should be enemies with. People who are stopping you from being creatively free. Not other comics. TSA agents, absolutely. That's an enemy. Here's another thing he said. The clear stuff that forms around the tip of your cock prior to intercourse is known as pre-cum.
Was that Duncan Trussell?
That was Duncan Trussell, yes. Okay. So here's Marin's thing. So that's pretty much what I have to say. If you have any more questions, I'll listen to it totally. But let me do a couple more of these. Marin said, if you have talent, explore it in as many ways as possible, i.e. writing, making movies, acting. Putting all your eggs in the stand-up basket is crazy and delusional. I'm not saying don't do it, but know that. I think most of them do now anyway, okay, like you do. And he said maybe you should talk to some, I'm not going to say the names, of some of these old guys that hang around here that are nothing but comics that haven't gone anywhere. You can see them on the lineups, the fucking 55-year-olds.
Barry Dunn.
Absolutely. That name's not on here, but that would absolutely be a name that is, yeah, where it's like, what are you doing? This is your end goal? Just to get spots at the store? No, it's that so you can get ahead. You want to go to the Montreal Comedy Festival, not so you can go to the Montreal Comedy Festival. You want to go there for what it's going to give you. So like Nick Huser had this problem when they started this show called the Unrepresented Show in Montreal, which I would have loved if they had done that when I was trying to go. I would have loved it, because that's all I wanted out of Montreal. I just want to get a manager and an agent. And so they're all there, so they'll see you do this New Faces show, so it'd be worth it. And so then I said, hey, Nick, how about you do this Unrepresented show instead of New Faces? And he was torn, because he was so set on, I got to do New Faces, I got to do New Faces. And then suddenly he's like, well, the thing you wanted out of New Faces is now available in this other thing. But he's like, but I still want to do New Faces. But I'm like, why? Because so I can get a manager and an agent. Yeah, I guess I can get it from that. I'm like, that's what you want out of it, and who cares what you made as your intention 5 years ago? None of that matters. Just get what you want to get. Use it as stepping. Here, being on the Comedy Store, that's just supposed to make you a better comic. So a lot of people will never get in here. That's not to say that you can stop being a better comic. You just have to figure out other ways to get up. Even the people that are here should still go out other places and go up. Use as much stage time as you can. This place isn't going to do it for you. It just was once a really big thing. The Tonight Show used to be a launching ground. But now it's just a thing you do. Like I said, I saw somebody on the Tonight Show showcase and get failed by Mitzi a few days later. So it's like, it didn't help him do anything. Or other than short term, but like your parents see you, you know, those things can help a little bit. Their parents see you, it's like, oh, you're doing something, okay, we'll send you more money. You know? But like, really, it doesn't matter. That's not the end goal. So just doing stand-up, it's like, is that what you're really going to want to do in the long term? If it's not, and really think about it, it's probably not. It's probably just expressing yourself creatively. That's what you're going to want to do. So really, you think, well, stand-up's the easiest way. It's just me and a microphone. It is a very pure way. There's other ways to get it done. There's stuff you can do in a script that you could not do on stage. Sketches. You can do sketches you can't do on stage, just you. That means there's situations you can't express on stage, but you can express through other actors and video.
But you don't get that payoff of that drug feeling of like a crowd laughing and...
Maybe. Yeah, absolutely. That's better. But then look at Chappelle's show. Those are sketches he made in front of nobody laughing, but then he presented them to people who laughed.
Yeah.
But I mean, Jim Carrey started saying that he wasn't going to do stand-up anymore because the money was better in movies and he could reach a lot more people. He could make 5 million people laugh instead of, you know, even 5,000. He's like, there's no comparison. I'll just kill him in front of all these people. Yeah, you don't get the immediate payoff. But that doesn't mean you have to stop doing stand-up. You just do stand-up as you're fucking writing and doing these other things. As you're shooting stuff.
So let me ask you, for you then, is your end goal a show? Are you trying to get a show, or do you just want to do stand-up?
Man, a show would help you get more fans to come watch you on stage. It would help your draw. When David Tell hasn't done a show in a few years, his draw starts to dwindle. And then you will see him do a show like Insomniac and push it back up. Now, Insomniac was a really cool show, and I really liked it. And it was just something he wanted to do, because like this would be a creative, fun thing to do. And in doing that creative, fun thing, he also got his draw higher. So he would do more shows and get more money and fill up audiences more on the road, or in New York or LA. Then he did like the Gong Show, which I got to assume was not like what he really, really wanted to do. But he's like, I got to get back on TV so people know who I am. So a show for that reason absolutely helps your draw. But if you're just on some show, if you're just like seventh lead of some like drama, some TNT drama, that ain't gonna help you with anything but money. You know? And the money will be okay. But I heard Callan recently turn down one of those things. This is like his stand-up career is just taken off. He's like, you want to lock yourself up for fucking 20 weeks a year, shoot some drama for 20 grand, or do you want to be on the road making $5 grand a week, but doing what you want to do and having complete freedom?
Like
But if you could be on Seinfeld, that'd be hilarious as fuck. You'd want to do that. That's a funny thing to be a part of.
Like, does Kumail draw at all from Franklin and Bash?
Doubtful, very doubtful. But what he probably will draw from is that Cartoon Network show that he's on. He'll probably get more fans from that.
Right.
Absolutely, and from web videos and being a part of the scene. After a while, people will discover you from doing podcasts, from doing videos on people's things. Just like I said about David Tell, how eventually you got to know him. People will eventually get to know you. The more winners you put out there, the more people who are attracted to your aesthetic, your type of comedy, they will start to like you, and you'll get fans. And then you do a show, and it's just more people. It's also 25 to 50 grand a week, and at any of your stages, how can you turn that down? Right? That's a lot of money. Do that for a year and you're fucking set. In that, I would do that, but I wouldn't take a writing job that would pay me a little more than stand-up, so then I couldn't do stand-up. No, I wouldn't do that now. But I'm in a better place now where I can afford to turn that down. But at some time, it was like, that would have been great for me. You know? But also, right now, I won't MC for somebody, you know, in Minnesota for a week. Because, like, I can do better spots, but, like, you probably would. Because it would be good for where you are now. Yeah, show's fine. It's a great way to get, like, your name out there, but if you're on some, like, Franklin and Bash type show, Kumail continued to run one of the hottest rooms in the city, you know, at Nerd Melt, and he continued to be a cool part of a cool scene in LA. And he's funny. He's very funny. He kept working on his stand-up. So that's just a day job for him. A lot of you guys have day jobs, right? It's like, just because it's on TV doesn't mean you put more of your thought into it. He'll learn his lines, I'm sure, but he's not fretting over, you know, something that went wrong on Franklin and Bash. He's fretting on not being able to finish an ending to this joke. That's what bothers him. Although that rarely happens. He's a fucking good writer.
Yeah.
Who else has questions? Okay, wait. Here's what Mark Maron said about those people. Because I mentioned a few names, and I said, have them come in to talk. I'm like, on making these people be afraid of what they're going to become.
Ray, like, have a show.
And he goes, yeah, but these people are delusional.
He's
I don't know if
really
you guys
funny.
with Barry Diamond types. And he goes, you won't see it that way. There's plenty of examples of people that didn't take initiative and just stay lazy and did only stand up and end up lost. No one thinks this will happen to them. Most of the smarter guys I started with became writers when they realized that they weren't going to be one of the 7 to 10 stand-ups that actually make a good living at any given period of time. And he said, whatever, it's all a roll of your dice with all your life. And that's what it is, really. You're just guessing. There's no right way to do it. There's no wrong way to do it. So you're just trying to get ahead as best you can.
I feel like a lot of stand-ups do start in stand-up and then take a period where they become writers, and then they come out of that and become anything like Bill Burr. And then, I mean, Jeselnik did it for a bit.
What?
Jeselnik did it for a bit.
Yeah. It's just another way to express yourself. Just like these podcasts, you can get better as a comedic presence by doing these other things. If you're writing all the time, you will be better at writing jokes. Writing jokes is a part of stand-up. So if you're writing jokes for other people, you'll get better at it. It's tough to have to give them away, you know, but you'll just get better at forming a joke. You know what it would look like, just formulaically. Here's what else Duncan said later. He goes, if you find yourself getting a big head, or big-headed, think of Jeff Richards. If you start thinking you get a big head, if you start thinking like, I'm so great, he did. He was like, I'm on SNL, or I'm on Matt TV, and now he's like struggling to find a way to live. That's what I mean by on the way up and the way down too. Now he was nice to everybody, but he definitely got a big head. He was like, I'm a star.
You asked him how, and he says, I didn't appreciate it.
You what?
I asked him the other day what he took from me. He's like, I didn't appreciate it when I had it.
Oh yeah.
He's like, I just didn't, like, he had a limo after every show. And
yeah, he just felt famous and he didn't have to work hard. But if you feel like you're still struggling, you will continue to work. Bill Burr had a show. Does everybody remember the show Townies?
Heard of it.
Nobody remembers it. It was like 6 weeks that it went on. It was with that girl from
Pizza place, right?
yeah, they worked at a bar. It was with the chick from all those 80s movies. the red hair.
Ringwald?
Ringwald was on it. Yeah, she was a star. They were trying to promote, and then Jenna Elfman became the star from it. Everyone's like, oh, who's that girl? Bill Burr was on it. And every once in a while, that's my introduction for him. Like, you guys know him from Townies. But so the show got canceled. He moved to LA over it. The show got canceled. This was, let's say, 15 years ago. And he was like, all right, now the two options were stay in LA and try to do it, or what he ended up doing was he went back to New York and just buried himself back in stand-up. He worked out every night and used the little notoriety he had off a show that was on for, however many weeks. And he just worked the fuck out. And he got to become a really good comic just by throwing himself back into the grind. The other option would be to say, no, I'm a star now. I don't have to go do workout sets because I'm a star and I'm very funny. And that's when you get guys like Chris Rock who haven't been funny in 10 years because they don't know what good is anymore. And I think it's hard for them because they can't put themselves in the situation that you guys can. You guys have this ability to go to an audience where nobody knows who you are. So you get a completely real reaction to your stand-up. They're looking at you, they're making their ideas based on that, but they're not going like, oh, I already know this guy from movies and TV, I already like him, so I'm not going to give him an honest response. They don't have that anymore. And that's why they become what they become. There's no more struggle, and everyone says, oh, you're great every single time. You get a big head. That is the worst thing you can have for stand-up. You can say, I'm funnier than this guy, but you got to almost always say that I am not as funny as I can be. And if you just keep having that, it'll be way better for you. Overall, I'm talking about long term. It'll be way better for you. He also said it's no longer about getting on TV. Thank God. Because he never could. And that's sort of good. There's ways to go around. John LaJoie was already selling out places, and he was just doing YouTube videos. I've never been on TV. Realistically, never. But I can, go up in different rooms now around the country. There's other people too. They're just never on. Reggie Watts. He did it for himself. There's ways around it. That used to be the only way in, and you have these gatekeepers who got to decide. But that's not the way anymore. So just keep moving forward. And if that could be a way, like you said, absolutely, that could be a way. If you land a part in a sitcom, if you become Kramer, or the tall guy on Everybody Loves Ray, or, I don't know what's on TV now. Whatever. No, but like a comedy that's like funny.
Modern Family.
Modern Family, yeah. If that gay guy
Always
who's not
Sunny.
gay wanted to do stand-up, who was a stand-up, what?
Always Sunny.
Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Yeah, if those guys wanted to do stand-up, that would help their stand-up careers, being on a show like that.
I feel like Thomas Lennon kind of got into stand-up after he was doing all his sketch stuff in Reno 911.
Yeah,
And
it gives you a draw where people will come see you.
And he's been writing forever, so he can do it.
Yeah, the Broken Lizard guys just did it for themselves. Like, we'll make our own movies, and now they're doing stand-up. But even if you were stand-up before, if you get on something funny that reads as funny, it'll help your draw. In any aspect. People will say, I like that guy. Not everybody. But here's what I compare it to. Remember the first time you saw Saturday Night Live? Like, you weren't aware it existed, and then you hit like 10 or 11 or 12, and you got to stay up late, and you watched it, and you were like, whoa, this is way different than these sitcoms, these typical, boring sitcoms. You have a few that are good sitcoms, and most of them are just like, bleh. They're just like, here, we're shitting this at you. It's just all, and then you see the Saturday Night Live, and you're like, this is fucking awesome. And not everybody felt that way. Old Christian women don't feel that way. But you and your aesthetic was like, I like this. And so you'll become a fan of that. So if any of those guys are playing in your town, your odds of going to see them, paying money to go see them on stage, went up. They won't necessarily definitely go see them, but their odds went up. So TV can help that, but so can doing YouTube clips, so can doing podcasts, so can doing lots of things. That's not the only way. So don't get locked up with have to get in here, have to get on Tonight Show, have to do this in order to get there. And also, he said, just because you have shitloads of Twitter followers doesn't mean you're ready to stand up on Kimmel. That's another thing with big heads, where it's like, well, I'm doing all this and this, that means my comedy must be good. It's like, it's not a straight line. Let's just say you're on Franklin and Bash. Let's just say that. And let's say you got a lot of Twitter followers because of it, or people like you, if you're on some serious drama. What's like the number one drama now?
NCIS.
NCIS, okay. Okay, what else are cool people? NCIS, let's say. That is not, if you're on that, you will be a regular and people will know who you are. And you get a lot of Twitter followers. That will not make your stand-up any better.
Right.
It won't. So just don't get that big head. Continue to think you have room to improve. In whatever way you do it. I don't want to tell you write jokes. I don't want to tell you how to do it. You have to sort of find that for yourself. But just continue to improve. What else? Who else questions?
How much do those festivals help, like Laughing Skull in Boston?
Here's how much those festivals help. This is my theory. When I was starting, we didn't have the internet. Wasn't that long ago. So what I did is I looked at the LA Weekly every week to see what the stand-up shows were, open mics and stuff. I don't know if you guys, how do you guys find open mics now?
Online. Comedy Bureau.
Comedy Bureau, and it shows all the open mics. It does have other cities too, right? Like if you're in another
Bad
city.
Slava.
What is it?
Bad Slava shows like
Batch Lava?
Bad Slava.
Bad.
BADSLAVA.
Bad Slava, okay. And it shows you in other cities too?
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely didn't have to have that. We had to just find a paper and hope. We knew what the sign-up process was. Not like, oh, you have to be there 15 minutes early. I'm like, oh, fuck no. But, so I would sit and read the LA Weekly. I was just waiting for the show. And I would see all the people that are doing like book shows. They would have those listed too. And I would see their names. And I'd be like, oh, those guys are doing stuff. You know the difference between open mics and book shows, right? It's like those people they're better comics mostly. And like you see that as some sort of success. Who's on at the Comedy Store? Who's on at Nerd Melt or UCB? Or like, who's on at whatever the rooms are? Holy Fuck, or all those other rooms. And you start like looking up to those people without having seen their comedy. So I realized that if I did that with other comics would do that with me. And if you just get on these festivals, if you just continue to get on them, other comics will look at you and they'll say you must be doing stuff that's good because you're on these festivals, like Laughing Skull, like whatever, even at the bad festivals. And then when they start looking at you as someone who's doing something good and succeeding, they'll start treating you differently. And I could see through it because I was shit on for so long. It took me 4.5 years of working here every day, 35 showcases before she finally said, okay. I never got up in places, I couldn't get an agent and all that stuff. But when I started getting on these festivals a little bit, and people were like, oh, you're doing stuff, right? And I could hear them, I could see through it. And they'd be like, yeah, you're getting way funnier. I'm like, you don't know. You have no idea. You haven't seen me. You're just doing that because of this fucking perceived hype. And it sort of sickens me, but that's the deal. And that's why I wasn't successful before, because other people had the hype. So just fucking take it when it's time. So if you can get on those festivals, absolutely it'll be good for you, because people will see. Same thing as doing Conan or doing Kimmel. Everyone bombs on Kimmel, that's what they say. But the reality is, if you do those things, if you do Conan, people say, hey, I heard you did Conan. They won't see the set. And even if they do, they'll just forget it later. They won't see, I mean, not that you should do bad, don't try to do bad, but like it doesn't matter, good or bad. It mostly matters just getting on there. And now recently I've seen that with music festivals too, and that's why I did South by Southwest last year and try to do some of these things where it's like just be the guy that everyone thinks is a winner.
Perception's reality.
Yeah, it helps for festivals. That's what festivals help for. Now things like Laughing Skull or Bridgetown, the ones you have to pay for yourself to go, put yourself up, that's an amount of money you got to decide whether it's worth it or not. The ones that pay, like Moon Tower or Montreal, are way easier on your pocketbook. On your wallet, whatever. And those other ones. But just doing them is a good thing for you. Plus, you get to see these other comics, and you get to showcase for other comics. That's another reason why it's good. I saw at Bridgetown 3 years ago. Kinane went on, and I was in the back watching him, and I saw all these people in the back, Steve Agee, all these other comics that I respected, all in the back with me watching Kyle Kinane. And I realized like he's showcasing for all of us now. It's your chance to show all the other comics what you can do. So do not. The advice I got from Joey Diaz when I did Montreal, they wouldn't let me do New Faces. They said you can do the Nazi show. Just because I opened for Rogan in Montreal and I pulled my dick out on stage. And they said, oh, we want you to do the Nazi show. I was like, what? I've been trying to get in with jokes for fucking 10 years. My dick out was enough. But Joey Diaz said this, he goes, don't worry about doing anything new, do only closers the entire time. You have 12 minutes, just do only closers for those 12 minutes. This is the time to show everybody what you've got. So when you have those situations where everybody's there, do not fuck around. Do what you've welcome, it's a girl. Do what you have worked for. This is your time to let it free. So if you do those showcases, know that other comedians, the one that are making the tastes about you, they're there watching. And if those guys say you're hacky, then that's what everyone will think. And if those guys think, I'm talking about you guys, if you guys think that these other comics are hacky, eventually that word gets out. And that's what everyone thinks about them. You guys, they have a level above you, level above that. You guys make tastes. You know, whoever UCB thinks is cool will become cool. So yeah, when it's time for that, just fucking don't hold back. Good questions. Anybody else, or what are we doing?
And especially that SLO thing, one of the festivals, that's like, it was the first option I had for a festival. But it was like a $50 entrance fee, and as I was paying it, I had this back then, I was like, it's so close to the deadline, they're probably just taking money, and I'm not gonna get on.
Yeah, that kind of sucks. They take money for festival submissions. I don't like that at all. It's a shitty system.
Yeah.
Especially because you're making money off really the poorest comics in the world. The ones who cannot afford $50. It's not like, I mean, it's not like they're making Zach Galifianakis pay $50. You know, he'll just call or they'll call him. So really, I never like making money off stand-up comics. That seems shitty to me. I could see running a free festival. I could see that when it's like we don't bring in a lot. So we have to promote it, we have to put people up, or we have to pay these venues. I get that, but to make people pay to apply, it's like, no. Charge 50 cents more per ticket and make your money that way. But there's no other way in. So you got to decide how much money. If you have rich parents, then fucking go for it. But if you don't, then that's another. You got to raise the money to do it.
I did it 2 years ago. It's one of those things where like you just kind of have to look at it as an investment. Like I met the head of comedy, Sirius Radio.
I heard it's like more, but you pay to get the hangout collective,
Yeah,
not just the
They're fun as shit.
I got good. It's super fun to do.
Yeah.
And I actually got some good stuff for myself, and that's to decide again, like all you're saying, if it's worth the money that you may or may not. I got rejected from it this last year, and I submitted really late and paid the higher fee. So it's just you have to kind of weigh that.
Yeah. But it is a fun place to hang out. You're with comics, you're getting drunk with no real responsibility, nobody has to go to a job the next day. They're fun, and they're a great way to meet other comics. But yeah, I don't know if it's a waste of money. That's on your pocket, that's on your own finances. Does this help you guys at all?
Thanks. Yeah, thanks, bro.
Right. Don't hoard, wait, no, you don't have to copy it. Don't hoard any of this information. The people who weren't here, share it with them too. I mean that, like you're all colleagues. So if they ask you what, don't fucking hide this to myself, like I'm gonna get better and you're not, just fucking share it with everybody. Okay, because honestly, if all your friends get better, if you have 4 friends on a sitcom, they're gonna get you a guest star on that sitcom. That's the way it is. You'd rather have your own friends being successful than people you don't even know that can't help you.
I don't know where I heard this, but you make it with the people you start with.
Yeah, pretty much. When Ren DC got on a sitcom, his first sitcom, he called me one day. He's like, dude, this is part for a doctor. It's like 6 episodes. Get me your headshot immediately. Like I can get into them. That's because he's my friend. And I didn't get it because it would have been cast like the day before. But they would look out for you. The people who know you and like you. It's not about talent. I'm sure if I was completely worthless, he wouldn't have done that. But like, it was more about being my friend, you know? So yeah, you guys want, if all the comics all of a sudden get really good and start running shit, or Comedy Central and HBO and Showtime have to come to us and say, we'll do it your way, whenever you want, that gives us all way more power. If sitcoms stop putting on shitty sitcoms because all our friends are doing really cool, interesting things, if all of comedy gets better, then we're all better off for it. If we all become better performers, we're all better off for it. We have a better bar to latch ourselves against. Don't be like fucking Pauly Shore who wants everyone to come down below him so he can be on top. You want everyone rising up, so you will rise up with them automatically, and then you'll try to like achieve what they've achieved. Automatically, you will get better if everyone around you gets better. You might not get as much better as they do, but I look at it as like iTunes numbers and rankings for podcasts. I don't give a fuck if you're ranked 5th and I'm ranked 3rd, but my numbers go up from, let's say, 20,000 to 100,000, but your numbers go up from 15,000 to 200,000. Like, I don't care if you leapfrog me in the rankings. My numbers went up, so I'm better now. I've got more draws, so who cares if you got more betterness? You know what I mean? So, like, as long as we all get better, we will all be better off for it. So, help each other. That's it. All right. Thanks, Ari.
Thanks, Ari.
Tour
Really
shirt?
appreciate it.
Retire it.
Yeah.
It's too big.
Oh, really? Because you lost weight?
Hey, thanks for
Hey, I recorded it. Oh, thank you, thank you.